to another episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Andrew Velez. Over the background. Shit's so loud. Is it? All right. Well, you know what? We're going to run that back. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Andrew Velez, and I'm here with River Brown, Joel Dehls, and John Tortorelli. On this episode, we'll be discussing what the Jets should do with their quarterback situation. We're going to redraft the 2021 NFL Draft, discuss Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones contract negotiations, and give our thoughts on All-Star Weekend and some of the moves that happened over the break. This is episode 257. Last time I was hosting, I forgot to mention the episode number, so I want to make sure I got that correct. As you guys may notice, Joel Moran is not here. He is still on vacation. He's still in Arizona. Not sure if he'll be back next episode or the episode after that. But you can expect Joel Moran very, very soon.
Pretty sure it's the one after the next.
The one after, okay. But first and foremost, boys, how are we doing today?
Stellar.
That's a great word. Joel, how about you?
Doing great. Shout out my guy Santos before I even forget. Shout out to my brother Santos. Pick a side legend. I'm sure he's in here now. I don't have the chat open, but sent over this Jason Tatum City Edition. Of course, I already know. Celtics jersey. He said, I got to show it off, got to wear it. And he also said he wants to see it in the backdrop of the episode. Who we got? We got Magic Johnson up right now.
So next episode.
I know Joel is not going to be happy to see a Celtics jersey up here, but I mean, Santos asked, like, if Santos says to do something, we do it.
We're talking about what I mean? Pick a side legend, Santos Lopez. 100%. He's getting that jersey on the wall.
It's going on the wall. And I don't know if I'm going to do it. I was telling Rib before, when we leave today, I'm going to put it up here and see if Joel notices or not. He might be listening though. He might listen the first like 30 seconds. Let us acknowledge him, then keep it pushing.
I'll be honest, I'll do that.
Yeah, so maybe I should have said this later on. But
I was about to say,
because what if next time you come in and the jersey that you hung up is not there anymore?
Oh,
I watched like the first like 3 minutes to see if y'all acknowledged me and my presence and that I'm not here, and then I get out of there.
That's really how it goes. If we're not here for an episode, we watch the first 5 minutes. Hear them mention why we're not here. Give us our love of not being here, and then you turn it off.
Have fun.
That's respect. That's respect. That's a fact. Because if I'm Joel, I turn it off right now. We're not mentioning it.
We're not talking about
Riv, how you doing today?
Oh man, I feel amazing.
Yeah,
I feel really good.
You look amazing, bro.
Thank you. Appreciate
you, man.
Guys. No, I feel great. Been a calm week.
Okay.
I'm ready to lock in. You know.
Let's do it.
Big weekend of All-Star festivities.
Didn't watch it.
He watched so much of it.
I know.
No, I'll keep it 100. Didn't watch it.
We'll wait, because when we talk about it, I'm about to drill you.
Caught up with some, college ball. I was outside with my girl. We saw Avatar this week. Fire.
Bro, it was great.
Amazing.
You see it in 3D or not?
Of course. Seeing it not in 3D is weird.
Low key.
Yeah, you're weird if you do that.
I understand.
But I've seen Avatar.
Did it take you a second to like adjust to watch it?
No, it actually fucked me up the ending, because I thought when his boom, 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 and then he was praying, I thought he was about to go crazy. Like, we had another hour. He was about to go crazy. Then the shit ended. I was like, damn.
Yeah, they did that with the first one.
Yeah, I was kind of pissed off. I was like, all right, well, I mean, there's another one.
Apparently, in the third movie, it's going to be like the Fire Tribe now.
What, in 2020?
No, it's coming.
2035?
I think it's this year.
All right, they better.
They got 5 planned.
We waited a decade.
Yeah, and I'm not mad.
I'm not either, but
gas.
Damn, come on. Like a little long. But yeah, lock in.
All right, let's get into it. Our first topic on the show, we're going to talk about Derek Carr and his visit with the Saints, and, of course, more recent news, the possibility that he could be the Jets' new quarterback. Now, of course, Joel, we're talking about your New York Jets. I want to get your thoughts. I want to hear you whether or not you're in on Derek Carr being the new Jets quarterback, or do you have someone else in mind?
First of all, if you've been listening to Pick a Side, we've been telling you about this for months. We've seen this probably 2 months ago. We really haven't had a Jets topic. It's funny. The playoffs start and we stopped talking about the Jets.
I mean, that's just
crazy how that works.
That's just football for you.
We've been talking about this situation for over a month now. We knew that Derek Carr was going to be released right after the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers is going to have to wait to make his decision. Who knows what happens with Lamar? So we knew, and of course, that means the Jets and the front office knew that this would be the situation where they could go be aggressive, get Derek Carr early, and then possibly miss out on Aaron Rodgers or Lamar if he becomes available. Or you could do the opposite. Meet with Derek Carr now. You sign him, but then, the other way around. You don't sign him, and now you could get Aaron Rodgers or Lamar, but now you miss out on Derek Carr. And what happens if you don't get any of them? Now you're stuck with Tannehill or Garoppolo, who I think we all agree Derek Carr's level above them. and below Lamar and Aaron Rodgers. So it's a tricky situation for the Jets and not one we really see often, right? Usually free agency, everyone's a free agent at the same time. Guys like Derek Carr's stature do not get cut before free agency, and we have this kind of weird in-between period. I think if you're the Jets, though, while Aaron Rodgers is obviously the big fish, he's out there, I think you need someone to be Matt Stafford. I think what the Rams did shows you Stafford, who is obviously not as good as someone like Patrick Mahomes or Burrow this year, even though he was on par. You need someone to have the ability to have a top 6 or 7 quarterback season, but not necessarily be a top 5 quarterback in the league. I think Matt Stafford is the perfect example where he had a fantastic season, a top 5 season last year. You could argue even higher since he went on to win the Super Bowl, but it's not like we regard him as Pat Mahomes and we put him in this tier that he didn't belong in. He just played really well in the system with a team that was perfectly built around him. They had pieces on offense, defense, obviously good coaching staff with Sean McVay. And I think that's what the Jets need. They need someone in here who's going to provide stability, who's going to elevate the offense when he needs to, but there's also going to be a complete team around him to really prop this team up, because I think even with Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be really hard to win the AFC just by itself, just given the nature of these other teams. So if you go from Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr, I think there's still an opportunity. If you go from Derek Carr to Tannehill or Jimmy G, that's what I'm more scared of. And that's why the risk might be worth it, especially for someone like Lamar, who we're not really talking about yet. But if Lamar's available, super young still, he has MVP type ceiling. He could still be a top 5-6 quarterback year in and year out. Not so much with Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers. But I would not be upset at all if the Jets went the safe route, took Derek Carr or signed Derek Carr. You don't have to give any draft picks either. It's probably a little bit cheaper on the cap than Rodgers would be this year.
For sure.
Obviously, you're missing out a bit on the upside, but I think the safety and the security blanket is worth it.
I think this situation is interesting. I think, for the most part, what we've seen over the last month or so is Lamar is heavily favored to go to the NFC. Either the Falcons, the Panthers, the Lions, the Jets kind of have jumped in there as like a wild card team. But I think for the most part, Lamar to the NFC seems like the big picture. And then on the other hand, we've seen Aaron Rodgers, who's been linked to the Jets for some time now. He's expected to go there. And now Derek Carr is another guy who's popped up. We talked about it before. The window for winning a championship with a young roster is very small, because then you have to start paying people.
Facts.
And with the Jets, that defense is young. That offense is young. So you have a pretty small window to win, or at least be competitive for you guys. You guys haven't made it to the playoffs yet. So that's the first step. But you guys have a window to make the playoffs and then be competitive, especially in the AFC, where we keep talking about it all the time. This is the toughest conference by far. It's stacked from top to bottom. Even the bad teams are still competitive teams every other Sunday. So now, like teams like your Steelers and shit like that. So I say that to say, I think you sit on Derek Carr. I don't know if he can have a Matthew Stafford like year, because even prior to that year, Matthew Stafford can always play at that level. I don't think Derek Carr has consistently shown you throughout his career that he's ever been on a Matthew Stafford level.
Right.
So I think the gap even between those two is still big, because I think the gap between Stafford and Mahomes is big, or the other top guys. But the gap between Stafford and Carr is pretty big. And even though Carr is much younger than Aaron Rodgers, he's not as expensive as Lamar. With Lamar, if you lock in on Lamar, you pretty much guarantee yourself a top 10 quarterback for the next 10 years, probably. You pretty much guarantee yourself somebody that has shown the ability to do more with less. You pretty much guarantee somebody that if all else breaks down, he can do things for you that can still win you a game on any given Sunday against any top team. So the gamble for Lamar is huge, but looking at your roster, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, on the defensive end, you got Sauce. You got some guys out there. I think Quentin Williams, I forgot to even mention his name. You got some dogs out there to the point where
dogs there.
You take the gamble for Derek Carr. You sit on Derek Carr. You're like, all right, it's tough, but you don't want to miss out on Aaron Rodgers and Lamar and then end up with nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to do that.
What if I told you get Aaron Rodgers for 1 year?
You gamble that.
Do you feel the same way?
Let me ask you.
If you get Aaron Rodgers, you can get Aaron Rodgers, who I believe in my honest heart, he is still a top 7 quarterback in the NFL and can still win at the highest level. If you can get him for 1 year, you do it. You take that gamble.
So you're telling me I only know I have Aaron Rodgers for 1 year. I don't know the outcome.
No, you don't.
Just I think 1 year, that's it.
I do think that's the biggest concern with the Jets. I feel like if they knew for sure Rodgers there for 2 years, we get 2 years at this, I think the gamble is definitely worth it then. But we see Rodgers. It's been every year. He doesn't know if he's coming back or returning. Now he's going to the Jets. It's a new team. He might hate the first year and go, and now you gave up picks and all this money. Now you need a quarterback again. So in this situation, I mean, there's a real possibility it's 1 year for Rodgers and that's it. Mm-hmm. Does that change anything? Because I feel like that's probably the meetings that are going on with Joe Douglas and his staff saying, is it worth it if we don't know day to day, week to week with Aaron Rodgers? He could just say, I'm done after one season. And now we missed out on maybe 3 or 4 years of Derek Carr or going with someone else.
I just think Derek Carr limits your ceiling. With Aaron, even though it may not be longer than a year, that puts you at the top of the food chain in the AFC. Like, that puts you up there with the top teams. Maybe not ahead of them, but Derek Carr doesn't really like elevate you to that status as much as Aaron Rodgers does because he's still one of the best.
Yeah, John.
There's some big issues with Derek Carr in New York. Like, obviously, two things can be true at once. The Raiders failed Derek Carr, right? At his peak, top 10, top 12 quarterback. They did nothing to support him and never had an elite defense, which the Jets do have. But Derek Carr is not a cold weather quarterback. I saw in Pittsburgh this last year, it was ugly. He got outplayed by Kenny Pickett. It wasn't even close. Derek Carr behind a poor offensive line. You don't know with Dwayne Brown's age, Mekhi Becton's injury concerns, left tackle. That's a massive red flag for that Jets team. So you put Derek Carr behind that O-line. And I mean, according to Spot Rack, his market value around $37 million. Like, he's going to get paid north of 30. And so for the Jets, you look at Carr, he's probably peaked at 31 years old. And an AFC that has Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Herbert, Lamar, like, Derek Carr is almost always in the playoffs going to be the inferior quarterback. So I look at what the Jets have, and you talked about this window. It's narrow because of how young the defense is. And in 2 years, a lot of those guys are going to get those extensions. But if I'm the Jets, if I'm Joe Douglas, I'm taking a shot here, knowing the gap between Jimmy Garoppolo and Derek Carr is not this sizable difference. Sure, there is a gap, I would say, but the reward.
I think the gap is big because Jimmy G barely plays.
That's Jimmy G is going to get hurt, and like, we don't really know what Jimmy G looks like without Kyle Shanahan.
Mm-hmm. That is
and
also,
he's going to listen. Hackett, there's some stats.
He looked good in New England.
Yes, small sample size.
2.5 games.
Very small sample
Bill
size.
Belichick is defense.
Yeah, but he's still
McDaniels.
Still Hall of Famer.
McDaniels, right? The guy who Derek Carr just got released because of.
It wasn't Derek Carr's fault.
No, Josh McDaniels would say otherwise.
I think it's both.
Do you think the Raiders are going to get an upgrade at quarterback?
No
way in hell.
No, but that obviously that is on Josh McDaniels. But I'm saying Josh McDaniels is the reason why we're even having this conversation of Derek Carr being a free agent.
I mean, Carr wasn't that great though this year. You know?
This year, he definitely was not as good as he was last year. For him to be 4,800 last year and then to not even crack 3,800 this year, it's messed up.
Poor. Yeah, it was a bad year for Carr.
They both failed.
I didn't want to cut you off, John. You still
no, you're good. I mean, I just think for the Jets, you need to shoot big here at this roster because in this AFC, we see it every single year in the AFC Championship game. You're not seeing Ryan Tannehill get there nowadays with Herbert and all those quarterbacks developing. And so if you're New York, if you're Robert Saleh, you have to take the risk. I'm talking 2 first-round picks, knowing if you get Aaron, while there is a risk he retires after a year, the potential of him having that elite defense. The Packers were supposed to have that this last year. They did not have it. The Jets do. Garrett Wilson's wide receiver 1.
Packers barely had offense.
And hopefully Breece Hall coming back healthy. I think the other X factor is left tackle spot because quarterback's an issue, and I would much rather toss Aaron Rodgers out there than Derek Carr with his happy feet in the pocket. Again, Yancey making terrible turnover-worthy plays. I do not trust Carr in New York, and I think he would be spit out within a year.
If you would have walked into the playoffs this year with Derek Carr, you would have had by far the worst quarterback in the AFC.
No, but I can say this, and I'm not a Jets fan, but you can say that if Derek Carr is their quarterback, they make the playoffs.
Oh, I mean,
yeah.
We were winning games with Zach Wilson.
No, I'm with you. But your ceiling still is maybe first round.
It's limited.
With Aaron,
listen,
you get in there.
We beat Buffalo.
Listen.
I know KC and Cincy are probably a tier above them, but Buffalo being that third team that maybe you see in the second round instead of.
You think Derek Carr wins that game in Buffalo?
There's a chance.
Buffalo would be difficult.
I don't know if it wouldn't just be Derek Carr. I mean, this would be a team.
Well, no, I think you need at one point in the playoffs, you need your quarterback to
step up for sure.
Riv, I understand where you're coming from because obviously the Jets quarterback was Zach Wilson, and we see how that turned out.
Yeah,
we see how that turned out. So I see where you're coming from. Does Derek Carr get you a win? It's because you had Zach Wilson, you were still staying.
I think you get in undoubtedly with Derek Carr.
So now the primary focus does shift to whether Derek Carr elevates you guys from where you guys were. So I'll start by saying this. I understand where you're coming from, Joel, because you've gone through.
I'm so sorry. I don't mean to cut you off.
It's okay.
But I wanted to add this because
as you're eating a cookie and saying activity, go ahead.
They love us. We're good.
No, for sure.
You said if we had Derek Carr, do we make the playoffs? So let me ask you. Let me add a monkey wrench to that. who would you get over? Because Miami missed their quarterback for a lot of the season, which is why they dropped so low.
I think we would be able to get in the playoffs. We'd be able to beat Miami, the Chargers, the Jaguars.
With Derek Carr?
Yeah. Breece Hall's back too,
But Vic Fangio now taking over the helm as defensive coordinator for the Dolphins. With the personnel they have, I expect them to have a huge increase in that.
I meant like who falls out, because you got to think.
He's saying Miami.
Miami
out the playoff hunt.
That's what he's. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't understand your question at first, but yes, I would put the Jets over Miami,
because the Ravens, Miami both missed their quarterback for some time throughout the year. With the
assuming Lamar's back there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Chargers in the conversation.
I would say, like, assuming health, everybody's good.
Yeah,
the Chargers would probably be the one that you would take.
Gotta watch out for the Broncos. I mean that with all due respect.
Hey, listen, the AFC
have
is
to be
loaded.
so
The
serious.
AFC stacked.
Respect us,
but
earn it.
So you wouldn't go with Derek Carr?
I understand your vision, because going through years and years of mediocre quarterback play.
Not mediocre, terrible.
No, I'm being kind. I'm being kind because you're my friend.
They're worse in the NFL.
You're one of my best friends. I don't want to be rude.
Zach Wilson's dog shit.
You've gone through a lot of misery at the quarterback position, and you're happy with a quarterback that's going to come in and be competent. And that is understandable.
Ecstatic.
But I'm sorry. I'm the type of guy that wants the best available option, and I'm going to speak it out into the world, and I'm going to hope and pray for it, because that's just the type of fan that I am. Now, if I'm the Jets, I see Derek Carr, and I'm pushing him aside. I'm not even thinking about him, because the only person that should be on my mind is Lamar Jackson. Now, I understand, Riv, you made a good point. You don't think that they'll trade them. You trade Lamar Jackson in conference. That makes a lot of sense, of course. But the way that I think about it is, if I'm the Ravens, I want the best possible deal.
Yeah.
And if the Jets are going to offer them if the Jets are going to offer the most amount of picks, if they're going to offer him good skill position players, the Ravens would not be very wise to turn that down for a team like Atlanta. In terms of, Atlanta can give you good draft capital for sure, but are they really going to give you any position players worth of value if you're the Ravens?
Give up, though.
You don't see usually a lot of player for player trades.
No, it's not player for players, of course, but it's going to be a combination of both. Like the way that the Broncos were able to trade for Russell Wilson. We traded 2 first-round picks. We traded 2 second-round picks. We traded Shelby Harris. We traded Noah Fant. We traded Drew Lock. It's like, of course, if you're the Jets, you don't want to trade Quinnen, but you understand that time is coming, that he's going to want a big payday.
Now,
is it essential that you bring in a D tackle? Well, I only say that because is Calais Campbell going to go back to the Ravens?
I don't think it makes sense for the Ravens to trade for Quinn and pay him.
Financially, I understand where you're coming from, but I mean, if I'm the Jets, yes, but if you're not going to, if you're the Ravens now at this point, you're trying to find a new quarterback, and I'm expecting that to be found through the draft. If you're the Ravens, especially if you're acquiring all this draft capital, if you're trading Lamar Jackson, you're not going to go on the free agent market and find another Lamar. It's not happening.
Will be your starting quarterback for the next year.
Correct, and I'm sure. I mean, we're talking about a Pro Bowler, so put some respect on his name.
He can win some games.
I'm obviously joking, but if I'm the Ravens and I'm trading Lamar Jackson, my only expectation from the outside looking in is that they're going to try and draft their quarterback. So I'm looking at the Jets, and I see that, yes, Joel, I understand where you're coming from. You're a Jets fan. Quinnen Williams just had an all-pro season. You've been waiting for this for seasons. But financially, if it means I have to give up Quinnen amongst also giving up 2-3 first-round picks to acquire Lamar Jackson to have the best quarterback in my franchise's history, I'm sorry, I'm doing it. And if I'm the Ravens, what is going to be better than 3 firsts, maybe a second or 2, and Quinnen Williams? I really don't find a better package out there. Yes, the Falcons are intriguing because they're out of conference. I think that when we had our conversation earlier about potentially Lamar Jackson being traded, Atlanta was my preferred destination outside of the Jets. But the way I see it, if I'm the Jets, I'm going all in. I understand that this defense is very, very good, one of the best defenses in the league, and Quinnen's a huge part of that. You trade Quinnen, that'll be a blow. But what you desperately needed is the quarterback. And you add Lamar Jackson to the mix with Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore. I understand Corey Davis is limited, but he's still a very solid option, especially at wide receiver 3. I was going to say, there's a potential that he might not even be on the roster as well. And if I'm the Jets, I am looking to upgrade at the tight end position. But we're talking about potentially the best skills position room that Lamar Jackson's had in his career. Easily strong. You know, I'm a fan of Hollywood Brown. Obviously, Mark Andrews is a top 3 tight end at minimum, but Breece Hall is a star in the making. He would have been rookie of the year had he stayed healthy, in my opinion. Garrett Wilson is a superstar in the making. Star's not kind enough. He is a superstar in the making.
Yeah, no, our disconnect is just Hollywood,
and that's fine. And I trust Joe Douglas. I understand he made a huge mistake by drafting Zach Wilson, and that'll always be on his resume for potentially drafting the worst draft pick in NFL history, up there with Jamarcus Russell and Ryan Leaf. But the pieces that he's put around this Jets team has been phenomenal. He's been able to maximize his opportunity as Jets GM minus Zach Wilson. But I fully trust that if he were to bring in a quarterback, if I'm Joe Douglas, I'm sorry, my one-track mind is on Lamar Jackson, and Aaron Rodgers has to be next. And I'm talking like I'm a Jets fan, but that's the only way that I should see it, because I understand my team is very, very close to being a championship competing team. This defense is elite. You add Aaron Rodgers, automatically your offense becomes elite. It's that simple to me.
Two things. Sorry, John.
You're good. Lamar, I'm sorry. I know you love Lamar, but if I'm the Jets, you talked about it before. If you want to be Patrick Mahomes, you usually need one of two things: Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, phenomenal team, or, as we've seen with those two guys, a quarterback on a rookie contract. Going all in for Lamar to play in a good amount of your assets when the Jets lost 6 straight games at the end of the season because they didn't have a quarterback. Lamar, last 2 years, is not playing in December. He played 1 game in December in 2021. He's also in a throwing league, someone that struggles to still throw out some of the numbers consistently week in and week out.
Respect him.
He's a good passer.
And really it's hard to build that long-term, I guess, stability when he's not on the floor or not on the field in December. So if I'm the Jets, I would much rather with that 13th overall pick go and take an Anthony Richardson and then sign a bridge and Jacoby Brissett or Jimmy Garoppolo for the first half of the season.
At that point, just sign Derek Carr.
But if you want to compete against Patrick Mahomes in this AFC, the best way to do it would be to have that rookie contract and hope that, especially with Anthony Richardson's floors. Yes, you are. But banking with his floor as a runner of the football and as an athlete.
But all you're saying also is then why not just stick with Zach Wilson with your point?
God.
Because the floor of Zach Wilson is so low. With Anthony Richardson, we saw it just in the field.
But then now you have to start. Now you're waiting another 2 years for the process.
You're gonna have to eventually pay those young guys.
Super raw. The Jets are looking at this team saying we want to compete this year. Richardson, as much as I do like his upside, I don't think he's going to be that quarterback to come in and be able to really put together a multiple playoff win offense.
But do you think Derek Carr is going to win more than one playoff game in the next 2 years?
He has such better chance than Anthony Richardson for these next
making $37 million next 3 years.
Yes,
in the grand scheme of things, that's not that bad.
I don't trust Derek Carr behind this offensive line, especially in New York.
But playing in the Colts. I mean, the Raiders' offensive line the last 2 seasons has not been good.
And that's why he was absolute trash this last season.
But the year before that, when they took away 3 of his offensive linemen, he put up the most yards he's ever put up in a season. The fact that he was not as good this year was shocking. I'm not going to disagree with you there. To have Devontae Adams in there, I had him as a potential MVP before the season started. That's how high my expectations were for the Raiders. For him to be as underwhelming as he was, it's understandable that you have this belief. But again, the Jets have gone through so much hell at quarterback that Derek Carr is just a great option.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. In the regular season, if you put Carr into that team last year, they win 13 games. Legitimately.
Probably.
But in the playoffs, we know he's not going to bring the AFC Championship game. We could highlight Joel's tweet from earlier this afternoon where you guys, I have it right here. I can pull it up. I love Derek Carr to the Jets. Joel V. Moran on Twitter.
Bro was screaming for Aaron Rodgers like 3 weeks ago.
He was. Call me crazy, but I'd rather have Derek Carr at this point, in parentheses, over Aaron Rodgers. Carr's 31 and Rodgers is 39. I'd rather have 4 to 6 years of Carr than 1 to 2 years of Rodgers if I'm the Jets. Stability is everything.
All right,
4 to 6 years of Carr
is not making the Super Bowl. Easiest way that you can throw that tweet in the trash can. Would you rather, right, and this is as me being a Broncos fan, would you rather Russell Wilson at the age of 33, understanding that you have a good 4 to 5, maybe 6 years of Russell Wilson prior to this year, of course, of what we saw? Or would you rather Tom Brady at the age of 40 years old come to your team and play for 3 seasons?
Tom Brady.
What would you rather?
Tom Brady easily.
You'd rather Tom Brady. Actually, I'm going to keep that same respect with Aaron Rodgers. Understand that this is one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen in this game. You understand that he is a mental case at times. Yes, he is himself. His thoughts, you cannot guess his next move. But at the same time, what we can't ignore is his ability on the football field. And I didn't really get a chance to go deep into Aaron Rodgers and his potentially coming to the Jets. If I'm the Jets, I go all in on Aaron Rodgers because I understand with him, I have a significantly better opportunity to win a championship. If I'm the Jets, if I'm any NFL franchise, the whole goal is to win the Super Bowl trophy. It's simple. So who's going to give me that opportunity at a better chance? Derek Carr, who has been a good quarterback basically his entire career, right? A good quarterback. I'm going to try and really hone in on my semantics here. He is a good quarterback. He has ranged from 11 to 15, essentially for majority of his career. Or Aaron Rodgers, who basically has been a top 5 quarterback his entire time as a starting quarterback and is a 4-time MVP. I understand my ceiling with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know my ceiling with Derek Carr.
I think you do know your ceiling with Derek Carr.
Championship, it's hard to see. 2 things. The first, Lamar Jackson. I would love Lamar Jackson.
You got to start manifesting, bro. I don't hear it enough.
I know, but he's also
he's hurt.
The last, the first domino is going to be Derek Carr. The second domino is going to be Aaron Rodgers. The third domino is going to be Lamar Jackson.
But why?
Because that's just how it's going to. Derek Carr says he wants to sign before free agency starts. So Derek Carr should be resolved in the next couple of weeks. Aaron Rodgers coming out of this darkness retreat, I think today or tomorrow. I can't believe I even know that. So he said after his darkness retreat, he's going to have a good idea of what he wants to do. So he'll have within the next
what retreat?
Darkness retreat. So within the next week or so, we should have a good idea if Aaron Rodgers is retiring, if he wants to get traded, whatever. The thing this year is it's not Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay wants him out. He doesn't have no trade clause. So it's either really retirement or trade for him. That's really the decision he's making. So we're going to find out about that. Then Lamar Jackson's going to be last because they could still work out a deal for months. Even after free agency, I think you have till sometime in July if you sign that franchise tag to be able to get a deal done. So Lamar's going to be the last domino to fall there. And if you're the Jets, having a blast talking about all these scenarios, and it's all the upside scenarios, but we have to sit here and also think of the downside scenarios where, okay, you want to wait on Lamar, Aaron Rodgers, you're not going to get Derek Carr. If you want to go after Rodgers, say he retires, he gets traded somewhere else. Now you want to wait on Lamar, and all of a sudden you're left with Jimmy G or maybe Ryan Tannehill or Jacoby Brissett. And now you're looking around saying, well, we really just dropped the ball here. We had a chance to get Derek Carr and we couldn't do it. Rodgers ends up going to a different team and Lamar, who signs with the Ravens or whatever, ends up happening.
Yep.
So we could have these conversations saying, I agree. I would 1,000% go after Lamar, go over Rodgers. You should be in that conversation. But the downside is if you don't take the option that's right in front of you, who can take you to the playoffs, if things go right, that's why I compared to Matt Stafford, because Matt Stafford, I don't think any of us really thought he was a top 3, 4, 5 type of guy. Maybe you could have made the argument after the Super Bowl. I think I had him at 6 or 7.
But Matthew Stafford he's always been better than Derek Carr.
He has been, but in the same sort of, neither of them have been elite. Neither of them were elite.
Stafford's actually played well in the playoffs. The one playoff game we saw Carr, he was an absolute disaster. Games in the Lions,
and that game against the Cowboys, I don't like to live in ifs, ands, and buts, but at the same time, we understand they picked up that flag and that was unnecessary. And he put up a very solid performance. The next time he was there, not so much, but that team, I don't know, that offense just simply was not that good. It was a defense carry team.
There's a gap.
I just look at Stafford, and of course, we can only go by regular season numbers, as Derek Carr has only had, one appearance in the playoffs. Numbers-wise, eye test, Stafford has always been significantly better than Derek Carr. And that's why sitting here, the only time that, and of course, I keep alluding back to this because this was just last year we were sitting here talking about the Broncos scenario, because it was easier to compare Stafford's situation to Russell Wilson's situation because they were in similar tiers. Here, it's a little bit more difficult because I just see Derek Carr as just a tier below both Stafford and Russell Wilson. Of course, hindsight can treat us where we just saw Russell at his worst, and now it's a different conversation. But Stafford has had 2 5,000-yard seasons. He has been prolific in terms of scoring touchdowns. And now, as history has shown us, he's a Super Bowl champion who had 3 come from behind victories in the playoffs consecutively. So I just see Matthew Stafford in a much significant better light than I see Derek Carr because what he's put forth. And the fact that he went from his best season that we've seen of Derek Carr to middle of the pack Derek Carr is just disappointing for me, especially when you're hitting the open market.
It is. It's and the other thing I wanted to touch on was the Lamar. I don't know. First of all, I don't know if the Jets would even offer 2 firsts plus Quinnen Williams. And I don't know. Well, it makes sense. Quinnen's a fantastic player. If the Ravens are trading Lamar Jackson, I feel like they want to be financially, being able to. Yeah, exactly. And you trade for Quinnen, now you're gonna have to make him arguably maybe the highest paid defensive player in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but then if you guys get Lamar, what do you do with Quinn?
Resign him.
In terms of that's what I'm saying.
Do you have money?
I mean,
You'll have to
you
pay
could always
Lamar.
get
because Mosley's taking a significant amount of that
He'll
money.
be gone
also.
next year.
Okay.
And you could always get creative with cap space,
Gotcha.
right? We know that. I just, from the Ravens' perspective, while Quinnen obviously a fantastic player, I don't know if that's the exact type of guy they would look for when they'd have to pay him, right? Like maybe they want someone like ABT,
Okay.
who like he's still on a rookie deal, a couple more years left. I don't know if the Jets. I don't know if the Jets do either of those because I feel like you feel pretty comfortable giving up 2 first-round picks, second-round picks, and maybe some players here and there.
These players are essential to what you guys are building. I understand.
Exactly. Yeah, like you guys gave away Noah Fant, Shelby Harris. You didn't give away
a
Pat
locker room legend.
Surtain.
Respect.
I know, but you didn't give up someone of
I know
Quinnen's
what you mean.
caliber.
That's a fact. That's a fact. I only meant in the sense of making the money work because you understand you're going to have to give Lamar Jackson a significant amount of the cap. And Quinnen's going to want his money, rightfully so. I mean, this was an all-pro season that he just put forth. He was fantastic all season long. He deserves his money. I just think that making the money work, that's the only reason why I mentioned Quinnen's name. Last thing I want to say on this topic. You said something that was pretty interesting to me. It's the downside of what could happen if we don't lock up Derek Carr. The way I think about it is this. Derek Carr's best opportunity to win and prove himself as a quarterback is with the New York Jets. I don't see it as him going to New Orleans. He has a better chance to win than he does with the New York Jets.
Easy path.
That's a strong point. Yeah. I understand where you're coming from. Now you add Derek Carr. They're talking about potentially winning the division. Fair point. But that's just making the playoffs. Really contending, really competing. Even still, next year, this is very early. I still see the Niners. I still see the Eagles as the 2 front runners before any moves have been made. Very simply, they could be a first-round exit, the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr's not elevating them that much with how great your defense is. If I'm Derek Carr, I understand I have a future star in both Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. What's up, buddy? Everything all right? I have a future star in Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. My offensive line has been improving. It's been unfortunate the injuries you guys have dealt with. But next year, if Makai's back, ABT's back, things start to really brighten on the offensive line front. If I'm Derek Carr, I understand this is my best chance to win. And if I'm the Jets, I understand, hey, I have Derek Carr in my back pocket. This is my plan C, God forbid. This is going to happen because if I'm Derek Carr, if I understand this is my best chance to win. I don't see Derek Carr going to another team that's not the New York Jets for the fact that they're simply the best team available for him to go to, which is why you're allowed a little bit of flexibility in what you want to do I want to go all in on Aaron Rodgers. I want to go all in and Lamar Jackson. If we strike out, there's our plan C. Derek Carr should be there. I don't see Derek Carr not signing with the New York Jets
There's a few teams in the NFC, though, that he can go to. And I get it. The Eagles and the Niners are significantly above the league, but that's still an easier path. Like, even looking at the Jets division, that division, just not even thinking about the outside AFC, just their division alone. I mean,
the whole NFC.
Yeah, like, that shit is hard, bro. Like, the Patriots ain't no slouch, the Bills, Miami. So I don't know if I'll fully agree with that because I do think there's a few teams in the NFC if he goes to. They can easily be a top 5 team in the NFC already. Whereas for the Jets, as the Jets, it's like it's tough because he can go there and they maybe can be a top 5 team or they maybe cannot be a top 5 team because there's still so many other teams. I mean, what is Deshaun Watson going to look like this year? If he's back to elite form, the Cleveland Browns are a really good team. What if Russell Wilson gets back to elite form and he's back? You guys are a really good team. So it's like there's so many teams. And then if those two get back, Derek Carr keeps dropping in the rankings.
I just look at the team of the New York Jets
and
the personnel they have. You would not have to move any players around. You literally just add Derek Carr into the mix where they were an 8-win team last season? 7-win team last season. They lost a lot of one-score games. It's unfortunate. But now you plug in Derek Carr, and now we're in year 2 of Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. God willing, Breece Hall comes back to form that we saw him prior to the injury. Elijah Moore, who I believe with a solid quarterback, he takes a firm leap. I still believe in Elijah Moore's talent.
Yeah, but we're also assuming, which is what we do, you got to assume.
LaFleur, that's fact. That's huge.
We're also assuming Derek Carr, who was played in great weather most of his career, is now going to the other side of America, and now he's going to be playing in Buffalo in the cold, in New England in the cold. Like, he's going to have to play in high situations late in the year. So it's and he like these last 2 years have like the year before this year was great. But even then, Oakland had an opportunity to make the playoffs multiple years, and they choked towards the back end of the year. I'm not fully putting that on Derek Carr, but you got to get some of that blame. And then this year they weren't good. So it's like, and even like what can you know what I'm saying? Like, what like Derek Carr is good. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's a level above Jimmy G, but in the sense of looking at the AFC, those are still games where it may make them better, the Jets better, but those are still high-profile games that Derek Carr could very well choke.
There is a rigidity, I feel like, to Carr, where he tenses up in the pocket. You know what I'm saying?
There's a what?
Rigidity, where he tenses up under pressure, footwork gets
New
sloppy.
word.
That's what I see when I watch him play. And he's a good player, sure. What I think is going to happen, I'm sorry to burst your bubble.
Here we go.
Lamar's going to resign
Oh.
in Baltimore. And the good news for the Jets is, from the looks of it, David Carr is talking about an NFL Network that it's going to be a longer process.
Yep.
And so fortunately for the Jets, when Aaron Rodgers comes out of his darkness retreat, he'll come back, he'll have a clear understanding.
Darkness retreat.
And then
You didn't hear about that?
No.
So
welcome
apparently,
to the
yeah.
NFL.
After he lost when he went on a little
He's on Darkness Street right now.
He's off his drugs, bro. He's trying to go onto a darkness retreat. Essentially, it's 4 days of just being in complete darkness. And by that, naturally, your mind just starts to hallucinate on its own. And so he's trying to see if the answer is there.
Wait, where does he go? That's complete darkness.
What's the location? Do you guys know?
I heard it's somewhere in the United States.
You got to be like,
I heard it just looks like a
Wyoming or
cheap
some
hotel
shit.
or some shit.
Nah, it's some gnarly shit that I would not
I'm
put
not
myself
doing it. Yeah, I'm
through.
not doing it.
I mean, you're in solitary confinement, pitch black.
Was he eat?
Yeah, there's apparently
That's
like
why
a slip that you
Joel
could
had
go
the
through.
manifestation of him sitting in the room, lights turned off.
He was trying to be on his
Pissed
Aaron
off.
Rodgers.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly.
Got
If you're
it.
going to
Makes
manifest
sense.
it, what
That's
better
funny.
way to follow his type of stoic
fact.
personality?
That's a fact.
So in the process, while Rodgers is on that journey, as Joel put in the chat, shout out to Joel, man.
Absolutely.
He was making a
Hopefully,
point.
yes.
Multiple teams want Derek Carr. We've got Carolina, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, the Jets, and even Washington. So for those 5 or 6 different teams doing their due diligence, they're testing the waters. The first domino that's going to fall is going to be Aaron. I think the second, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised Aaron stays in Green Bay, knowing him.
Mhm.
The second
Joel.
will be Derek Carr, and then maybe the third shortly then after Lamar Jackson. So, I mean, for the Jets, you do have some time here. You're not in a rush. And I don't think you're going to miss out if you let's say, go with one of these guys immediately.
Fair enough. Now, we talked about trading draft picks a ton in this topic, but of course, let's talk about actually making draft picks. We're going to redraft the 2021 NFL draft, and I figured this would be a fun thing for us to do because, in my personal opinion, this 2021 draft could go down as one of the greatest, if not the greatest draft of all time. The personnel that they have in this draft is simply remarkable. And so, of course, classically, we're going to do our famous rock, paper, scissors, shoot for who goes first, second, third, or fourth. The one thing I will say is number 2 is locked in already because Joel will be selecting the Jets pick. And fortunately, with the amount of people that we have, he'll be able to draft 2nd and 14. Those are the Jets selections. But in terms of order, we're now going to rock, paper, scissors. Here we go. Let's do it, boys. Lock in, Riv. Rock, paper, scissors says shoot.
You're in 2.
Oh, okay.
3-way.
All right. Ready?
Right?
Yeah, of course. Says shoot. All right. Rock, paper, scissors says shoot.
What the fuck?
No way.
Uh,
That's paper.
Yeah, it's
All
paper,
right,
but-
all
I'll
right,
go
here we go.
again.
We all
Go
lost. We all.
That's paper, bro.
All right, let's go. Rock, paper, scissors says, bro,
John,
you're
what are
in.
you doing?
John,
My fault.
We
Be
all
serious.
tied, bro. Come on, lock in. Here we go. Rock, paper, scissors says shoot.
yes.
All right, Riv
Okay,
gets picked
first
number
pick.
one.
Ah!
Rock,
I
paper,
called this to
scissors.
take
All
the
right,
same
are you
pick.
John, you know how rock, paper, scissors work, right?
Yeah.
All right,
Rock,
here we
paper,
go. All right,
scissors.
nice. Here we go. Rock, paper, scissors says shoot.
John is so
Rock,
confused.
paper, scissors says shoot. All right, you got the
Bro
third
went
pick. I
paper
got
every
fourth.
time.
He literally went paper.
I know.
5 times
I
in a row.
realized it too late, and I'm really not upset because with the 4th pick, I'm happy. All right, Riv. I'm assuming I know you're going pick number 1. So nice.
With the
You
first
got that
pick
shit.
in the NFL draft, young man River Brown, new owner of the Jaguars, officially takes Trevor Lawrence. I mean, was it ever in doubt? You still
No.
take the generational talent, especially after what he just did in the playoffs. Hindsight is so beautiful because we get to see shit like that. Down 27-7, threw 4 interceptions in the first half. Second half, put the team on his back, carried them to a W. They made the playoffs. Jacksonville's going to run that division for a long time. So the number 1 pick does not change. I go Trevor Lawrence.
I like it. All right, Joel. Do you know where you're going?
I know where I'm going.
All right, here we go.
With the 2nd pick in the 2021 NFL drafts, the Jets will be selecting Jamar Chase, wide receiver from LSU. Justin Fields was intriguing. The Jets do not have a quarterback. Maybe they get one this offseason. Truthfully, I do not trust anybody to develop Justin Fields. I hope we're going to draft Justin Fields at some point here. Who knows, maybe even number 3 overall. If he went to someone like the 49ers, have so much more faith in that coaching staff. The quarterback, positional importance matters, but give me Jamar Chase, an absolute freak at
the
receiver.
best team. Damn.
I'll say this, Joel.
That's a good
We were
pick.
talking about it before the show. Micah might be next best available.
It's a conversation for sure.
I just think that I understand, especially with the way that the NFL has moved toward it's very offensive oriented, and Jamar Chase is one of the best receivers in the game. But still, that presence that Micah Parsons gives on the line, his versatility as a defender as well, I just could not pass up on Micah Parsons if I'm the Jets. Understanding how he's turned out, and of course, Jamar Chase as well. But I just think edge is so much more important and crucial. Not that you guys need it in hindsight, but imagine Micah Parsons on this defense also.
I think this Jets offense needs more juice than the defense does.
They're calling you
Not
Flip
wrong,
Jr.
but now
Flip Jr.
Yeah.
that's
For what?
Because they said you were so hyped about Fields to not take him at 2.
Oh, well, because I don't trust the Jets coach.
It was
No,
Joel. Joel called Joel.
that's
I don't know. Is this the real Joel?
I don't know. It might not be.
So, bro, I mean, yes, you would have now in hindsight Jamar Chase and Garrett Wilson, but isn't having Garrett Wilson in hindsight give you a little bit more flexibility of what you do with this
Still
offense?
need another receiver.
You're really out on Elijah Moore like that.
I think there's a decent chance he gets traded.
Because Elijah Moore was one of the more impressive receivers.
He was. Jamar Chase fucking clears.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not going
Not a
to sit here and debate
conversation.
that. But I only mean in the sense of you would get Micah Parsons. That's
be
the only
huge.
reason why I'd be different.
I personally think out of all positions, quarterback is first. I would be taking wide receiver second. I think right now in today's NFL, give me the elite wide receiver. Micah, I mean, you can make the argument they're both on the same level. Chase is a top 5 receiver in the league. Parsons probably top 3, right? Maybe he has a little bit of an edge there. But I mean, look what that Jamar Chase did to that Bengals offense, right? Look what he did to that team. That's the huge reason why they're constantly in these AFC championship games and making these moves in the playoffs. Joe Burrow is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but a ton of that is Jamar Chase. Obviously, T. Higgins has to go into it.
Not going to disagree. All right, John, you ready? Pick 3?
Yes, sir.
All right, lock in.
With the 3rd overall pick, the San Francisco 49ers will be selecting Justin Fields.
Okay.
Kyle Shanahan finally gets a quarterback. Look, Micah
Over
Parsons is special, but what have we seen the last couple of years when you don't have the quarterback? You're not going to go all the way to the Super Bowl. Justin Fields, the 3rd quarterback to ever post over 1,000 yards and 8 rushing TDs in a season, between Michael Vick and the guy Lamar Jackson you want for your Jets.
Love that.
The floor is high with Justin Fields because of that rushing ability. In San Francisco, Williams new heights.
First of all, John, beautiful fucking pick.
It was a great
I
pick.
love that pick.
It was a great pick.
Fields, one of my guys. Listen,
twin.
I'm going to tell you, twin. I'm going to tell you this right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't pick who I think you're going to pick here, you're going to put me on casual watch for the next pick. So I think you should pick this guy, but if you don't, I'm going to be fucked. I don't think you should do that, but
I think there's a pretty clear answer for.
I pray to God it is, but if it's not, it's going to put me on bad watch.
All right. I think
I'm going need.
I think Joel wants me to take Jalen Waddle.
I wasn't even thinking of Jalen
I
Waddle.
think Joel also might want me to take Kyle Pitts.
I'm fucked.
Now,
I was
really? All right. Well, I'm happy because with the 4th overall selection, I'm going neither of those options. I'm going Rashawn Slater.
I'm
Oh, what?
They desperately need offensive line. Rashawn Slater is clearly the best offensive lineman in this draft. Parsons is still in the draft. Yes, I understand, but I'm sorry. I need to address an obvious need. This offensive line, you need to protect your franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow. It has been 2 seasons now where we've seen in the playoffs where the offensive line has been horrendous and has
skipped the 4th pick.
Bro, the 4th pick's the Falcons.
4th pick's the Falcons. I was guessing you have Jake Matthews and Caleb McGarry.
Bro, I'm drunk. I accidentally put the Bengals first.
Thank
With the
God.
With the 4th overall
Hit
pick,
my
the
music.
Falcons.
I'm shacking a
are
fool.
selecting.
With the 4th overall pick, the Atlanta Falcons will be selecting. Yes, Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
That's why he
apologize.
fucks me up.
I apologize. I don't know what I was doing.
Schizophrenic.
I accidentally put the Bengals over the Falcons. Understandable. But yes,
Got
Micah
lost
Parsons.
Joe Burrow.
I apologize.
You're good.
No, it needs to be 100% Micah Parsons, the best defender in this class, right next to Pat Surtain, no doubt about it. The importance of cornerback is definitely there, but the presence and the versatility that Micah Parsons allows you, you need to go that route regardless of the needs here. I apologize. I genuinely have. Look, Joel can even attest to it. Bengals 4.
You made a Giannis-like mistake, my friend.
I did.
Falcons 5. Yes.
All right, Riv, are you ready for your 5th pick?
Kind of,
overall?
sort of.
All right, here we
The
go.
Bengals are selecting.
This is the Bengals. I apologize.
Let's name it out before you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
The
Yes.
5th. This one's actually tough for me because I thought about it and I was like, should Bengals take Waddle And because T. Higgins is a number one. I truly believe T.
Okay.
Higgins is a number
I don't
one.
disagree.
And Waddles would complement him very well. Or do the Bengals go offensive line, pick Slater or Creed Humphrey, another guy who was a stud? It's tough. Look at my, you know what? Cue it.
Easy.
All right, here we go.
With the 5th pick in the Cincinnati Bengals NFL draft, I'm gonna go Rashawn Slater.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good selection.
Yeah,
It's a good selection.
I'm gonna take Rashawn Slater. I'll stick with that pick. I think he's been a great.
You make me look less stupid.
Well, I was gonna
Appreciate
pick him at first because I thought you were gonna go Michael Parsons, but then you.
Yeah, I
came to your
made a
senses.
mistake, honestly.
Yeah.
And if you're going to lose Jamar Chase, you may as well get one of the few guys who can cover him.
Yeah, no, they need offensive line.
They need offensive
badly.
line. It's
I feel
not
like they're
desperate to get.
fine.
Listen,
No?
I have
Well, I don't
Pat
have a
Surtain.
receiver, so I need it more than now. I need more now.
I have Pat Surtain early
lost
off my
Chase.
board on my draft that I did.
Yeah,
Of
he's,
course
he's
you're
high
happy.
for sure.
But of course,
I'm
absolutely.
giggling.
But I do have him after Michael Parsons. And again, for necessity, I would still take Rashawn Slater over Pat Surtain, even on.
The Jets taking Chase made me rethink my offense. I no longer don't have a top 5, arguably a top 5
You're right.
receiver in the league. I now have T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and I have Joe Mixon. Anyways, so I have to reconfigure my team. I need more offensive line as opposed to now if I had those 3, I don't necessarily need offensive line because I can get things out quick. I can do things fast, but now what I don't have, I have to kind of bulk it up. So I could have went Waddle, but
I saw your vision. All right.
Oh, this is tough. Oh, do you want this? Your Dolphins. Do you want to take this?
Bro, that is so sweet.
Good, because I can't make a decision. I'll be honest.
Dude, it's
That's
Go
easy.
for it.
I think it's pretty easy.
It's
for
easy.
them.
Okay. Maybe I'm bugging.
now the way that we're gonna live is hindsight. Absolutely. Because it's 2020.
Sure.
And the Dolphins acquired Tyreek Hill. Does wide receiver become a necessity if you're the Miami Dolphins? I would not say it's a necessity.
Made them one of the most dangerous offenses in the league.
Absolutely. Jalen Waddle was all world, but that was when Tua Tagovailoa was at the helm. When Tua was not there, Waddle did not score a touchdown. Neither did Tyreek Hill. So it's all dependent on Tua, of course.
It's easy.
But without a doubt, they need secondary help. They need secondary
You are
help.
not serious.
He's
I'm
taking
100
PS too.
I am
You are not-
100%
Biggs.
selecting Pat Surtain with the 6th overall selection.
Over
Xavier
offensive
Howard.
line?
You do not love Tua.
Why
You
is
do
that?
not love him.
You should take
That's
an
not true.
O-line.
No.
If you
I
did,
don't
you would
need-
take Penei Sewell.
Penei Sewell.
Wait, in
Oh,
hindsight, though, he's with all the concussions. You wouldn't take offensive line?
That's
What
what
was
I was
it?
thinking.
What was a strong crutch of the Miami Dolphins this season was their lack of defense. Xavier Howard dropped off from the usual Xavier Howard that we've seen. Byron Jones
He's
can't
getting
stay
old.
on the field.
And Tua getting hit.
Tua, of course, the offensive line was an issue, but Tua the year prior was able to get the ball out quickly. It did not matter that the offensive line was bad, although it was horrendous, the worst in the NFL. He still was able to get the ball out quick and still move the offense down the field. And this year, yes, he did have a little bit more time. The Dolphins brought in Connor Williams. They brought in Teron Armstead. Robert Hunt is a solid right guard. This offensive line is already set with the moves that they made in free agency. It wasn't essential, absolutely crucial that they get another offensive line piece, although it would have been nice. I think you need to address this defense, and Pat Surtain, in my opinion, is the best fit, best necessity for the Miami Dolphins.
Wow. Austin Jackson stinks at right tackle.
He's not that good at all,
and that's
but he's better than Jesse Davis. And Jesse Davis
on the
was the worst
Steelers.
lineman I've ever seen in my life.
True. Surtain's elite, but I feel like you're taking the George Patton route here. Going with the quarterback, that's elite, but your quarterback's going to be dead. And what good is that to you?
I feel differently for the fact that Tua is able to read the field very quickly and still make quick reads and get the ball
He
out
did
fast.
that this season.
He
He
did
still
that this
got
season.
hurt.
He didn't
Multiple
last.
He
times.
did that this season, but it was due to him trying to make something out of nothing both times. Against Buffalo, he was extending
He's
out
gonna
of the
be asked to do
pocket,
that a
got
lot.
pushed.
It's just the NFL.
But he wasn't asked to do that his second year in the league. He was not scrambling outside the pocket as much as he was this year because he had a little bit more time than he did the year prior. Last year, his second year, he was getting the ball out faster than any quarterback in the league. The RPOs they were running, it were having people talk about Tua as an RPO merchant. He can't run anything else. It's the only way that he can be effective. But he showed that he has that ability to play that type of style of football and still win games. Now, yes, do I feel you? Do they need offensive line help? You could say so. But in my opinion, I think the defense was the main reason why the Dolphins did not win certain amount of games this season. The offense was prolific this season, and that was without the offensive line being solid. being one of the best in the league, I should say.
Don't you think of guys like Tyson Campbell, though, later in the draft with that pick they have later at 18?
I'd rather listen, I'm drafting PS2. I have arguably the best cornerback in the game now.
It's not ridiculous. That's why I couldn't decide, because I was between PS2. Waddle is still there, and the offensive lineman. That's why you can't really go wrong. I mean, you're getting an all-pro basically, whichever way you go. It's just a matter of, do you want to prioritize offense, protection, or defense? Maybe go best player available.
All right, so that means, John, you're on the board next.
Would I go 7? Who do you want, John?
EFX.
Number 7, we got the Lions here.
All right, you cool with that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
You want to go?
No, go ahead.
Cool. With the 7th overall pick, the Detroit Lions will be taking Penei Sewell. I think it's a rather easy pick for them. The interior offense line's a little bit of a question mark outside center, but you get a tackle, either spot he can play. He has so much potential. He's still 22 years old after his second season. Sewell can be the best offensive lineman from this entire draft class, and also the best tackle in the NFL in a couple of years. So for Jared Goff, man, we're going to protect him, make sure he's upright, so the Lions go in playoff games.
I'm fine with that. I mean, I had Justin Fields going here on my mock draft. You went Justin Fields a little bit earlier. Mm-hmm. That's more than okay, especially going to the Niners. That makes a ton of sense for me. But the reason why the Lions are such a beautiful destination, if you're one of these potential quarterbacks that could be drafted, is that this offensive line is the second best offensive line in the National Football League. And I say number 2 with respect, because what the Eagles have is unbelievable. To be number 2 to that unit is no disrespect at all. The Lions have built an unbelievable offensive line. And whoever comes in, whether it's Jared Goff, maybe a CJ Stroud, maybe a Bryce Young, depending how things shake out, Will Levis, correct?
Yes.
Thank God. Yes. They're going to be protected by one of the best units in the game. So Penei Sewell going to the Lions is 100% okay with me.
I'm
Joel?
up now?
Yes, you are.
Okay. 8th pick. All right. I'll be honest. I don't really have my selection ready. So we can talk about just a little bit of the options we have. We have the Panthers up at 8 number all in this draft. In real life, they took J.C. Horn, who is still, I think, very in play here. Quarterback, Mac Jones, and Trey Lance. Obviously, they have no quarterback answer. They're looking for someone possibly this year in the 2023 NFL draft. And then you also have probably a wide receiver, Smitty, Waddle, if you want to go that way. So those are the 3 or 4 ways I'm looking right now. Waddle kind of feels a little repetitive to DJ Moore, like play style wise, size wise. I think Waddle's better for sure, but just play style, I'd rather have a bigger body probably opposite DJ Moore.
Kyle Pitts is an option too.
Kyle Pitts is definitely an option. You know, big body, 6'6". JC Horn, and then quarterback. This is tough here. I'm still really high on Trey Lance. I like what he's doing. And you have Frank Reich here too, which makes things interesting. He could develop quarterbacks.
Being optimistic.
I'll be honest. I was kind of hoping the Jets at 14 would kind of luck into Trey Lance.
Nuts.
This is tough.
They will though.
Let the board speak to you.
This is tough.
Yeah, countdown time.
Oh yeah, you got 2 seconds.
I got 2 seconds. All right, hit me.
All right, here we go.
With the 8th pick, the 2021 NFL Redraft, the Carolina Panthers will be taking quarterback Trey Lance. Listen, I get it. There's good guys on the board. JC Horn, Waddle. He's going to be fine. He's going to be
speaking in.
No, well, now we're going from today forward. I think with Frank Reich there, he can develop quarterbacks. Trey Lance, we don't know. He's played and started and finished 3 or 4 games. He's had some moments where he looks really good. He's had some moments where he doesn't look like he's played football in a bit. The Panthers need an identity. I think that's their biggest need. They have not had a quarterback. I mean, their best quarterback in the last 7 years has been Teddy Bridgewater, right? We're looking at a situation where it's really post Cam Newton. They've had no identity offensively. They've been going after quarterback after quarterback, trying to get it right. While I understand maybe wanting to go for the sure thing with Waddle or JC Horn, or whoever you might decide, I think the upside here with Trey Lance, possibly getting a franchise quarterback, succeeds that or supersedes that.
All right, Riv.
You want me to go for your team?
Oh, facts. It is the Denver Broncos.
I'll go next. I got the Eagles.
All right.
Whoa. Hold. That means I'll go twice.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's all right.
Oh, I'll get the Bears.
All right. Yeah. Now, I don't have PS2 available to me. Obviously, that was the Broncos selection. And in hindsight, it's one of the best draft picks of the last however many years. Unbelievable. Great job, George Patton. I see that Kyle Pitts is still on the board. And I understand that tight end is a necessity for us right now. I understand that JC Horn is available. And yes, JC Horn is one of the better up-and-coming cornerbacks in this league. He was phenomenal this season. One of the lowest quarterback ratings allowed was JC Horn. He was amazing. Yes, he did have the injury. I believe he broke his wrist, I believe was the injury. If you could fact check me on that one. But J.C. Horn is intriguing here.
This world, you don't have PS2.
I don't have PS2. My secondary would be rough.
Broke his wrist.
But I am following your lead. And with the 9th pick overall, the Denver Broncos will be selecting Kyle Pitts because we need a generational weapon, honestly.
I feel like that's so disrespectful.
Why is that? I should take J.C. Horn here?
He's a huge J.C. Horn fan.
No, rightfully so.
I feel like it's disrespectful because we look at PS2 as let me start by saying this. He deserves that well respect.
Thank you.
So let me say before
arguably the best in the game.
We look at PS2 in this light of arguably the best of the game, and he deserves his respect. He's been great, but in Denver being on TV every fucking week is also a product of showing him every week. But what we forget is that J.C. Horn is better than a lot of guys we have in front of him. He's right. He's not better than PS2. I don't think that. But he's in that conversation. Like, he's elite. Like, he's one of the elite young quarterbacks in the league. And what sucks is he plays in Carolina. They're not winning. And I just feel like this was disrespectful.
Okay.
I'm not saying
I'll tell you why it's not disrespectful.
I feel like this was disrespectful because there isn't a major gap with PS2 and J.C. Horn. You could have still went cornerback with J.C. Horn and still had that elite defense. Because I guarantee you, if PS2 was here, you'd have took PS2, no question. But the fact that you didn't take J.C. Horn implies that you think it's a gap. Am I wrong?
I do think there is a gap with PS2 and J.C. Horn.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
But it's not a huge gap. Okay. No, it's not. What I do understand is that Kyle Pitts allows versatility. Imagine how versatile you have to be for you to be probably your team's best weapon. And they're using you as a blocker because you're so damn good at blocking that they need you to block up front because their offensive line is so bad. Now, Denver, in hindsight, we're living in hindsight.
Which means Russell is bad.
We have Russell.
He's bad.
Okay, as of right now. That, but he also gets offensive line help with all the injuries that we had to the offensive line. Now Kyle Pitts comes in, and we have that safety blanket there also with him being one of the best deep threats, one of the bigger physical bodies deep down the field as well. And with Russell Wilson being one of the better deep ball throwers prior to last season, too, I take that into account. And I understand now Sean Payton's my head coach, and now things really start to open up. I'm really expanding here and why I'm trying to validate my Kyle Pitts.
I like
selection.
the pick. I like it. People listen, I think a lot of people maybe don't like Kyle Pitts or think he's overrated because of fantasy football. I feel like fantasy football kind of almost ruined Kyle Pitts. So, like, you see these dynasty rankings and he's above Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews. You're like, hold the fuck on. But Kyle Pitts, like his rookie year, 1,000 yards as a tight end. You never see that. Only Mike Ditka is the only rookie tight end to ever do that. He's 6'6", he's 240, 250, runs a 4.4. He played at Florida in the SEC, was phenomenal. Comes in his rookie year, dominates. Like, Kyle Pitts is a phenomenal player. He just was hurt this year and obviously wasn't used to his talents because since he is a tight end, he's in line a lot. He blocks, especially for the Falcons, who were so heavily running the ball with Marcus Mariota. They weren't passing the ball. They were going to have games where Mariota has 20 attempts, right? And even if Kyle Pitts has a great target share of 20%, he's getting 5 targets. And maybe you're lucky if those 5 targets turns into 3 catches for 40 yards. So he was in a situation last year where, number one, he got hurt, missed, 10 weeks or whatever it was. And then number two, was in a system that is so run heavy, it's impossible no matter who you are to really put up a good statistical season.
I just think, like, with obviously we have the beautiful thing of hindsight, so we can look at things differently. So
crystal clear.
Makes the conversation way more funner. With Russ playing bad, there's still a gamble if Kyle Pitts can even unlock him. But with that defense, it was so elite because you had that guy on the outside that can defend any receiver in the league. And J.C. Horn is of that level. And then you give him, because you give him Sean Payton, you put him in a position where he has better secondary help and a defense that can help him, which Carolina, he didn't consistently have that. Now you probably look at J.C. Horn in a different light. That's why I'm just like, the Kyle Pitts, the talent is there. He's a stud. But J.C. Horn gives you pretty much the same thing PS2 gives you with Denver. You still get that elite defense, and you still get to rock out one of the best man corners in the league.
Riv, you're spitting. You're saying a lot of facts. I'm not disagreeing. The reason why I feel more comfortable also is, yes, we're a top 5 defense. We're top 5 defense with PS2. What do we drop to without PS2?
Like
probably 10. Middle of the pack, right? I'll give PS2 that much respect. We were the worst offense in the league.
Yeah. No,
worst.
I understand that part. It's not good, not ideal.
We need personnel. Yeah. Need it badly.
And JC only played in 3 games as rookie. I mean, Patrick Surtain, we have veterans like Darius Slade coming on the show and saying, look, we're taking notes on that guy. And it's not just him, it's Richard Sherman. Every single elite cornerback has looked at him and said, like, there is an even deeper element to his technique, his tackling. And there may not be a better press man cover.
No,
corner.
PS2 is a dog. I just think the gamble on Russ, like even with Kyle Pitts, you're still gambling on Russ being back to normal. With JC Horn, there is no gamble.
It really irks me that you're a Russ hater.
What the fuck?
Should he have gone with Mac Jones?
Oh God, no. Mac Jones shouldn't be touched in the top 10. You think I'm a Russ hater?
You are. I know you don't like him.
I actually don't have an ill will towards him. I'm just very
vocal about how shitty he was.
I'm actually vocal about a lot of guys who are shitty. If they're shitty, I'm very loud with it. To be fair,
unless it's his guy.
But then you're super quiet about Jalen Hurts being a dog.
Not necessarily. I think you and Dehls have had internal conversations though. About
internal, so off the podcast.
No, we've actually had it in the middle of you guys yelling. Me and Dehls actually have our little conversation.
I have great ears. I listen to everything that goes on.
You know, but it took you till the Super Bowl to be like, okay.
Did I not?
So it took him to the biggest game of his career.
But I did tell him like week 5. I said I've seen after playoffs. I did tell him that.
It's just interesting. That's the only reason I
was very consistent though. I didn't jump ship. I said I'll wait after the playoffs, and I even tweeted, Jalen Hurts got it. I said that. I said that. I tweeted that.
All right, Riv, you're on the clock with the Philadelphia Eagles.
I think this shit is easy.
Yeah?
What are we doing here?
Okay,
Hit my music. This man fell back into the laps.
It's nuts.
With the pick, we still go to the Super Bowl. We still have our GOAT.
He's still available, and by still available, I mean Jalen Waddle.
I don't give a fuck. We go Smitty.
Humphrey in the book.
Smitty. We don't. One thing, we can pick a guy in the 3rd round and turn him into an elite offensive line.
You're not capping.
So we don't need no big name, high profile guy. No, we bring our guy back to Philly, Smitty, who had an amazing year.
Take the bias hat off. Waddle's better.
Sure?
I know.
I'm positive.
I listen.
I like Waddle more.
Listen. Waddle's a speed demon. I'm not, but I like Smitty's hands. I like Smitty in the slot.
What's the difference in hands?
I've seen Waddle catch like this.
I think Smitty has better hands. I do think he has better hands.
But
it's marginal.
No, it's not. It's Smitty has.
Waddle dropped a couple in that last game against the Bills.
Smitty has some dog-like hands. But I do think Waddle's better. You know, but you got to bring the hometown home. Like you got to bring him home, bro. You can't pick nobody else with this.
I can't hate on it.
Yeah, so
I can't.
It's a 3-level guy. I mean, 2x upside.
He'll be better than Waddle.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, I was definitely chatting that before the draft also. I thought that Smitty would be better, but the way that I see Waddle play and the fact that he broke the record for receptions by a rookie.
No, he's I think their paths are definitely different.
Yeah.
But I just think Smitty has more in his game than Waddle. Like Waddle's a speed demon. I get that.
His route running's still great.
After the catch, I think Waddle's better.
No, yeah, because he's a speed demon.
Route running is Devon.
But I think Smitty inside outside, like the way he catches it in the possession in the slot, I think he can still beat you, be a burner and beat you. I think he just has a little bit more in his game. So that's why I lean Smitty. But Waddle's better.
Another thing that I don't sit great with in terms of evaluating Smitty is that it took till for AJ Brown to enter. Of course, it's tier 2, but AJ Brown entered this offense for Smitty to really.
That's why I said like their paths are different.
But it's Jalen Hurts taking a step too.
That is also a fact.
Don't you also think Mike McDaniel that his scheme has elevated Jalen Waddle to an even higher level?
That's fair too.
Yes and no. I say yes for the fact that the yards after catch was significant.
Yeah,
for the difference between the year prior, his rookie.
They're big play guys, AJ Brown. So yeah,
facts. But I also see that he was still productive even without the yards after catch. He needed to be the number one target week in, week out. And he was able to provide.
No, yeah, that's all. Like
as the one.
Yeah, I ain't mad at like if you have Waddle over. I agree. I just think like when you break it down a little bit, Smitty has some things.
He fits the offense in your opinion better
than our offense.
In your offense,
yeah, I think he does. I think Miami McDaniels is perfect for Waddle. I think even if Waddle went to Kansas City, that's perfect for Waddle. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I think Smitty, more of like a march down type of offense. You would probably rather have Smitty just because he has better hands. You know,
I'd rather gouge my eyes out than see that.
Oh no, Waddle to Kansas City. We're fucked.
I would die.
We're cooked.
You want to go again? Chicago Bears. I know you're a huge Chicago Bears guy. Yeah. Do you have the pick?
I actually do.
Oh, really?
Let me just write mine.
All right, go ahead.
I think I know where I would go here. I wonder if Riv would go the same way.
I think you have to go here, but
I think we fucked it up because I'm not getting 14. We're gonna have to redo it, but it's fine.
No, you're just gonna get 14 regardless.
Yeah, facts. But originally, I was supposed to get it like
no, we said fuck
naturally,
order.
But then yeah
once
I needed two.
Once you said that I got the Dolphins, then that's when shit got all out of hand.
And the Broncos came right after, so I gave him that pick.
No, and I appreciate that a lot.
Some guys on the board for the Bears: Landon Dickerson,
Creed Humphrey still up here.
Creed Humphrey,
J.C. Horn is still up here.
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones.
Hufanga.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
No, there's a lot of dogs.
Christian
Najee,
Darrisaw.
No, he's up here. I
Another
got him right now.
ETN.
All right, are you ready?
Greg Rousseau,
Fire
ABT, Javonte Williams, Christian Barrymore, Jalen Phillips, Trey Lance.
Ah!
Oh, he's gone. Trey Lance is
Facts,
gone.
facts, facts.
Talanoa Hufanga.
Wasn't picking him either. I have him up here too. Cue my fucking music.
Look up.
With the 11th pick in the Chicago Bears draft, I am going with Creed Humphrey. I am going to build up this offensive line from start to finish. I understand Mac Jones is on the board. I understand we got a couple receivers on the board. But if realistically, looking at the situation that we're in, I just feel like building an offensive lineup right now, especially with this class, you got to go perfect. I don't think you can miss on Creed Humphrey. I think I can miss on Mac Jones and be okay next season. I'm looking at the future, looking at the plan. I have $120 million in cap. I don't necessarily need a receiver right now. I can be cool.
I would have gone receiver.
I would have gone Waddle. I would have.
I could have went
Waddle,
Waddle, but I feel like offensive line. I don't have a quarterback, so I don't need a receiver. I need.
Don't you think a receiver is going to impact you more than a center?
To a degree, yes. But I think I don't know because
we are
they
living
control
in
the whole
hindsight.
line.
They have the number 1 overall pick.
That's true. And it's also a lot easier to find a receiver nowadays than an elite center.
Creed Humphrey's different.
Lucas Patrick missed half of this last
Would you rather
season.
have an elite center or elite receiver?
That's easy.
I don't think Waddle's an elite receiver though.
Oh yeah.
Borderline. He's at least at the minimum.
I'm sorry,
in
my
year
shit
2
limited.
entering.
That's fine.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
So
he's
what?
not
To
top
7
5.
guys?
He's not top 5, top 7.
might be longer.
There's hella good.
There's
There's
a
so
ridiculous
many
amount
good
of-
receivers.
That's why you have to kind of expand.
He's like around the.
So is
10th
DeAndre
receiver.
Hopkins elite or no?
He's still elite. He's better than.
He's probably
Waddle.
like
All right.
7, honestly.
Is AJ Brown elite or no?
Yes.
So
They're
what-
like the 7, 8, 9 guys.
Waddle's just outside of it.
Yeah, he's like
It's like 11, 12.
he's like what we would have Stafford.
so from 10 and beyond, in your opinion, which is fine.
Great.
They're not a
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee's not elite yet.
I wouldn't say he's elite either,
He's
but
great.
I know
he's
he's a
damn
CD guy.
close.
That's why I was
Love
trying to
CD. He's not
pull
elite
it
yet.
in.
He's great. He's great. He had problems with his hands beginning of the
Like
year.
I'm a huge
he's great.
Amon-Ra guy.
I think he's great.
I am fringe to say he's elite, but if I can't say CD's elite, and I understand people get really, really upset when I take Amon over CD.
It's AJ, it's DeAndre Hopkins, it's Chases. That's the next tier. Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Waddle, Devonta
Price,
Smith, yeah, DJ Moore. Like those are the next tier of guys.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so that's
fine.
like
I agree.
Yeah, fringe.
Debo Samuel elite or no?
No.
DK.
Fringe.
Nah, DK might got it.
He might be
got
like
it.
the last dude in. Like he might be the.
It's just the receivers are ridiculous.
Is
Yeah.
Debo lock top 10?
He might
We're
be
getting
10.
off topic real quick, but
I
I'm
don't-
curious.
I don't know. I don't think. Probably not after this past year.
He might
Okay.
be 10.
Okay, all right. Let's get back to the draft.
have
We're
Waddle
at
over him.
pick
So yeah,
12.
I picked Creed Humphrey.
We're all over the
The 11th
place.
selection for the Bears.
You said you called what?
The 11th selection for the Bears. Just explaining.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Good to go.
So, do you want to make the Dallas Cowboys selection?
I'm down unless you want to.
I can make the Cowboys
I
selection.
also would like to make the Cardinals. That's my last pick.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
My
make the
team.
Cowboys selection. You're gonna make the Chargers selection. Joel's gonna
Jets.
make the Jets.
And let them do Patriots too.
If you want to do Patriots, that's
can do that.
fine.
And
All
then
right, and then you
I'll
can
finish
get. All right,
up.
here we go. So, with the 12th overall selection, the Dallas Cowboys will be selecting J.C. Horn. Now, their original plan was to draft Pat Surtain. And when the Broncos selected Pat Surtain before them, they decided to trade back with the Eagles to screw over the Giants. Don't forget that. The Giants were in prime position to select Devonta Smith. The Cowboys traded with the Eagles, said, hey, we'd rather the Eagles have them than the Giants, but at least we get some capital for it. And then they lucked into Micah Parsons. That was huge for them. But I'm taking J.C. Horn here because, again, their original plan was to go cornerback. And I think they do need secondary help. J.C. Horn next to Trayvon Diggs makes them one of the best duos in the National Football League.
That might be the best. Oh.
I think that this was an obvious selection for me. I did, in my original mock draft, have them selecting Creed Humphrey for the fact that their center did retire. Travis Fredrickson, I believe. I don't want to get his name incorrect.
Yep.
He did retire, and that was a curveball for them. I feel like that would have been an instant replacement for them. Help out this offensive line, especially when you have your franchise quarterback, Dak Prescott. But I'm going to go with J.C. Horn here. All right, so that means that the Chargers are up. John, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, here we go.
I'll take mine.
With the 13th pick, the Chargers will be selecting Talanoa Hufanga.
Okay.
Cool.
All
This
right.
was a tough selection, but Brand Staley's
picked for the
defense Jordan
What was the
I
pick?
picked J.C. Horn.
No, I listened. Oh my God.
Yeah, they
You did that.
Yeah, they got a powerhouse.
Him and Diggs is.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
fire.
I wish you were here when I said it.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
No, like I literally blanked out. I'm so
All
sorry.
right, bro.
The Chargers
you pick?
taking Talanoa Ufanga with the 13th overall pick.
I'm sorry.
My fault.
All right.
What are we giggling about?
This guy asked you who you selected right after asking who I picked. This guy's just not listening. That's why it's funny.
You went safety?
Yeah, no, I go ahead,
Let's
explain the pick.
discuss.
Go ahead.
For Brandon Staley's Angio-heavy defense, you need elite corners. Duran James struggles with his health, and for Staley, that defense relies heavily on quarters coverage. And with Ufanga's playmaking, look, man, D'Amico Ryan's done a phenomenal job with him this season, but that level of a playmaker is a toy that Staley will love to have. And I think for the execution of his defense, theory of Talanoa being inserted right into the mix on the back end, Noah Asante Samuel, we can go with him later in the draft. The one player on the board I was looking heavily at was Landon Dickerson.
What about Jalen Waddle?
I would have took Waddle or Amon-Ra with the Chargers.
Jalen Waddle, Amon-Ra,
Please let him.
Christian
fall.
Darrisaw.
Are we letting the Jets get two receivers?
No, that's what's going to happen.
Not ideal.
Unless he drafts Mac Jones.
He needs a quarterback. Bad.
John, the only thing I'll say is this.
Waddle is still
I understand
on the
where you're
board.
coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive-minded head coach. Hufanga was all pro. He was
I
phenomenal.
love the
I just understand that I feel the reason the Chargers lost that game to the Jaguars was sure they had a historic defensive collapse in the second half, but they didn't lose that game because of the defense. They lost that game because they could not score in the second half. I think you add Jalen Waddle to that mix with one of the best quarterbacks in the game, in my opinion, Justin Herbert. You give him that deep threat that he has been begging for. Yeah. This offense becomes unbelievable.
Yeah, I kind of forgot he was on the board.
That's all right. Understandable. Understandable. The fact that Jalen Waddle's continuing to fall, you would think that he'd go earlier.
To be fair, I mean, the Chargers desperately need speed. And like for me, I think if like that speed's through a size, Waddle would be the obvious pick. But hey, we're going for Fanga now.
But now that you know that Waddle is there, I'm allowing you
to have the option. We don't do that nonsense around here. You stick with the pick. Talanoa.
This guy picks a side, and I respect the fuck out of it.
No deal.
All right, Joel, you ready?
Pick 14.
My
yes.
brother is out getting a drink.
I'm interested. What are you doing here?
This is interesting because remember, number 2 overall, we took Jamar Chase.
Yep.
We have Jamar Chase and Garrett Wilson.
In hindsight, you folded now.
Why?
Should have went Micah.
Maybe, yeah. I didn't think Waddle was going to fall to 14.
Nobody would.
But regardless, you could get Waddle here and just have a receiver room of Chase, Waddle, and Garrett Wilson, and
Brees
nobody
in the
can
backfield.
guard you. But I also look at this offensive line, and there's nobody right now. We have nobody on this offensive line. Becton, we don't have AVT in this world. Dwayne Brown's like 40. Connor McGovern's a good center. So as much as it makes sense for Waddle to be here at 14, it's just like you could have all these guys, but I mean, we're going to get destroyed and our quarterback's going to get hurt. And all of a sudden we're playing a backup. It doesn't matter who you have receiver if you have a backup. So with that being said, with my 14th pick, just like Riv brought his boy home, I will be bringing my boy home. The New York Jets will be selecting Elijah Vera Tucker, number 14 overall.
This next one should be easy.
And fuck all this, put him at guard. No, we're putting him at tackle, left tackle, right tackle. He played there this past season. He was great. He has the versatility to play guard or tackle. But as we know, tackle is more important. So I'm putting him at tackle. We are passing up on Jalen Waddle. Unfortunately, I have the 15th pick. We'll be going here with the 15th pick in the NFL
No
draft.
Darrisaw.
Not right now, no.
Over AVT, I'm wondering.
New England Patriots will be taking Jalen Waddle. Sorry, say it again.
No Darrisaw over AVT.
I'm going with AVT.
Darrisaw was unbelievable this season.
AVT was on his way to an all-pro type season if he didn't get hurt.
I'm not going to say you're wrong, but the jump that we saw from Darrisaw rookie season to this year was significant. I'm pretty sure he had over 90 PFF grade this season. He was so great.
I would say AVT was on his way to that if he didn't get hurt. I guess we'll never know. And it's not like I forgot what he tore a pec actually. So it's not like it's a knee injury or something like that. So I did go AVT there. Darrisaw, you could have the argument for sure, without a doubt. 15, New England. I mean, Jalen Waddle falls into their lap. All right. You wait the 15th overall pick. They get Mac Jones in real life. They need a receiver desperately. Jalen Waddle's there at 15. It's their most explosive weapon since Randy Moss. He goes there. No quarterback, right? Maybe they get Cam. Okay, he's more explosive than Julian Edelman. But Waddle at 15 is perfect. That's
an amazing pick.
Now, Riv, what are you going to do here? Because I'll be completely frank with you.
It's the last pick of our redraft, right?
It is.
16th.
This is a big moment because I feel like I would go one way over the other. But, of course, you're your own man. You have the selection.
This is I have 3 guys I'm thinking about right now.
All right, let's talk about it.
So I have Amon-Ra, St. Brown,
Okay.
100%. You know, you got to think about it. AJ Green has officially retired. DeAndre Hopkins has said he wants out, or if he doesn't get the money, he wants to get traded. And even if he does, he's getting up there in age. Rondale Moore is 5'9". He is a gadget. He is not really a reliable
5'9"
receiver.
might be nice.
You're being very kind.
Hollywood Brown, he's good, but he's still not an ideal number 2 for me. I feel like I'm still struggling with a number 1 because of Hopkins' age. He's elite, but you know he's missed some time last 2-3 years. I'm also looking at Javon Holland because I completely flopped in the secondary with all those young picks I had. I mean, Isaiah Simmons, Byron Murphy's solid, but you still, you know, like Buda Baker's, yeah, he's
Byron's good.
1-on-1. But I think I can buffer up this secondary and pick Javon Holland. The third guy I'm looking at, Javonte Williams, because I feel like having a running back that can be great in the pass catch and in the run game is impressive. And James Conner, I'm sorry, he just doesn't move me one bit.
How about Etienne?
Etienne, I think Javonte's better.
Okay,
Maybe
maybe
coming off an ACL.
You know, Etienne has that stuff in the foot as well. The way he plans.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine after the ACL. But keep my music because I ain't picking either one of these clowns. So with the 16th pick in the draft, I am going Amon-Ra St.
That's what I'm fucking talking about.
Because I need somebody for K1 that's healthy, that's young, energetic. He brings that different swag to the game. And then to pair him next to DeAndre Hopkins with Hollywood Brown, with Rondale Moore. Now I have a pretty impressive, pretty respectful wide receiver core as opposed to having AJ Green as my number 2. And then having Hollywood Brown, who got hurt. So now I have these 4 guys. I can make some damage. I have K1 still. It's a beautiful world. I feel amazing.
All right, so let's recap this redraft of ours. This is the pick-a-side 2021 NFL Redraft. With the number 1 overall selection, we went Trevor Lawrence to the Jaguars. With the 2nd overall pick, we went Jamar Chase to the Jets. 3rd overall to the Niners, we went Justin Fields. 4th overall to the Falcons, we went Micah Parsons. 5th overall to the Bengals, we went Rashawn Slater. 6th overall, Miami Dolphins, we went Pat Surtain. 6th overall to the Lions, 7th overall to the Lions, we went Penei Sewell. 8th overall to the Panthers, we went Trey Lance. 9th to the Broncos, we went Kyle Pitts. 10th overall to the Eagles, we went Devonta Smith. 11th to the Chicago Bears, we went Creed Humphrey. 12th to the Cowboys, we went J.C. Horn. 13th to the Chargers, we went Talanoa Hufanga. 14th to the Jets, we went Elijah Vera Tucker. 15th to the Patriots, we went Jalen Waddle. And 16th, and the final pick in our pick-a-side redraft, we went Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, in hindsight, I wish I took Jalen Waddle to the Cowboys. In hindsight, I do wish that.
You took Horn, right?
I took Horn. And
I think you would. Go ahead.
I'm disappointed in myself for the fact that I did get on John for saying that if I'm the Chargers and Jalen Waddle's available, it's a no-brainer. For the Cowboys, it's a no-brainer. Jalen Waddle has to be the selection here, especially after letting Amari Cooper go next to CeeDee Lamb. We're talking about some of the one of the best, if not arguably the best duo in the league. So for me to pass up on that is pretty brutal. But J.C. Horn and Trayvon Diggs make it nearly impossible to throw on you. But the injury concern is there also.
Are you disrespecting J.C. Horn?
I'm not disrespecting him. I just understand what a versatile offense does in the National Football League.
And Horn, only played 16 games in 2 years.
And their defense is not bad by any means.
You picked Trey Lance. You didn't say a word about injuries.
Quarterback.
Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, all right. Well, no, Kyle went to Carolina.
I know, facts. No, it's not Kyle. Excuse me. Trey. Yes, he went to Carolina.
Yeah,
roll the dice with Fields. Number 3.
Right.
So some of the best players not taken: Christian Darrisaw, Trey Smith, Tevin Jenkins. He got better this last year.
Jonesy.
Pat Freiermuth, Travis Etienne, Ramondre Stevenson, Javonte Williams.
I'll be honest.
And Christian Barmore.
Tyson Campbell.
Jalen Phillips.
Azeez Ojulari, Nick Bolton, Javon Holland was taken. Was he?
No.
He was not taken. And Asante Samuel.
I don't think Asante Samuel would have went top 16.
Asante Samuel he wouldn't go top 16.
He's good, though.
I think there's too many good players. I think a bunch of offensive line would go off the board before him. But yes, Asante Samuel did have a great playoff performance. Of course, 3 interceptions? He had an unbelievable game, but I don't think he'd go top 16.
Oh,
and Kyle Trask too.
Kyle Trask.
Are you serious?
John, come on.
Kyle
man.
Trask or Zach Wilson?
No, Mac Jones.
Anybody
the next
over
quarterback.
I'll
Zach
be honest.
Wilson.
I'm taking Zach Wilson.
Really?
That's my limit. Kyle Trask. That's where I say, okay, Zach, let's see what you got.
Slice him up.
So moving on, we are going to be talking about coaching hirings in the National Football League. We saw a couple moves made, and obviously it took us a little while to talk about it. First, we're going to talk about Shane Steichen going to Indianapolis. Joel, I want to start with you. What are your thoughts and opinions on Steichen going to Indianapolis?
Hopefully Jim Irsay doesn't screw this up. That was my first thought, because when you see the press conference, Steichen's up there with Chris Ballard and Jim Irsay. And in the interview, Jim Irsay says, well, it's obvious we brought this guy in here to develop a young quarterback. And he said, and I quote, we like that young kid from Alabama too. Don't know why you'd put your business out there. Maybe it's a smokescreen. They really like CJ Stroud, one of these other quarterbacks. But I like this move for the Colts. This coaching cycle, there wasn't a ton of names that you loved outside like Sean Payton, right? There wasn't a ton of guys that you looked at and said, these are home run hires, like D'Amico Ryans a lot, especially. But there wasn't like a Brian Dable. I really saw that. I thought would be fantastic. So
Okay.
Steichen was really the one offensive-minded head coach on Philly, helped develop Jalen Hurts, that I saw as one of the more promising hires available. And the fact that the Colts got him is a good sign. They're obviously going with the quarterback in the draft. Whether they stay at 4, they trade up to number 1, wherever they might be, I think it is a 95% chance they're going quarterback. And the fact that their owner went out and said it, I think only confirms that fact. It's really just a matter of how aggressive they want to get to move up to the number 1 pick. But to talk about Steichen a little bit, Jalen Hurts deserves a lot of credit, right? What he does in the offseason, the work he puts in, credit goes to Howie Roseman too, bringing in A.J. Brown. But Steichen deserves some credit as well, right? Being the offensive coordinator, he's in the rooms every single day with Jalen Hurts. So I think the fact that Jim Irsay and Chris Ballard saw that, that's the exact same thing they want to duplicate over here in Indianapolis. Get a young quarterback in, someone high character like Jalen Hurts, maybe even another Alabama quarterback with Bryce Young. I like this move.
Man, Steichen's big time for the Colts. Can you talk about a hire coming up after going with the offensive mind that's proven to up to a Super Bowl level maximize young quarterback is crucial. He spent a decade in Los Angeles and San Diego between Norv Turner, Mike McCoy, then goes to Philadelphia with Nick Sirianni. I felt like the first year for the Eagles, they didn't lean into the running game enough, but they eventually did. Tyronn Lue style, they figured it out, leaned into the run, and they made the playoffs. Second year, Jalen Hurts, magnificent job that Nick Sirianni did with him. So, I mean, for this hire, I would give this an easy B+. Okay. And now for the Colts, I think you look at Anthony Richardson out of Florida, that same dual threat quarterback.
Big Anthony Richardson guy.
Big time.
At 4?
As Joel's,
Who's your favorite quarterback?
Oh, man.
Like in general.
It depends on what you want. If you want to go safe in this year's draft.
Like you enjoy, like as a fan, who's your favorite quarterback?
In the NFL, not college.
Yeah, in the NFL.
Oh, in the NFL?
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, number 1.
Who's the second one?
Joe Burrow.
Who's the third?
You really are a Joel Moran Jr.
No, but here's the difference.
You like Lamar?
As a Steeler fan, I hate the guy. But as a football fan, I appreciate
He's a Steelers fan. He probably hates Lamar.
You hate Lamar?
No, I don't hate him. He can't beat us.
You hate Justin
number
Fields?
3 would be
Oh, here we
Josh
go.
Allen and Justin
Trying to figure
Herbert.
something out here.
The quarterbacks in this draft for me, I mean, Anthony Richardson is the most tantalizing with how, I think he's Justin Fields. And then with CJ Stroud, the floor is so high with him, but the ceiling is lower simply than Anthony Richardson, I think. And then Bryce Young, he's the most fascinating, but at his size, as Joel said, I am really concerned with the fact he's 190 pounds. How much, in the NFL, you need to get bigger, big time. And I feel like he's a special prospect, but at the next level, that lack of size can really put a cap on him. But yeah, if I'm the Colts, I'm looking at Anthony Richardson around that 4 slot, and it's going to sound crazy to most people, but because of that rushing ability, especially the offensive line too, coming together for the Colts. Well, it came together a little bit in the second half of the season. It was really bad early. I remember that Patriots game, which got right.
Benching Matt Ryan maybe helps.
Oh yeah, benching Matt Ryan does help a little bit.
Yeah, he's
and
old.
Early in the year, it was really bad. But they started to figure things out on the left side. I think if he was plugging 1 or 2 gaps with what they had in the veterans, that Colts offense line could be fine. And for Steichen, I keep calling her Steichen. It's tough. They had to deal with Jim Irsay. That is a big question mark. But in the past, Irsay wasn't an issue. So I wonder, will he take a step back as he did in the years before? And ideally for him, this would be a great job to get this Colts team back on track, man. They could have been a playoff team if they didn't bench Ryan and do all the other nonsense.
Well, I think even with Ryan, they weren't.
I'll be honest, they benched
they're
Ryan.
500. They're 500 with them.
Their offensive line was dog
They
doo.
benched
When it got
Ryan.
better as the
That's
year
like
went
saying
on.
the Jets were 5-2 with Zach Wilson.
Yeah, be serious.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan
Same
Taylor
part.
too missed a huge chunk of the season with his ankle.
they should have been a
So,
playoff team because of the lack of competition in their division.
Well, there's no doubt about it. That's a down year for them. I think for Steichen, this is a good job for him, but for the Colts, this was an amazing hire. I mean, Irsay could have ruined this, and they're so lucky they're able to fall back.
And then go with Jeff Saturday is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, big time. Shout out to him on the boat. Just like, yeah, you know the deal.
It just would have been so Jim Irsay
Ugh.
to fucking
Woo.
bring
Yeah.
back Jeff Saturday as the head coach. But go ahead, Riv.
I'm in pain. Nah,
Oh,
I'm not.
No, that hurts.
coordinators.
That hurts.
So we lost everybody. It's fucking insane. That's what happens though when you go far, you win, you get recognition for the guys. Shout out to them. I hope they do well. He beat out 13 other guys. That's a lot of people. It's saying 2 to 3, 13 is a lot of guys, you know. Great qualities, great leader. You know, our offense in Philly loved him. You know, he was the guy who was he was working every day with the guys every day watching film. Good play caller. You know, he drew up some amazing plays this year.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
we were one of the best offenses in the league. And the Colts have one of the worst offenses in the league. They're like bottom 5 in every single offensive statistical category. Like, wherever you want to look, the Colts are probably at the bottom 5. So I think it's interesting. It's always interesting for me because I was talking about it with somebody the other day. The transition from offensive coordinator to coach is so much more responsibility. I mean, anything to coach in general, especially in the NFL, because you have to understand play calling, you have to understand clock management, you have to understand managing the whole team, you have to understand managing just the media. Like, it's so much to it. And I hope Steichen, I feel like we prepared him for this moment, so he should be ready. I mean, the Colts are a shit show right now, but you have some promises. You have Jonathan Taylor, you have Michael Pittman Jr., who I think is really good. The offensive line does need to still get some work in. You still need to bring in more receivers, and you need a quarterback. I think the most important thing for offensive coordinators is to have a quarterback. You know, when you don't have a quarterback, at least even a bridge, it's kind of hard to kind of maneuver that. And I think for the most parts, Indianapolis has been fine with bridges outside of Wentz. They had Jacoby Brissett. They had Phillip Rivers, who was still good. They made the playoffs for him. So they've been fine, kind of teetering in that middle of the pack range. But for me, A- signing. I think this signing is definitely, you get the coach, you have somebody that can instill a confidence, instill a culture into this program that needs it badly, and somebody with that Philly blood in them. When you got that Philly blood in them, you know you're tough. It's different. Brotherly love, you know, that heart and soul is deep. Shout out to him though.
In my opinion, this was the second best offensive. Let me not say offense, excuse me. This was the second best head coach hiring this offseason outside of Sean Payne, in my opinion.
Like more than D'Amico.
D'Amico definitely is up there. Absolutely. He was one of the prime candidates, but you and I think similarly, where I think this is an offensive minded league. That is the way that it is trending toward, especially in 2023. And that's one thing I will give, the few things I will give credit to Jim Irsay. He's understood that. He wanted to bring in McDaniels. That did not work out. He brought in Frank Reich, of course, one of the better offensive minds, in my opinion, as well. He tried to scapegoat Frank Reich, and now he brings in another offensive mind in Steichen. Steichen has had a hand in developing Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts, two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So Steichen now comes to Indianapolis with an opportunity to now draft his own, bring in his own quarterback, 4th overall, with the opportunity to bring in Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. The world's his oyster at 4, potentially might trade up to number 1 with the Bears, of course, to jump to Houston Texans, who are also in business of drafting a quarterback. What this team desperately needs is an identity offensively. And I think the person who will benefit the most from this is Jonathan Taylor. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Taylor last year was not utilized, not nearly enough as a pass catcher. And even the year where Jonathan Taylor had 1,800 rushing yards, had over 2,000 scrimmage yards, had over 20 touchdowns. I think he had 20 specifically, 18 rushing, I think 2 receiving. Even in that year, he was not utilized, not nearly as much as I would want in the passing game. I think Jonathan Taylor in that aspect will definitely start to see an uptick there. And I think we have to sit here and look at the landscape of the Indianapolis Colts. Their offense last year was terrible, but at the minimum, there's a silver lining. This defense is really good. Kwity Paye, DeForest Buckner, Yannick Ngakoue, Shaq Leonard, Kenny Moore, of course, Stephon Gilmore, who really came back last season and really performed at a very high level. I just think that this offense needs addressing, and who better to do it than Shane Steichen with what was available to you. I think that now that he has the opportunity to select his quarterback, this offense will now start to have the proper rebuild. And Steichen was that first piece, and then it will follow with draft day on who they will bring in as their next quarterback. If I'm the Colts, of course, I want Bryce Young. He's my favorite quarterback prospect of these guys. But if CJ Stroud falls into my lap, I'm more than okay with that. I think he's a little bit more mobile than what people give him credit for. I think that, in my opinion, he is the best pocket passer of the quarterbacks available. I think that his arm I trust the most, especially I feel like he's the most NFL-ready quarterback, where you mentioned it. Bryce Young, yes, he does have all the traits, but the body might be a little bit of a concern. I just feel like you can't take the risk and pass up on a Bryce Young. I think that his upside's too high. So I think that he will be the first quarterback selected. But if I'm the Colts and CJ Stroud falls to me at 4, I'm not upset. I did not have to give up any future assets. I get to sit here at 4. I get to get the second best quarterback, in my opinion, available to me. The Colts are sitting pretty. I think they allowed the draft board to play the way that it will shake out. I think they're going to end up with a quarterback regardless. They're in a very firm spot at 4. I think that trading up to number 1 would be a mistake just to give you like a FU to the Houston Texans. That's not what I want to see from the Colts. But this was a great hire for me. This is an A hire. The Colts really hit it out the park here.
Chris Ballard is a big traits guy. He likes guys, big arms, big body, mobility, that type. So that makes me think maybe he's open to staying at 4 and taking a Levis or Richardson, who has those elite type traits. I started scouting probably a week ago this week. Just did Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud. Richardson's going to be hard. I'm going to have to sit through a few more games. Stroud, I agree with you, Drew. I think pocket presence-wise, he's fantastic. He could eat you alive from the pocket. He's not a natural creator outside of the pocket, but he can. And when he gets up to speed, like, he's a good athlete, for sure. Richardson's going to be harder, though, because he makes some easy things look really hard, and he makes some ridiculous throws make it look really easy. So he's going to be so much of development and where he lands. Like, if he ends up landing with a great coaching staff like Carolina, I would love. The Giants, I would love, although that's probably too far. He's going to matter a ton on who's in the room with him every day.
So next, moving on, we're going to talk about Jonathan Gannon going to Arizona.
This is interesting.
Joe, we're going to start with you, of course. What are your thoughts on this one?
It felt like the least inspiring hire of the coaching cycle. Defensive guy, not really this big name. You have Philly kind of implode in the Super Bowl, although it's Patrick Mahomes. I get it. But all the people who said Philly didn't play anyone the regular season, and that's why their defense had all these good numbers, that goes to credit to them, because when they played an elite level defense or elite level offense, their defense got exposed. He was defense coordinator for the Eagles for 2 years. They've been one of the top defenses over these last 2 years. It hasn't just been this season. It was last year as well. A lot of that has to do, though, with personnel. I mean, we've talked about it this season, especially probably the best roster, if not top 2 or 3 rosters in the league. A lot of that talent's on defense. Same thing last year. This offseason, a lot of it was offensive focus, bringing in A.J. Brown. But this defense has really gotten a lot better these last 2 years, bringing in guys like Darius Slay, Bradbury, Gardner Johnson, right? Hassan Reddick. Like, there's been so many guys added that it's almost hard not to have a good defense. I don't want to discredit him, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to go out there and execute. You have to play your opponent, and you have to play well, because it's the NFL. You can get beat any given week. But it's just difficult, because I think specifically for this hiring, we're not going to know a lot about Gannon, because Kyler Murray is probably going to play in November, maybe, right? Like, he got hurt late this season. There's a world he doesn't play at all next year. There's a world, who knows, this is the last snap we've ever seen Kyler Murray play with the Cardinals, with the fact of all the off the field rumors that go on, the injury, now the ACL. So this first year, I mean, I think the Cardinals are going to be in competition for the number 1 overall pick. You're not going to have. You're
really that low on the Cardinals.
You're not going to have Kyler for 2 months, maybe longer. We don't know their backup. Now you have a new head coach. DeAndre Hopkins wants to get traded. J.J. Watt retired. You still have pieces. Hollywood, I get it. But overall, I mean, this is a team without a quarterback. And we don't have a quarterback. It's really hard to say what the coach is. Now, if their defense goes out there and it is a top 5 unit or top 10 unit and they win some games, obviously, I look foolish. But I think the Cardinals team lose a lot of games. Like, they're going to be in that top 5 pick consideration. The NFC is weak, so I understand if you want to take that argument, saying they can win some games. But like John mentioned with Derek Carr, all you guys mentioned with Derek Carr, every game the Cardinals are going to go into, at least for the first 8-10 weeks of the season, they're going to have the worst quarterback. They're going to have a backup, whether it's Jacoby Brissett or if they run it back with Colt McCoy, whoever it might be. I think the Cardinals are going to lose a lot of games. And because of that, we're not going to really know what Gannon is, how great of a coach he is. we're obviously look at the defensive side of the ball, but I worry they don't have the personnel to really be able to be a top unit, or at least a unit that can lead you to some victories.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals won 4 games last year, and so with Kyler missing most of next year, they probably will be the team that overall pick.
Understandable.
But so Jonathan Gannon, okay, so the first thing I thought of, he looks like more from Impractical Jokers.
He does.
And he also came off like a goofball too.
Okay.
I was telling this before the show, my first impression of him was him meeting Rondell Moore and going, explosives? Pew, 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 pew,
Yo, that was nuts. It was nuts. It was nuts.
Oh, that's crazy as fuck.
It's the weirdest thing.
Man.
Okay, so here's the thing, Gannon. Running that defense in Philadelphia, it's a little bit more of like the quarters heavy. It's a little bit more conservative, and it relies on that really good pass rush. And when I look at this Cardinals defense, they have a good secondary, Byron Murphy. They have good safeties. But who is gained to the quarterback on that group? You go from the Eagles, the best pass rush in football, to one of, if not the worst, in Arizona. So I look at this Gannon hire, and it's just so uninspiring because, number one, I mean, when they played legitimate quarterbacks this year, Jared Goff even, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers / Jordan Love, when they played the Jaguars or Trevor Lawrence, all those offenses cooked them to shreds. They were getting up 30 points per game. Now, you can't attribute all that to the defensive coordinator. When I look at this Cardinals defense, third overall pick this year, they're probably going to go Jalen Carter, I would think, but maybe Will Anderson.
He might be gone.
He might be gone at 3. It's a great point at the Bears, but they're clearly going to go defense in the top 3 here. And one of my first concerns is the defense going to develop in time for a second or third season? I don't know if the answer is yes, because you look at this roster, it's barren on the defensive front. And I don't know if, new front office will be able to actually put the parts in place for his group to be good. And if the defense is not going to be above average in the next 2 years, you look at an offense with Kyler Murray, where his leadership has been called into question. He's been a coach that with Cliff Kingsbury did not work, right? Cliff wanted to run more of the crossing routes that Kyler couldn't necessarily see. Kyler was hurt often. The offense needs a high-level coordinator, but they also need somebody that will get on Kyler's level, and Kyler will like. As a quarterback, if you don't like the offensive coordinator, well, now all of a sudden that coordinator
Things get difficult.
And it gets really difficult, even if that coordinator is good. So the first issue is the defense, the set of the personnel of which Gannon will have. The second issue is who's going to be the offensive coordinator. If you're going with the defensive mind, you have to nail the OC. And if you do, he leaves and you have to find a new one. And with Gannon's track record, he's a younger coach. Does he have necessary contacts to bring in a high-level OC? I don't know if the answer is yes. So like at that Cardinals offense too, Kyler's a specific quarterback. He's not the most versatile in terms of the scheme he can run. We saw that with Cliff. My concern also is that, hey, look, you go with the defensive-minded head coach with the limited quarterback, and it's like, well, this may not be the right fit either.
Would you say that Kyler's limited?
Yes. He can't see the middle of the field, as Joel says all the time.
Because
that was
height,
an issue.
which is understandable.
He could be a great quarterback. Without seeing the middle
he
field.
is-
He has been.
He is a
Yes.
great quarterback.
Sure.
But with Cliff this last year, won 4 games because
Got
it
hurt.
wasn't a fit with those 2 guys.
I'll let Riv go before I go in too deep because there's a chance that you might not get a word in if I start talking. So go ahead.
Cards guy, by the way.
Cards guy. Yeah.
Oh,
Nah, just a K1 guy. Love that guy. He's so fucking amazing. Hater.
Oh no, he generational right
yeah,
there.
no, we caught him.
I
We
didn't
caught him.
like
We caught
that
him. We
at
caught
all.
him
Oh,
red-handed.
it's
I'm
been
just
settled?
talking about the
Yeah.
hire. What?
Your
So your height
height
is 2. Joel
Yep.
Moran Jr. Got
I think
Got
Kyler's
it.
top
You're
10.
in
I think
all the
Kyler's a
keys,
top
bro.
10
No, don't
quarterback.
try to
I'm not
add
going
that
to come
in
in
there
here with rose-colored glasses.
Don't try to
and
add that in here to
nonsense.
try to justify.
He's top 10, but he's limited.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, you saw him last year.
Stop
4
it.
wins.
Stop it.
You don't think he's top 10?
There's no way.
I do.
Well, Riv talks. Draw up your top 10 quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I'm
you do
genuinely
that.
interested.
Don't be top 10.
Top 10 quarterbacks?
Yeah,
Right.
While Riv talks,
Okay.
go ahead, cook it up.
So I actually watched the Jonathan Gannon press. I watched it. It was very interesting. He talked about how this defense is going to be explosive. It's going to be violent. It's going to be powerful. And then he talked like he got hired primarily because of how much he thought of Kyler Murray. He thought Kyler Murray was an amazing quarterback. He spoke very highly. Listen,
He spit.
he caught me. I fell in love with the guy. Speaking of K1 like that is amazing. But he did say, which was the thing that caught me, is I'm going to find an offensive coordinator that fits K1, that K1 trust that he can go by. And I think that's the most important part, when you can come in as a coach and then tell your quarterback, I'm going to find you your guy. We're going to look for your guy. I think he set the tone right there. He earned K1's trust right there. I think that is important. This team needs help. Serious help. And you mentioned us blowing, a lot of teams give us points. Listen, Gannon is an aggressive defensive coordinator. He's very aggressive. And we did give up a buttload of points to some solid teams, nothing crazy. But we did give up a lot of points. But I think, like you said, that's not all on the coach sometimes. Sometimes it is the players. But to your credit, we have almost the most stacked defense in the league. So I don't know if it's, like him. I don't know. It's really a fine line there. But I think this was a good hire. You get somebody who can come in, can fix your defense. We've seen what he can do with a talented squad. And the Cardinals just need to get back to being competitive. I think the first part, though, of like me really assessing Gannon is what type of coordinator he brings in, because you have to bring in somebody that benefits K1. You mentioned that he does have his limitations because of his height. He can't see the middle of the field. But to your credit, not even to your credit, because you didn't say anything nice. K1 is a threat. He can get out the pocket, make plays with his feet. He has a big arm, despite him being 5'8", 5'9". He's probably one of the biggest arms in the league. He can do off-platform throws that we haven't seen from few guys that short. So the talent is there. It's just about, can you come in, can K1 respect you as a coach, and can you bring an offensive coordinator that brings the best out of him? And I think this was a solid hiring.
By the way, sorry, Drew, I was just going to say real quick,
ahead.
they hired, I had the name, now I lost it, Jonathan Gannon, Drew Petzing. He was the former Browns quarterback coach. He's going to be their offensive coordinator. He's 35, really no experience calling plays as far as I could tell. He was with the Vikings a couple years before that. So very young staff. His defensive coordinator is Nick Rallis, who used to be the Eagles linebacking coach. He's only 29. So an incredibly young staff. I mean, 29, that's about as young as you get for any coaching position.
So I'm iffy on this hire. I'm iffy on this hire for the fact that I'm a big offensive-minded guy. I've said this a plethora of times on the show already. And especially when you have your franchise quarterback already set, at least you paid him as such to be your franchise quarterback. You want to bring in someone that's going to boast up Kyler Murray and allow him to reach the highest of highs that he could possibly reach. Why it's iffy for me is, one, Jonathan Gannon, yes. Joel mentioned it a little bit. He had a stinker in the Super Bowl. The second half, specifically what the performance that they put forth to not get a sack when all season long you've been getting to the quarterback at a historic pace, to have the third most sacks in regular season and postseason history in NFL in the game, and to not get a single sack in the biggest game of the season was disappointing. He did allow the fewest yards per game as well. His defense, he was responsible for that. This defense was the number one pass defense in the NFL. He has a lot of credentials this past season that have given him this opportunity to be the head coach, and why he was such a strong candidate to be a head coach this offseason. Now, the reason why I'm all right with it on the other side, yes, I'm iffy. I just listed my reasons why I'm against it. Why I'm not against it so much, because this defense needs help desperately, and you needed to bring in a guy to change that narrative for the Arizona Cardinals. The personnel is not there. Yes, you're going to start to change that this draft. Hopefully you get Carter, you get Will Anderson. One of the two should be there at number 3. That is the start to get some pressure onto the quarterbacks. This defense desperately needs that, and Gannon allows that. Why I mostly don't want this, why I didn't want Gannon to be the head coach, is because of Kyler Murray. You mentioned that he's limited. I'm sorry. I simply can't sit right. That just doesn't sit right with me.
It's the truth.
It is unfortunate that we're not going to see a lot of Kyler Murray this year because of the torn ACL. I think that if you're the Arizona Cardinals, you understand that this is a long-term investment. You're not playing for this year. I understand where you're coming from, Joel. They're a top 3 pick this year. Next year, without Kyler Murray for majority of the season, sure, I can see it. They could be in contention for the number 1 overall pick. But we still need to do a better job of surrounding Kyler with weapons, because now what's going to happen? DeAndre Hopkins is not going to be on the team this upcoming season. Then Marquise Brown is going to want his money also. So what's going to happen with that situation? You traded a first-round pick for Marquise. Of course, you're going to probably pay him, I'm assuming, if you're Arizona. What are we putting around Kyler Murray? This offensive line's not good. The weapons that he has are not good. This defense that he's also on the same team with is not good. So what's the easy thing to do here? Blame the quarterback. Why is Kyler Murray, when he's so by far and away the best player on this team, getting majority of the blame? Only for the fact that he is a quarterback. And because it's so easy to throw jokes his way about him not being the same quarterback when Call of Duty double XP weekend's out. That's the easy joke to make, but it's simple. Kyler Murray is the only positive thing that this team has going for them. It's that simple to me. And for the fact that they did not hire an offensive-minded coach to benefit Kyler Murray, the only positive to this team does not sit right with me.
Do you have your top 10?
I agree with you entirely. And my top 10 quarterbacks, I've got Kyler right above Dak. Cousins.
No, go ahead, please.
Okay, so we got the Fab Five.
Okay, of course.
Top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, the Fab Five: Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Rodgers, and Justin Herbert.
Okay, well, fine.
The second tier is Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, Lamar, Kyler, Matthew Stafford. I think
so. Deshaun is not in your top 10.
Hold on.
Interesting.
Kenny Pickett.
Where's Lamar?
Lamar's around like 7, 8, right next to Hurts.
Were you just ranking them in order?
Or you just named 2 tiers?
Okay, cool. I thought you had.
I'm fine with you. Have Hurts over Lamar, or no? I'm sorry.
I have them like right next to each other.
Okay.
I think Kyler's right in that tier of Hurts and so on and so forth. I agree with you. Kyler is the one constant here, and that's why I said you should have went with the offensive mind. That maybe I came off a little bit negative. You need to maximize Kyler and his skill set. And I felt like with Cliff Kingsbury, they did a poor job with the air raid offense because that's not Kyler's game necessarily, those mesh routes and those crossers. Not what he does best. And so now, you talk about this new offensive coordinator. So wait and see until can he maximize Kyler. We see all the time. Luke Getsy did a great job. And sometimes other guys like in New York, LaFleur doesn't do a great job. Zach Wilson. It's an unknown. And that's really the biggest question mark with this team. Won't find out until probably 2024.
Moving on, because talking about the Cardinals is a little bit depressing given their current state. We're going to talk about Eric Bieniemy getting a new opportunity in Washington, now becoming their offensive coordinator.
Yes, sir.
Joel, let me get your thoughts.
I think this is a great opportunity. Opportunity, I think, is the word you have to use here, because I don't think the situation is better
by any means.
But for Eric Bieniemy, for him to progress as a coach, if he ends up wanting to be a head coach, he had to get away from Kansas City. I mean, he's been the offense coordinator since 2018, I want to say, so going on 5 years. And every offseason, basically, he's been in multiple interviews. He's been in final rounds where it's between him and 1 or 2 other guys. And every single time he ends up coming up short. And it's kind of strange because although Shady McCoy went on his platform and said he's not, head coach material or whatever, there's a majority of players who back Eric Bieniemy and says he's a great guy, a great family man, good football mind, and good human being. So the overwhelming majority of people think he has the, personal ability, the personal skills to be able to be a head coach, because that goes just as far as your football knowledge too. So it's been a little strange to see him not get that opportunity. But I think the main reason is all of these GMs and owners are saying, how hard is it if you have Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill for the last 4 or 5 seasons? Whoever is going to be in that position is going to have success. So Bieniemy now goes to Washington, which is a very interesting move, because if things don't work out in Washington, I don't think they're going to have a great year. There's a very strong chance I think Ron Rivera deserves to get fired. I think you could have had this conversation this past season. A lot of that has to do with not having the quarterback. But the one thing I would say is he has a great chance to develop Sam Howell. He has some young weapons there, Dotson, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, right? He has weapons there, and he has a young quarterback. If he's able to prove he can develop Sam Howell and turn this Washington Commanders offense into a maybe top 15 unit, I don't think anyone's expecting top 6, top 5, or anything like that, but a respectable unit, and Sam Howell into a competent quarterback, I think his interviews would be a lot more serious going into next offseason, where you could say, okay, without Patrick Mahomes and all of these guys and the best offensive mind of all time, you were still able to be fantastic. So I understand the reasoning to going to Washington. I just maybe would have been a little bit more nitpicky and try to find an offense coordinator position that has maybe a better setup, or at least the head coach has more stability. Because if Ron Rivera gets fired, Bieniemy probably goes too. And it's also important to know he's getting a title upgrade. He's getting offensive coordinator / assistant head coach. So there's also a promotion there.
Let me break the cycle a little bit and I'll go next, because everything of what Joel said is 100% sound. I agree with everything he said, for the fact that there was no team taking him serious, for the fact that he's surrounded by history. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. We're talking about 2 of the best of our generation already.
Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill.
There you go. I mean, this team, this unit that he's surrounded on, it was almost harder to fail, to not succeed, than to actually succeed. Now, why I love this move for Eric Bieniemy, not just Washington, why I love this move for Eric Bieniemy is because I believe he's more than competent to be a head coach. And he is now putting the challenge of putting himself in a situation that does not have a franchise quarterback. But at the minimum, yes, they do have really solid weapons. I love Terry McLaurin. Jahan Dotson has a lot of promise. He was fantastic early on before his injury. Curtis Samuel is a gadget guy, but one of the best gadget guys that this league has to offer. Brian Robinson started off slow. There was a lot of hype coming into his name just as the season was about to start. Started off slow, but then slowly got into form towards the back end of the season. I like Brian Robinson's upside this season. Say that one more time.
Got shot.
No, absolutely. No, you can't forget that when talking about Brian Robinson.
He was out. He didn't play.
He was out, but then when he came back, he started off. The one thing I will say is yes, because I felt similar, Joel, that there was a lot of chatter on Brian Robinson's name even after his what you call it, a shooting. I mean, that's what it was. After he got shot and after he came back from that injury, there were still rumors of him getting backfield when I believe that Antonio Gibson was better.
Hey, I'm with you.
But then Brian Robinson, towards the back end of the year, started to prove me wrong, and he ended up actually being more than competent at the running back position. So now Eric Bieniemy comes into the situation, and now he's trying to solidify himself as a true mastermind of offense. And I think that if he can be successful in Washington, exactly, I'm with you, Joel. I think that there will be a plethora of teams calling his phone for him to be their next head coach.
First of all, Washington is a very strange team to really gauge at. I mean, they have no quarterback. They haven't had a quarterback in a.
Respect Sam Howell.
We don't think so yet.
We don't know what he is. So
you're gonna find out.
Well, we may have, but as of today, February, they have no quarterback. They haven't had a quarterback in a long time. I'll be honest with you. It's been
RG3.
That's been a minute.
Yeah. And let's not forget Alex Smith, because the Cardinals, John. The Commanders / Washington had stability, and then
I just say your name.
He messed up, bro. He's hard on himself. I respect that. And accountability.
The most tragic thing that could possibly happen to a human being happens to Alex Smith.
Facts.
So I say that to say,
which is about in football field.
Great hiring, because you always want to see new opportunities in the NFL, especially for a black offensive coordinator. You want to see him get his opportunity, get his chance. Washington, I understand. You go there. It's not the greatest situation. You want to build a legacy there. I get it. Listen, you want to state your name, state your claim. This is the place to do it. You mentioned the weapons. I mean, the running back room is calm. Terry McLaurin is good. I think he is a great receiver, borderline elite. He's one of those guys that we should have mentioned earlier. You got Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, who I picked. I invested on him in Mojo earlier in the year. He was one of my investments because he will be a dog, So I think this team has room to grow, but it's just they're so hard to, because they don't have a quarterback. And Sam Howell, he may be the truth, he may not be the truth. This is something you have to question. I mean, Eric only knows Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't know any other quarterback. And when you only know arguably the greatest quarterback ever, I mean, the drop off. No, but you know what I mean. Like you arguably, Mahomes, you don't know nothing else. You know Travis Kelce, you don't know nothing else. You know Tyreek Hill, you figured out nothing else this year because you didn't have an elite receiver. You managed to get through that. You don't know nothing else but Andy Reid. So it's like the opportunity is great, but it for him, I think it's a little different than the rest of these guys because he's coming, like you said, he's coming from a dynasty. He's coming from greatness. So, and when you're coming from a dynasty, like we mentioned it, oh my God, perfect example. Mike Brown came from the Warriors. And when he was with the Warriors, he had Draymond Green. He had Andre Iguodala. He had Andrew Wiggins. He had these guys. He had Kevin Durant. He had Steph Curry. He had these guys. So he looks, obviously by default, he looks better than what he actually is.
He had LeBron James over in Cleveland.
Yeah, and then he goes to Sacramento, and you see it actually works. Like the system works. The system is in place. So he has he has proven that he can do it without them. Same thing with Eric Spo. He was in Miami. He had the big three. The big three broke up. He still showed, no, I'm still a great ass head coach. Just the situation was what it was. So for Eric, it's really more of you leave it from greatness. Can he do it? Can he go to Washington? Now, this is a different place than the rest of those places like I named because they still had the big time guys there. With Washington, you're going there. You don't have a quarterback. Your offense is good, but you're walking into a division with Dallas, with the Eagles who just came off a Super Bowl. The Giants are on the come up. So this is no slouch division. This is probably the best division in the NFC at the moment. And you're walking in with that situation. I mean, it's definitely going to be a challenge, but just from the signing alone, you give him an A because you got to bring somebody in. And when you could bring somebody who has that type of background of being with Andy Reid every single day, of being with Patrick Mahomes every single day, you bring that type of experience into a room. You can't bring that much experience anywhere else. So I think this was an A- signing.
Bieniemy had the opportunity to stay with Kansas City. He said, no, I want to bet on me. I want the challenge of going to an organization that needs help pretty desperately on the offensive side. and I'm going to prove that I deserve recognition. I need respect. I can't say anything but great things about Bieniemy here.
Isn't it a little bit weird that after?
What is that, crazy? Oh
no,
goodness.
sorry. Someone just came with my TL. So it was nutty. It was nutty.
You're sick,
Bro,
I'm on Twitter.
bro,
What am I supposed to do?
Get off Twitter while we're
Sorry,
recording,
sorry.
bro.
I was talking to Joel.
Yeah, you probably were at the Timberwolves. Isn't it a little bit weird that after in the Super Bowl recognizing how over aggressive, how much the Eagles over pursue in the red zone, Bieniemy outcoaches Jonathan Gannon as the play caller for that Chief team, and then Gannon, after losing, after just 2 years as a DC, gets a head coaching job in Arizona when they have a franchise quarterback, and yet Eric Bieniemy, after outcoaching that same defensive coordinator in the Super Bowl, after 5 straight AFC championship appearances, to the point that team is literally having the AFC championship game with them. I mean, it's what? Arrowhead Invitational, the 2 Super Bowl reigns, Bieniemy's not a head coach. That to me makes no sense because Matt Nagy got hired after 1 year as the OC, and he wins Coach of the Year in his first time around as the Bears head coach, wins the NFC North. It's honestly insane to me. The more I think about it, that Bieniemy wasn't hired as a head coach. The guy's had 16 different teams he's interviewed with, 17 total interviews. He had 2 with the Jets, and he never landed a head coaching opportunity. And that just makes no sense to me. When I look at Gannon in Arizona, I think, man, why not get an offensive mind in there? I think some of it's because I heard the Shane McCoy comments. Not that, but he had a spat with Patrick Mahomes in week 3, but that was this year. So maybe it's the personality.
First time
in the
ever we heard anything negative.
Exactly. That's what I do not understand. So for the Cardinals, say again, John.
Come on, John.
We're doing it before.
Okay.
For the Commanders, I think this is an excellent hire.
Absolutely.
He gets a pay raise for him. He gets to bet on himself, like you said. I mean, they have so many different weapons. And I feel like when you look at the roster, separate from Dan Snyder, this is a up-and-coming team. Now, they're in a great division, but you look around the quarterbacks, I mean, it's not overwhelming, the type of, I guess, competitiveness in the division. So if Sam Howell does develop, let's say, into a pretty good quarterback under Eric Bieniemy, and maybe the team struggles, you talked about maybe Bieniemy going with Rivera. I feel like he would be the interim, wouldn't he be? And then he gets that opportunity, kind of like an Anthony Lynn with Rex Ryan in Buffalo. And if they continue to play at a high level, but more so Howell's developing, I mean, this could be his gateway to becoming a head coach. And for the Commanders, this was a pretty good opportunity because offensive coordinators with that level of pedigree, with the resume, separate from, all the other things in Kansas City. I mean, Bieniemy did a very good job in the Super Bowl, and he has in the past. I mean, this was a great move, I think, for both sides.
For sure. I don't think it's the ideal situation that your first head coaching job's with Dan Snyder.
No,
probably something you want to avoid.
Definitely.
But you make a good point. If Ron Rivera gets fired mid-season, he could definitely be the interim. And listen, worst case scenario, it blows up. Everything is terrible. I'm sure Andy Reid would would welcome him back with open arms. He could be the OC or quarterback coach, whatever.
Or he could slide over here.
I don't know about that.
That's an amazing point. Things don't work out.
Before we move on to the next coach, I just want to say Kevin Durant has put Jason Tatum in the conversation with Kobe, LeBron, and Tim Duncan.
Yeah, add some context, dude.
No, fuck no.
Katie said,
add the context.
I've been in the league for 13, 14 years, and I started tally mark the matchups, the series, the players I played against. Durant continued. I've had series against Kobe, LeBron, Tim Duncan, the Memphis Grizzlies. Jason Tatum's in that conversation. He's that elite player ready at 23, and I'm like, all right, I can see where this is going. It was an honor to play against him.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So I thought he said something way different. That's
you
fine.
See how, like how
that comment is fine. Yeah, okay, I'm cool with that.
Spit.
No, I thought he was saying like he's one of the. Woo, I was about to go on the rant. All right, we're good. That's a cool comment.
Next and last quarter.
He also got swept. He needs to understand that.
I'm glad you interrupted me because I messed up. The next and last head coach and offensive coordinator that we're going to talk about is Todd Monken to the Baltimore Ravens. Joel, we're going to start with you.
Very
Go ahead.
Intriguing hire. Monken coming from Georgia, former college coach. He's had some times with the Buccaneers too. A couple of years ago, 2018, 19.
2016 and 2018.
2016, 2018. That was with Jameis's, historical 30-30 season. And that's what he is. He's air raid. You're going to throw the ball 1,000 times. He said it last season. My whole background is wideouts and quarterbacks. So I do want to throw it. It's a weird hire because number one, Lamar Jackson had a say in this hire, and Lamar Jackson might not be here. We don't know that, right? And number two is they don't have wide receivers. His whole background is wideouts. Maybe he could develop these wideouts. But the guys they have right now, I mean, Rashad Bateman came into the year as a wide receiver 1, showed some flashes, but he got hurt. He's gotten hurt these past 2 years. It is a bit of concern at this point. You have Mark Andrews too. But outside of that, I mean, you've been bringing in all these weird guys, Sammy Watkins, Deshaun Jackson, trying to find some spark. They haven't been able to figure it out. So what has been working for the Ravens this whole time with Lamar Jackson is running the ball. But what everyone says, and I agree to an extent, there is a ceiling, right? The best rushing team typically does not win the Super Bowl. Make the argument with the Eagles this year, even though I think they were number 2 behind the Bears. But regardless, there is a ceiling with a run-first offense with your quarterback being limited in terms of throwing the ball, not limited as a passer, but just the offensive scheme and the coordinator not calling enough passing plays or not having enough schemes and concepts just in the game plan in general. I mean, there's games where Lamar Jackson has like 13 passing attempts and a half, and you're like, what are we doing here? Although I remember one game last year, I think it was against the Bucs, he had like 30 in the first half, and they ended up winning that game. And that's why I kind of want to see it, and that's why I like this hire. While I think the fit is weird, I think the Ravens had to do something different. I think they had to go out there and not hire this run first type of guy, someone that they're just going to pound Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, and these guys play that shit. I think they need a guy who has some, passing concepts, trying to move past this. Has some passing concepts. Listen, he made Stetson Bennett a good quarterback. Stetson Bennett, they went to that, right? He made Stetson Bennett a great quarterback, and Stetson Bennett is, at least NFL-wise, not a great quarterback. It's not like we see a bunch of Georgia first-round picks. George Pickens is the big one for sure. Pickens, so I think Monken is a out-of-the-box hire for the Ravens, given their skill position needs and lack thereof receivers. But I also like the mindset of, we've tried this with Lamar. It hasn't worked. These last 2 years, he got hurt. Let's get a creative pass game mind in here. Get some receivers. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, there is a ceiling with Greg Roman. We saw that. Joel's in the chat. He made a great point. Zay Flowers at Boston College, or Jordan Addison out of Pitt, and then also
this guy's on vacation. He can't help himself.
I can't, but he's making great points. Zay Flowers is a big time.
There's
a lot of different weapons in this chat. There's also Quentin Johnson out of TCU.
I spit.
And Johnson's a little bit inconsistent.
Why can't you? This guy rivs
Moving forward to the Ravens. If they take one receiver, pair him up with Rashad Bateman coming off the torn ACL and Mark Andrews, the weapons will be fine. You have Devin Duvernay, you can play around with some. I mean, the bigger issue, I feel like
you're not serious.
As like a gadget, if he's your fourth weapon after the running back,
probably their second.
I think the bigger issue is the running back staying healthy, right? And now for Lamar, what this is to me is Lamar staying. If he had input in this, it's because he won the OC. They want to do everything and anything they can to make sure he is put in the best possible position. And it makes sense. If you're going to be fully guaranteeing his contract, you want him to win you a Super Bowl, not just one playoff game in 5 years. So for this Ravens offense, it's a huge step forward. Now, Monken's a little bit weird because he left actually for Jameis's 30 for 30 season. He then went to Cleveland for a year with, Freddie Kitchens. I feel like for this Ravens offense, this was the exact type of pivot you need to make. Because after a couple of years, Ravens fans were down on Greg Roman. It felt like, what he had brought to the offense to the floor, that already worn off the positive effects. And this kind of felt like it's out of the box, like you said, a must-have type of move.
Honestly, this is new energy. You got to bring something different. I feel like Baltimore doing this hire is pretty much telling people that they are going into a new era. They are changing the way they've been running their offense for the last 2 to 3 years. And it's worked to a degree in the regular season, but it's not sustainable. And we've seen that, come playoff time. I remember when they had the number 1 seed and they pretty much let Lamar do whatever he wants, throwing the ball everywhere, and they lost. So I think getting a new coach, getting somebody who can come in.
Don't worry about it. I heard that too. Don't worry.
Who can come in and change the system. I think that's great. Now, you mentioned the room. I mean, the room is funny. The room is actually indeed hilarious because you got Mark Andrews, and then you're talking about Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, and whoever they draft. I mean, that's cute. It's like, it's okay. And I'm one of those guys who wanted Lamar to stay because I feel like this defense was elite. This defense was one of the best defenses in the league. And then you bring in a guy like D-Hop or something like that, or make a trade for a receiver, maybe like DJ Moore. This was obviously before, and they can make a run. I think drafting a receiver is cool, but then you're relying on a rookie to come in and truly be a great receiver. Mark Andrews is great, but I don't think he's a Travis Kelce needle mover. He's a guy that's going to break you down in the receiving game the way Kelce can do it. There's just nobody like Kelce. So they still have holes. The running back core is good, but I still feel like they need a guy on the outside, somebody that can really break open the defense and can really become a threat. And until they get that, they will always be a good offense, but they will always peak out in the playoffs.
There was Rashad Bateman a little bit until you had Liz Frank surgery. I made a mistake before wasn't the torn ACL. That was Dobbins. I feel like Bateman can become that type of player for them in year 3.
I actually agree with John 100%.
He could be good. I don't know if he can be a number 1.
It's a fair point.
It is a fair point because one, injury, and two, I really just lean back on injury because I think he does have the talent. He's super fast. I think that his hands are very good. Bigger body type receiver also. I believe in his physicality. Primarily why I love this move is because you understand what you can do with Lamar Jackson. And by that, I mean Lamar Jackson, if the play is meant for a pass and the play design just simply isn't there, the reads aren't there. He doesn't believe in his reads. Lamar Jackson's good enough or good enough and smart enough to know when to just take off, when to be Lamar Jackson, when that's necessary for them to move the football. Now you bring in a guy who's going to focus primarily on a passing scheme, and now you're putting Lamar in a position to enhance his quote-unquote one deficiency, right? And I say quote-unquote deficiency because I really overlooked that. I don't think that it's as much of an issue as some people may think. I think Lamar has definitely put that narrative to bed that he is not a great passer. I think he's only progressed as a passer since entering this league. He's even a better passer than he was in his MVP season. And now you're trying to bring in a guy that is going to highlight that and put that on display for the world to see. Another reason why I like this is because there was moments where Mark Andrews was completely taken out of the game. And we understand that Mark Andrews is the weapon. We talked about Rashad Bateman, of course, but the number one weapon in this unit is Mark Andrews. And the fact that there was moments where I couldn't even tell you that Mark Andrews was playing should never be. Because even the year before that, when it was Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews had a field day. He had the most yards. He was unbelievable. And for that to be the complete opposite this season was disheartening for me to see. You bring in Monken. Hopefully he can draw some better schemes in terms of better routes that these skill position players are running.
A little more flexibility, maybe?
It's really that simple for me. I believe in Lamar and his ability to understand a situation, understand a moment. When should I take off? When should I be Lamar Jackson? You bring in a guy there that's only going to benefit him in the pass. That's only a plus for me.
I've got the Devin Duvernay Pro Football Reference page up.
That was insane.
What did it show you? 420 yards?
Nah, I was just peeping through the Ravens like receiving stats and whatnot. But the question is the 23rd overall pick.
David had 285 yards in 6 games.
Yeah,
last year or this year?
Champ?
This year.
But what did he do in the first 2 games?
Against the Jets, he tweaked.
No, that's not ideal for the
and against
goal.
Miami.
If he's the number
because if
two,
you only did that in 2 games and you played 6, that's not good.
He got hurt.
He's 23 years old.
6 games. No, we were on.
He just gets like he's gotten hurt 2 years
ago. It was on Pro Football Reference. I was just looking at it.
Just browsing.
I'm doing my due diligence, my friend. So with the 23rd overall pick, who do the Ravens select? One of those.
Pray to God that Jason's there.
You think you go JSN over? I feel like Addison's more the 3-level type of player.
Jalen Hyatt has been getting a lot of buzz lately, but he's a burner. I mean, you have the thing is, I don't know how much you could just bank on Bateman being here and staying healthy for all these games. So it's like Jalen Hyatt maybe doesn't complement him well, but also is Bateman going to be here in a year, right? So I think best receiver available. It really depends on, I guess, what type of receiver they want. Hyatt's more of a burner, JSN, and Addison too, more of a
Trayvon's here. Would you think about it?
Who?
Trayvon? I'm sorry. No, yes. Trayvon, not Trayvon.
Here we go.
Now I'm blanking. Bijan.
Bijan.
I'm thinking of Trayvon Henderson. Excuse me.
Bijan's interesting. I thought Dobbins looked great at the end of the year. So I don't know if you go Bijan.
Only for the pass catching ability that he also provides.
Bijan will bring someone to the offense that nobody else in this draft can, because there's no receiver on Bijan's level, if that makes sense, right? Bijan could come in and completely change your offense. I don't think there's a receiver really that come in and do that. So it makes it interesting. I also think you have other holes, and then you drafted JK in the second round a couple of years ago. Do you want to use the first round pick on Bijan? But
I would say I think he's the best skill position player.
1000% agree. He makes things very interesting.
And another guy too, Zay Flowers was talking about before. He's been killing at the Shrine Bowl. It's a player that is going to fall probably to, I would say he'll be a first round pick late. With Bateman, we know he's not the number 1, but the question is, can he be a good number 2? And if he stays healthy, I think the answer will be yes.
Bijan need to come to Buffalo, man.
Oh, yeah, big time.
I thought you were going to say the Eagles.
We don't need him.
I'll tell you what, he goes to the Eagles.
If he goes to the Eagles, he'll be a 25,000 yard running back in his career.
Moving on, we're going to talk about QB rumors. We're going to talk about Jalen Hurts allegedly getting $50 million. We spoke about that a little bit on our last show, but now we're going to go a little bit more in depth. And then Daniel Jones reportedly wants $45 million. Now,
Drew, let's start with you.
Of course.
Let's start with you and
I
DJ.
I knew this was going to happen. So
he wants what?
He wants allegedly 45
per
million.
source.
Per source,
Per
which automatically it's not sitting right with me. I feel like they did this purposely to just have a laugh at Daniel Jones and try to make him feel like he's not deserving of this 45 million, which, hey, I can sit here and tell you I don't believe he's worth 45 million. I've been very adamant. I think that if you are the New York Giants, the proper contract for Daniel Jones is a 3-year contract where in these 3 years, it's either 30 to 35 million. That would be ideal, where he really hasn't put forth a strong performance to deserve 45 million. But at the same time, this past season, he showed clearly why he should be your quarterback moving forward. Because again, what are your options? Mm-hmm. He is one of the better dual threat quarterbacks in the league. He is extremely accurate. He decided this season to take care of the football for the first time in his career, and that was the main takeaway for me. He also won a playoff game this year, which a lot of really good quarterbacks can't say. He has more playoff wins than Justin Herbert. Of course, that's not speaking about that's not speaking on the quarterback. That's more speaking about the team. But I'm just saying we need to give Daniel Jones a little bit of credit here, just outside, of course, the fact that the Giants aren't this amazing team, but Daniel Jones was a huge reason why they made the playoffs at all. Of course, I think you go down the list, Brian Daboll has to be number one. Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, however you want to shake it, needs to be next on that list. Now, Daniel Jones does not deserve 45 million, especially for the fact that this is the only. What's going on, guys?
No, I'm just surprised to hear that from you.
I'm not going to sit here and lie and spit nonsense. I don't believe he deserves 45 million. I genuinely don't. When that came out, I was upset. I was upset for the fact that I don't think Daniel Jones deserved the slander that he was receiving because he played very well this season. This was by far the best that we've seen him in totality. He put forth a great rookie season. He did turn over the ball a lot, but as a rookie, that's all right. Unfortunately, that trend continued in his sophomore and junior year, but he won games. He was very efficient, took care of the football. What more can you ask for, especially on a team that had no wide receivers? Absolutely none. Shout out to Isaiah Hodgins. He was extended. He's being brought back. That's huge. But the fact that Isaiah Hodgins is your number one wide receiver is an issue. I'm sorry. I can't see that shit next season. Simple as that. So, yes, I don't believe he deserves 45 million. I think that if I'm the Giants, I'm around 30 to 35 million. I saw you tweet. You're against him getting the franchise tag?
Daniel Jones,
correct.
Yes, because do you have anything more to say on that?
That's really it. Okay. I'm just curious at that because I'm more than all right with that. Give him one more season to prove it. It's going to be around what? 31? 31 million, which is around exactly where I want to see Daniel Jones. And now this is your test, Daniel. Are you worth that 45 million? This is your prove it season.
The issue with the franchise tag is you can't get creative with the money. It's 30 million guaranteed. So this year, the Giants don't have a ton of flexibility. They have some, like all teams do, but when you do the franchise tag, it's 30 million guaranteed. It hits this year's cap number. You can't get weird with it. You can't defer money, right? It's just a 1-year contract. So while giving him the franchise tag makes logical sense, you also talked about it. You need to upgrade receiver room, defense. There's a lot of upgrades, including paying Saquon Barkley. So when you do give Daniel Jones that 1-year deal, it allows you not to commit to him long-term, but it also limits the improvements you can make on your entire team this year.
I'm glad you said that.
You've been doing that.
I know. I
got a lot of shit in your throat.
You got bronchitis?
I think his throat's just full.
Why is that?
Right. I don't know.
Interesting.
Sick. You mentioned you think he's roughly around $30 million. So I went on my little laptopy.
Laptop Rev.
Yeah, and I looked up NFL contracts. This contract that you love, 3 years, I'm assuming $90 million.
That'd be around, yeah.
Would put him right next to Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray.
Beautiful.
So you look at all three of those teams. Minnesota, not ideal. Pretenders. Their team pretty much is stacked up with a bunch of contracts. A lot of their players are big names, but not that good anymore. Dallas. Still some holes. Their best players are on rookie deals for the most part. CD, Parsons, Trevon Diggs. They still have gaping holes, and their money is tied into Zeke, right? Also a team that lost in the second round. And then Matt Ryan. We can skip that part. Kyler Murray is one of them also. His team has a lot of holes, and he's already making pretty much a good amount of money. I say that to say
how much is Kyler making per year?
I have total salary $39 million.
$39. Okay.
per year.
Yeah,
Average.
yes, that's nuts. Get your money. I love it. I say this to say this. Paying Daniel Jones is going to be tough because, like you mentioned, and what people don't realize is our whole division had an easy schedule this year. Like, it wasn't just the Eagles. It was the Giants. It was the Commanders. I think Dallas had the hardest schedule out of all 4 of our teams.
And the Giants are going to continue to have an easy schedule.
And it was Eagles, Giants, Commanders, Cowboys, if I remember correctly. They won 9 to 10 games. What was it, 9 games? So they pretty much got into the playoffs. But this is what a roster that still needs some fixing to do in an easy schedule. Now you're walking into this offseason. You got to pay Saquon. You got to give Daniel Jones his money. You need some receivers. You still need some help on the defensive end. I mean, this team, you have the coach, which is perfect. You got that pretty much locked in. But this is a team that, do you want to pay Saquon that much money? He's nearing his prime. You know, he's also been dealing with injuries his whole career. You also don't have a number 1, 2, or 3 as a receiver. You don't have either one of those.
You don't have a 2 or a 3 with Hodgins
Can you stop?
and Slayton?
Dude, I don't think
and
Saquon's
Shepard?
coming back, bro.
I'm not mad at it. He wants money.
I'm not mad either.
He wants big money, and running backs can be replaced. As much as
They're
as great as
expendable,
Saquon
you're
is,
right.
they can be replaced. And then your offensive line, they still need some help on the offensive line. So this is like, you need so much. And I think making the playoffs was great, but it happened so fast and happened so early. And now Daniel Jones, you got to pay him. It kind of puts you in a crutch. I mean, if I'm the Giants, I don't see any other option because you don't have a high enough draft pick to get a quarterback. You also don't. You still want to be competitive. So you're kind of in a bit of a middle line here. I think you pay Daniel Jones. You do give him that type of contract. Try to lowball him as much as you fucking can. You know, try to get it. We'll give you like 3 years, 75 mil. How does that sound? Just try to lowball or try not to give him as much guaranteed money. But at the end of the day, the Giants, as great as this season was, you know, this season's been impressive. You can't knock that. They kind of shot themselves in the foot with bringing in Dable, which is not a bad thing, but bringing in Dable, which in turn leads to Dable making Daniel Jones play amazing, which in turn leads to Daniel Jones now needing that money, which in turn leads to you guys putting yourselves in a hole to not help the team.
I think you made a lot of great points there. I mean, you take Dable if you have to overpay DJ, but, you know, like you said, you need a build off of last year for the Giants. And the reason we point to all these deficiencies is because Daniel Jones is a fine quarterback. He's not bad. He's not great. Josh Allen can plug in a lot of those holes and make you a 13-win team. Daniel Jones making a 9-win squad. DJ's annual market value, I would say, is around $27 million because before this year, he had injury concerns. And as a thrower of the football, while he did a great job protecting it, great job evading pressure because the offensive line was not ideal, you didn't see many deep shots. You didn't see many kill shots down the field.
You know why that
You don't have shit.
That you know, I think it's kind of lazy to really just say with Isaiah Hodgins and Darius Slay and Sterling Shepard. Darius
Slayton can't catch.
Sterling Shepard missed almost the entire season.
Yeah.
They're the slowest receiving core in the
Slayton
NFL.
Cannot catch.
They have an average 40 time of 4.7.
He's an NFL receiver.
The Patriots.
I feel like Kenny Golladay is pulling that shit down a lot, though.
Kenny Golladay's dog shit.
I understand,
But I feel like Kenny is like a
tweet that
6'1"
someone
and he's
put
pulling it down.
$2 on Kenny Golladay to win MVP. I think it was at plus
100,000.
Yeah, something stupid.
I would have did the same thing.
Yeah, I said that I would rather a roll of toilet paper than fucking $2 on that shit.
I don't think the Giants' weapons are that bad because if you get a wide receiver 1 in here, you don't have issues.
The wide receiver core is terrible.
It's dog shit.
Isaiah Hodgins would be the Bills'
Please.
number 2 receiver. Darius
No.
Slayton. Yes, he would. He's
No,
better than Gabriel
he's not
Davis.
better than
Isaiah Hodgins
Davis.
was
Yes,
on
he
the
is.
Bills.
Knocking it out for me.
Exactly.
And they said he
They
shot
should
better.
Hold
They should
on.
have kept him.
Even though you say that, Gabe Davis is in a number 2. He's a number 3. So even if he is better than Gabe Davis,
Hodgins
he's also
is just breaking out.
he-
Just
he
getting
is
his time to
also
shine.
not a number 2.
Hodgins
And
at
that's
the
part of
absolute
the
best of the
issue.
low end.
That's
too.
Is
part of
Hodgins
the
better
issue.
than Isaiah McKenzie?
Yes,
Honest
easily.
fucking
That's
question.
also a number 3.
I'm sorry, Trey.
I ain't saying shit.
Isaiah
That's a number
McKenzie's
3.
not
I'm the
that good.
Hodgins guy, and I'm
Let me-
telling you that
But here's the
I'm
thing.
not liking what I'm hearing.
That's the point. Because Daniel
Bro, shut
Jones
up.
is not a Josh Allen, he's not going to elevate those players so much so to the point they are those high-level starters. Those guys are good enough to get open downfield.
Hodgins got a contract because of Daniel Jones.
Let's pause that. Hodgins was a very underrated prospect that went on draft, went in the 5th round or 6th round. Hodgins had a very good season. I feel like for DJ, he missed a lot of those shots down the field. He didn't look at them. And for Brian Dable, he did a phenomenal job of DJ. I feel like that's why the Giants here do have a little bit more leverage because you have a head coach who has printed the development of quarterbacks in the past. So from the New York Giants, the reality is you can't overpay DJ. I would say $30 million 3 years. I agree with that.
Mhm.
But to say that this weapon core is terrible and
It's horrendous.
Let's compare the Bills. Let's compare the Bills and the Giants supporting casts. So Josh Allen
and the conversation.
Stephon Diggs or Saquon Barkley?
Stephon Diggs. And I'm not thinking, but I get what you're saying.
Okay.
But easily Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, Stephon. Moving on to the wide receiver too. Darius Slayton. I guess it'd be Isaiah Hodgins versus Gabriel Davis.
Take Gabe, but I ain't saying much.
Yeah, I take Gabe, but it's not by much.
It's not saying much.
Okay, it's a toss-up.
They're both number 3.
Slayton or McKenzie?
Slayton. And he
Are
can't
we going to
catch.
mention Dawson Knox also?
Maybe.
I
don't know. We're getting there. Daniel Bellinger or Dawson Knox?
Dawson
I would
Knox.
take Knox. Okay.
Knox is good.
Even though
And the running back
again,
take Saquon.
Bellinger looked pretty solid this year.
He looked pretty good.
Why? Because of necessity.
You can make the argument for Hodgins too. Yeah. Okay. So the Giants' offense
You can make the argument for Gabe Davis.
The Giants'
I
offense.
promise you, he doesn't look good.
The Giants' offensive line with Andrew Thomas or
And
the
the
Bills'
conversation.
offensive line with Deion Dawkins.
The thing is, Andrew Thomas is the best offensive lineman out of these two teams, no doubt. But in the grand scheme of things,
Buffalo's offensive line is not that great.
it's not. But the Giants' offensive line is worse.
Evan Neal is bad. Yeah, he struggled.
Their
Interior struggled.
I'm
So
praying
Jason
on a
Miller.
year 2
Josh
development out
Allen
of
makes
Evan
them
Neal.
look a little better.
He
than
does.
what they
And
He
are.
makes-
so does
he makes
Daniel
special
Jones.
shit. To a lesser
both
extent,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
one guy makes them
Yeah.
a 13-win team. So.
Of course. I
I
mean, he
think-
also has Stephon Diggs outside. Not saying that Daniel Jones is Josh Allen.
No.
That is obviously
Baby
not what I'm
Josh
saying.
Allen.
Yeah, baby Josh Allen.
He is baby Josh Allen. And the real will see that when DeAndre Hopkins comes to town. Simple as that.
Brian Dable or Ken Dorsey?
Brian Dable very
Yeah,
comfortable.
Brian Dable.
So I feel like the gap between Saquon and Diggs, look, they're both elite weapons. And Saquon can do a lot as a receiver, is not just a runner of the football.
But you do more
And the
with
Giants,
Diggs.
the Giants this year were dead last in throws of 25 yards or more, 16.
Yep.
The Patriots were top 5, and their number one receiver was who?
Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers, who's significantly.
Agreed.
Significantly.
Yeah,
No,
like so
he
much
is
better.
so
than
nuts.
He's so much
He's
better
a
than
good
Hodgins.
player.
He's a good starting player. That's
Jacoby
what
would
he
come on to the Giants being a 1,000-yard receiver. I put that on my mother.
Maybe. I just think you're
Again,
over-
as
Because of necessity.
I think
Someone has to get
I
1,000
think
yards.
because Daniel
That's
Jones,
not true.
If he's
Daniel
healthy,
Jones,
Did
Daniel-
Hodgins get 1,000?
no, but he only played the last,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, John. I'm really interested to what you have to say.
because Daniel Jones is solid and on an elite level throw the football, he has to make these guys so much better. And that's kind of part of the problem with the Giants, that DJ is not a top 12, top 10 quarterback.
I'll be
And so I
honest.
feel like he deserves kind of that Ryan Tannehill style money.
Paying a dude that has 15 touchdowns, 30 mil is kind of crazy.
Now his
How many-
passing
how many-
touchdowns is bad.
How many rushing?
It's bad every
How many
year.
rushing?
Yeah,
I'm looking for it. Can't find it yet.
Yeah, and he had over 700 yards rushing. So
No, but
put
that
some fucking
15,
respect
that
on him.
15 is kind of just nasty.
It's not great, John. I
7.
think
He had 7.
regardless, we can compare it to the Bills. It's a bottom 5 unit in the league. If you want to talk weapons with the Giants, like it's
Both
bad.
of them are.
Stephon-
There's not
they
much
are-
of a gap.
I know,
Stephon Diggs
that's fine,
is a
but one
top
has
6
Josh
wide
Allen, so
receiver.
we can make it happen. Josh Allen can make it happen. Plus, he has Stephon Diggs. One is Daniel Jones, and your best weapon is a running back. You could do things out of the backfield with Saquon. I get it, but down the field, you can't make up for what Stephon Diggs can give you. What we also just have to remember with Daniel Jones is he can want $45 million, but you are worth what someone is willing to pay you. I don't think there is a single other NFL team out there who is going to be paying Daniel Jones north of $40 million. If I'm the Giants and he says I want $45 million, I'm saying, okay, here's the door. Go get a contract with $45 million, then come back to me and we can talk. Because there's no team out there in their right mind going to give Daniel Jones $45 million per season.
Yeah,
I'm in the same boat as you guys. If you could get him for around $30 million per year, I think you suck it up and do it. I don't think it's ideal, right? I still think Daniel Jones is going to limit you to an extent, and paying a guy that's going to limit you $30 million in the long run isn't great. But what happened with the Giants this season, which Giants fans don't want to hear, and it almost doesn't make sense, but it makes sense in the long run. They screw themselves making the playoffs. They screw themselves having a successful season. They screw themselves with Daniel Jones having a good statistical season, because now you cannot go in, if you're the GM or whoever, to John Mara, the owner of the Giants, and say, we need to rebuild. We need to change things. We can't pay Saquon. We can't pay Daniel Jones, because he's looking, you guys just made the playoffs. You won a playoff game.
Mhm.
But in reality, you look at this team, and
That's also if you're not a believer in Daniel Jones.
yeah, but there's one thing to believe in Daniel Jones on a rookie contract. Another thing to believe in him, Daniel Jones, to paying him $30+ million.
And that's
per
on them
year.
for not accepting his 5th year.
It
I
is.
don't feel
Good point.
bad.
But you also,
Good
it's
point.
hard to.
I don't feel bad.
But you-
Great
but-
point with them declining.
No,
that.
but if you don't accept it when he for 3 straight years is leading the league in
Dehls,
turnovers,
hold on.
you can't
Drew,
accept that option.
Put your bias in this bucket right here, right? And I want you to sit here from an unbiased standpoint. You are the GM of the Giants. You are the GM of the organization. You have a meeting with Daniel Jones and his agent. This is before this year happens.
Got it.
Would you accept his 5th-year option? Be honest.
All the turnovers, the fumbles.
This is you're unbiased. You're the GM.
Injuries.
You want to know why I say yes?
Yeah.
For the fact that without Daniel Jones last season, it's arguably the worst football team I've ever
But
seen
you
in my
didn't think
life.
you thought you would be. You didn't think you would be this.
Why I say this is because early last season,
Mhm.
the conversation we were having is Daniel Jones finally taking that leap? You remember that? I know you remember that because I bring it up often because how quickly people backtracked on that statement because we all saw the same things. We saw Daniel Jones start to progress in the correct way. That Saints game was amazing. That's when we really started to have this conversation. Is Daniel Jones finally entering for what the Giants thought they would be? But then he gets hurt after the concussion against Dallas. Super unfortunate. Nothing really was the same after that with the Giants. He misses a good portion of the season after that. And the Giants go from being middle of the pack to slightly one of the worst teams in the league to by far and away the worst team in the NFL. And they didn't even have the number 1 overall pick because, again, early in the season, they won a couple games. Now, it's very easy for me to sit here and understand this. Daniel Jones saved the Giants from being the worst team in the league.
Which was bad.
And now this year, with a roster that, again, we sit here as a collective and say this is probably the most overachieving team we've ever seen.
The biggest overachiever.
Giants. The other Giants team. That won the Super Bowl.
Led by quarterback
All-time-
Daniel Jones.
All-time front 7.
9-7 though.
I just think that, again, we have to understand what the Giants would be simply without
But
Daniel
I
Jones.
think that's where you're missing. I think that's when me and Dehls and I think John was stating.
I think John's on my side
I don't know
now.
what John stated.
Well, me and Dehls are definitely stating that's where they fucked up at. Being that good, now you're stuck in this position where like, fuck, I have to pay this guy.
He's not going to get
Obligated.
45.
It's
simply
very,
negotiated.
but
But
even
he's 35. It's like, damn, bro.
If you look at his first 4 seasons, he's not worth $30 million.
27 to
He's not worth $30 million. If you look at his first 4 to 5 seasons, he is not worth
Rookie
$30
season, he
million.
was really good.
You
minus
think he's
two
in the Dak
turnovers.
tier? You think he's in the Cousins tier?
Now? Yeah.
Of one season?
Man, I don't know.
Yes.
Bro, you know
But
what?
He
You have to-
doesn't have a number 1.
Hold on.
You have to
Piss me
acknowledge
off.
there's injury concerns. Like he had the neck injury that lose the last 6 games of 2021. And as a thrower of the football, he is limited. He's not going to throw guys.
I
over.
disagree.
If he has a
Hold on.
number 1, how
Is he
much they
throwing
lose by
guys
the
over?
Eagles by?
I mean, it doesn't matter.
If they have
Still
DeAndre
30.
Hopkins, how much they
deep
lose to the
shots,
Eagles
Daniel
by?
Jones
30
20?
points. It's still 30 points.
24?
The Giants defense is not good either.
But the
though.
issue is now you're paying him. Now you can't make these upgrades.
Make one side of the ball
Oh
really
my God.
fucking good. Figure it out.
Hold on. Because
You can't pay Daniel and pay Saquon and get a number 1.
This-
You want number
Saquon
1?
needs to go.
Okay, no more
I
Saquon.
say that with love.
Okay.
He needs to go because that is money that you could allocate
just-
differently, and you can bring in a running
'Cause
back that you could draft a running back. A running back is replaceable.
This-
It's very
You don't
hard
want,
for me
you
to
don't want
accept
the
that.
Ezekiel Elliott.
Now, I'm not.
It's very
hold
hard
on.
for me to accept that because, again, I love Ezekiel Elliott, but I've come to the realization, yes, running back is replaceable. Saquon Barkley had an amazing season, a great bounce back. He was my comeback player of the year. I love Saquon Barkley, but I also understand that money needs to be allocated elsewhere, and running back is replaceable. It's simple.
I'm not a Kirk Cousins fan, but you keep not disrespecting.
Not
You keep
disrespecting him.
saying all of a sudden Daniel Jones is in the Kirk
He
Cousins tier
is.
after 1 year. Let me just rack off his last 5 to 6 years of the why Kirk Cousins got his money.
Uh-huh.
This year, 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 4,000 yards. Last year,
Okay.
33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 4,000 yards. Year before that, 4,000 yards with 35 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Year before that, 3,600 with 26 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns. Then the years before that, he went 30, 27, 25, 29 TDs. That's why he got paid, because those numbers.
Consistency.
Daniel Jones is good. I don't think nobody
Played
here
better
is
than
disputing
Kirk
it.
Cousins in the first round of the
He
playoffs.
did play better.
Cousins played
And
his ass
Cousins
off.
played fucking phenomenal.
He did. But look what happened. Kirk Cousins' money. He gets a lot of money. That team is
Yes,
built
Jettis.
very bad.
How's Dalvin Cook?
No, yeah, he has those guys, but that team is still built very bad. Now you're kind of thinking the Giants might do the same thing, be stuck in the same position. Daniel Jones is not going to be that much better than Kirk Cousins. Did you just hear the numbers that I was screaming of?
I don't think Daniel Jones hits those numbers.
He doesn't. That was a 6-7 year stretch where he's racking
His
off
rookie
20
season,
plus
he threw
TDs,
24
decade
touchdowns.
and then he is plummeted, and then played well.
And we're gonna forget that he is one of the best rushers in the game.
Yes, he was also the most turnover-prone quarterback
And
next
now
to
isn't.
Carson Wentz.
And now isn't.
That's to
Isn't
be
that-
next to
and now
Carson
isn't.
Wentz. I watched Carson Wentz. To be next to him in
No, you're
turnovers
right, he's not.
is nuts,
Isn't
bro.
it a little bit of a concern that Daniel relies so much on his legs when he already has that injury history?
the injury
neck
history.
injury.
It's
But-
really the one season.
Drew, you keep saying this is the thing with turnovers, though. He didn't turn the ball over this year because he was safe. You bring in weapons, now it becomes him being more loose with the football in terms of throwing the ball. Those turnovers can be the same
interceptions
thing.
really aren't that bad. They've only gone down.
Could we just quickly change the conversation slightly instead of debating does Daniel Jones worth the money, whatever, because we could go back and forth.
Because I already said no.
Let's live in the world. No. Let's live in the world where he gets $35 million. Can we agree that 30 maybe 30 to 35?
I said 30. I'll say 30.
Regardless, if you want to say the $5 million, whatever. What is
the $5 million?
Okay, you paid him this $35 million. You're tied to Daniel Jones for the next 2 or 3 seasons. And Drew's hypothetical world, they have a number 1 receiver. They lose Saquon. Now, with all this money being allocated, if you want D-Hop, he's like a $30 million cap hit this year.
Right.
Okay, now you're paying Daniel Jones. Maybe get creative with the money. Maybe it's only a $20, $15 million cap hit. There goes $30, $40 million out of your cap. What is your ceiling now with $15 to $20 million in cap room? And you still have all these holes to fix, offensive line, defense, still need another receiver, still need a running back now. Like, you still have a ton of holes, even if you want to pay him.
The Giants aren't winning a championship next year. It's not. No, they're not. So you understand that this process is years in the making. This isn't let's fix our roster in one off season to get to the Super Bowl.
It's just hard to pay your quarterback, then fix everything.
It's not.
They made the playoffs in like 1 year after missing like 3
Here it is. You don't sign Daniel Jones. You wait the years that it takes, right, to naturally build a team to maybe throw yourself in Super Bowl contention.
Right.
Or you hold Daniel Jones, actually have the quarterback in place. Yes, you don't have the money that you would like, but at the minimum, now you have the guy who you're going to try and build your team around and wait essentially the same amount of time that it would take to draft one. What's your option? I'd rather go safe and we'll go with Daniel Jones because I already have that option.
But Drew, Daniel Jones isn't the quarterback you build your team around. No, Daniel Jones is the quarterback you
just
put
took junk to
Daniel
the playoffs.
Jones is the quarterback you put in a perfect situation to win.
Just took junk to the playoffs.
No. Brian Dable took junk
very weak
to the playoffs.
NFC. It was never
Daniel
a prolific
Jones,
offense.
Brian Dable took junk. Daniel Jones, you don't build a team around Daniel Jones.
Best game managers in the league this
year.
Game
managers, you don't build around them. You put them in a position
million.
There's a team in place, and then you put the game manager. You don't build. Nobody builds around Jimmy G. Nobody builds around Daniel Jones.
They traded 3 first-round picks to get Trey Lance.
But that was after the fact.
And that team was already built up.
They traded
just kept getting hurt.
Jimmy G. That's all they did.
And then they paid him. They made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
And then they went a year or two later and got a different quarterback. Because I saw there's a ceiling.
That was not a year or two later.
After they traded for Jimmy G?
After Jimmy G, he had that year. He got hurt, came back. Then they were in the Super Bowl.
Then he got hurt. Then they drafted Trey Lance.
Regardless of that fact, they made him the highest paid quarterback in the game.
They didn't build a team around him.
Yes, they did.
They did not build a team around him.
They brought Deebo Samuel. They brought in George Kittle.
Through the draft.
No, for sure.
They didn't trade for those guys.
Not saying that they
did.
did.
For the Giants, Daniel Jones, he had an outlier performance 2 times against the Vikings, a terrible defense and a great matchup. I don't think off of those 2 games, you got to pay the guy $3 million. No, I mean, he's all right. He's average. As Joel says, Daniel Jones is mid. And that's okay. But I would rather take my chances.
Kenny Pickett or Daniel Jones?
Kenny Pickett making nothing. He's making what? $5 million?
As a player who's better.
I don't care. Who's going to help me win more games?
In a vacuum,
Kenny Pickett will help me win more. He's much cheaper, and he can be a better quarterback by next season.
Your defense is significantly better than the
Giants. No, it wasn't. TJ Watt was over half of the season. That's false.
Bro, he still was a savage.
No, he was not a savage. Alex Highsmith was a savage.
He was a savage. Also, Cam Hayward was also a savage.
Still
Minka Fitzpatrick's also one of the best safeties in the game.
Terrible linebackers.
And he was amazing.
No defensive front because what's his face towards ACL and Chris Wormley. Tyson Alualu was cooked. The Steelers' defense was not that good. It was average at best because TJ Watt missed so much of the season. Kenny Pickett led game-winning drive after game-winning drive with Matt Canada.
So what?
Matt Canada.
So he was mid. He was mid through the first 3 quarters.
The worst
it was time for him to finally score, and in the 4th quarter, last drive, he came through.
I don't think you understand. Matt Canada might be the worst offensive mind of any coordinator, and Brian Dable might be the best.
Kenny Pickett versus Daniel does not.
You go from first to 32nd, it is a clearing. Kenny Pickett has a way more difficult, even if Mike Tyler
way more difficult. Deontay Johnson.
Yes.
Claypool's no longer there. So now you have George Pickens.
And that's the issue.
Najee Harris. The offensive line's actually decent now.
It's okay. Yeah, it's all right. It's probably better than the Giants. But Canada didn't know how to actually get the ball to
Matt Canada's dog shit. I'm not going to disagree with you.
That was the issue.
But at the same time, we can sit here and acknowledge the weapons room is significantly better.
Oh, there's no doubt.
So then what are we doing here? Daniel Jones went to the playoffs and won a playoff game.
Yeah. Kenny Pickett.
This is why it sucks. He went to the playoffs and won a playoff game. No disrespect to you.
I can't do a Matt Canada.
If only you guys would be awake. Just wake up.
No, I just think
Kenny Pickett's better.
All right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on because this could go a lot longer. I'm trying to
such a ceiling.
Let's get a hold of this, and I apologize because it's majority on me why this lasted so long. Let's talk about Jalen Hurts potentially getting $50 million.
Now, this is the guy you paid $50 million.
I mean, absolutely. We're talking about a guy who was in the running to be MVP basically all season long until his injury. He missed 2 games. That really sucked for him. I really was hoping that he would steal the award from Patrick Mahomes. But Jalen Hurts this season was absolutely phenomenal. To be top 10 in yards, top 14 in rushing, but of course, once you bring the rushing touchdowns into aspect, imagine being so good that they're contemplating banning your QB sneak on 4th and 1. That's when you know that you're a game changer. Jalen Hurts is just phenomenal on that aspect. Limited the turnovers, only threw 6 touchdowns this season, was 4th in QBR. Jalen Hurts was truly phenomenal. I said this the last time we spoke about his contract situation. You pay Jalen Hurts whatever amount of money that he wants. I understand that it could halt and limit your moves that you make this offseason. You might not be able to bring back some of your guys on your D-line. You might not be able to bring back James Bradbury. That definitely would be a blow, especially after he just had an all-pro season. I just feel and I understand Jalen Hurts deserves this money. He has taken his time. He's waited for his due diligence, and now it's finally time for him to get what he deserves, and that's just the only way I could see it.
Not only is he taking his time, he's actually earned it.
100%.
Second year.
Don't fucking do this like you're on your high horse like this huge Jalen Hurts fan.
I know. I will actually say that I am not this huge. Everybody knows my guys. Josh Allen, Kyler Murray. Those are my guys. But nonetheless, Jalen Hurts.
The Giants should trade for Zach Wilson.
Jesus Christ. But Jalen Hurts has earned it. You know, second year making the playoffs, getting his team in, then third year Super Bowl. You know, he's made the modest jumps. You wanted him to win it, but he's made the modest jumps that you want to see in a quarterback, improving as a passer, improving as a playmaker, decision maker. So that's something that you all want to see. We talked about it last week about the Eagles free agents, and this year you're going to see it start to kind of pile up. You know, with a stacked team like this, you're going to lose some guys, but a lot of the guys that we are losing this year or possibly could lose, we have some depth. I mean, the defensive line, we're going to lose a few guys, but we have depth there. Offensive line, we might lose a guy or two, but we have depth there, you know, to retiring, whatever. It's just for me, the secondary, you know, that's something that's going to be crucial, but Jalen Hurts getting the money that he deserves, it's always going to be tough because giving a quarterback that much money is always tough because it kind of hinges the team. But Dehls just mentioned that you can play around with it, you can get fancy with it. But I think Jalen Hurts has earned this contract. You know, maybe not 50 mil because 50 mil is like Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, but definitely in the 40-ish range. I think definitely he deserves that money because the leaps he's made from year one to going back to college, getting benched, then coming back, then getting drafted, then being in year one in college.
What do you get benched for?
Oh, was it Tua?
Oh shit, really?
You got benched?
What the hell? How did that happen?
Things happen.
I don't know, but one of them went to Super Bowl, so it doesn't really matter. You know,
lost.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other guy, never mind.
Thank you.
More prayers to Tua. You know,
don't fucking do that. Don't fucking do that
plays,
shit.
You know?
Come on, bro.
But yeah, you know, I'm on Dell's side for today. Hurts deserves that money. He'll get that money. He's earned that money. Earned it. Unlike other people in the NFC East.
Don't fucking
even the other guy in Dallas.
Dak didn't earn it.
You know, he didn't shit, but you know, who am I to say who earns what? You know, I personally,
guy with the podcast.
I'd pay Cooper Rush.
Yeah,
he looked better
than Dak.
Yeah,
okay, type shit. I like that. Jalen Hurts.
I'm allowing this sounds
stupid. I don't know. It's a bit of different conversation. Talk about Jalen Hurts than Daniel Jones. Jalen Hurts, it's more so how much do you want? Daniel Jones is we don't want to give you that much, right? So for Jalen Hurts, it's going to come down to, at least if I was in the room, if I'm Howard Roseman, it's, listen, Jalen, we could give you $50 million. We could give you whatever you want, guaranteed, whatever it is. But do understand this team's not going to be as good. We're going to lose X, Y, and Z. And especially this season, I think it's maybe a blessing in disguise you have so many free agents because it's very easy to go into that meeting room with Jalen Hurts and say, if we give you $50 million, here are the guys that are gone. If we give you $40 million, here are the guys that are gone. You could kind of work off based that. Or you could work based off of that, where Jalen Hurts deserves his money, the guaranteed money, however he sees fit. And who knows, maybe he even gets the second ever fully guaranteed contract. Deshaun just got $230. I mean, Jalen Hurts could be in that consideration, a 4-year deal worth $200+ million or even longer, possibly. But it really comes down to how much does he want to keep this group of guys together, right? The NFC is super weak. You can make the argument with Aaron Rodgers leaving. He's the best quarterback in the NFC. I think you could probably say that pretty comfortably too. So he's going to get paid like it. He deserves to get paid like that. but he also should see that he has a very unique opportunity that I love Jalen Hurts. He's not the top 3 elite guys in the league. He's not Mahomes. He's not Burrow. I think he's a phenomenal franchise quarterback, but he can notice now that, hey, I don't have to pay paid like these top guys, put up similar production at times, and then still have a team with me, and we could just run this NFC until they get quarterbacks like me. Because if we're looking outside of Jalen Hurts, who's the second best quarterback? Okay, Dak Prescott,
Justin
Kirk Cousins, Fields, I guess, up and coming. Kyler injured.
Daniel.
Cardinals are a joke.
There's a lot of young guys in the NFC right now. Trey Lance.
I'm not going to say Daniel Jones.
Caleb Williams is on his way.
Caleb Williams, if he goes to the AFC or the NFC, who knows? But Jalen Hurts is in a unique situation where he could confidently say, I am the best quarterback in my conference. I deserve to get paid like that. I don't have to see the upper echelon guys until the Super Bowl. So maybe if I save a little bit of money here, maybe instead of 50, I take 43. Let's bring the band back together. Let's go to Super Bowls. Let's try to win one next year. That's all it comes down to for Hurts.
And it's kind of ridiculous, that point you make. Not anything against Hurts, but the fact that like he's already established himself within one season as the best quarterback in the conference, depending on what happens with Rodgers, of course, and Kyler and Stafford. I mean, like you said.
DJ. Go ahead. Continue.
Gotta stop this Daniel Jones nonsense.
What you can do with kind of Hurts, you can kind of backload that contract. So these next couple of years after his last year in that rookie contract, you'll still have that window open, maybe a little bit longer, because the reality is AJ Brown said, look, if you don't pay that man, ship me off wherever he goes. The leadership, the intangible that he brings galvanizes this entire team. And while he's got an amazing supporting cast, we just saw him go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, coming off a shoulder injury with an offense that, yeah, it is great, but Hurts made big-time plays, right? He had the one fumble, okay, but how'd he respond? He played an excellent game. I mean, your defense gives up 38 points. Hurts put them in position to win a Super Bowl in his age 24 season. And he's only getting better and better in a conference where quarterbacks are getting worse and worse. So you give him a 6-year extension. You give him $45 to $50 million a year because he's more than earned it at this point. He's showing the constant development as a thrower of the football. And when you're talking about those top 10 guys, I mean, after the top 5, right, is Jalen Hurts right behind Trevor Lawrence? Does he have a chance with his dual threat ability to maybe surpass Trevor, given he's already been in the Super Bowl, he's performed in the Super Bowl? What do you guys think? Top 5, top 7?
Crazy. I mean, I believe Jalen Hurts is a significantly better passer than what people give him credit for. The development from last year to this year is probably the most unique and most unlikely thing I've ever seen, truthfully. Because last year, he simply was not good. He was not good.
No.
And this year, he was borderline elite. I really do. I wanted that for Lamar Jackson. And the fact that Jalen Hurts did it in one season is unbelievable. Of course, he can definitely be in that conversation.
I have Hurts like at 8 or 9.
I think I've Hurts like 7.
And I think
I have Hurts at 7.
When Rodgers retires, probably go over, depending on where Lamar goes. I have Lamar over Hurts.
I already told you this. I don't rank Rodgers. It's impossible.
Oh, no, I rank Rodgers for sure. He like 6, 7 for me. But, that's pretty much, the big 4, Herbert, Allen, Mahomes, Burrow over him. And then I have Aaron and Lamar. Oh, so he's 7. 7.
That's fine.
You don't have Trevor over him?
Oh, shit. There we go. And maybe Deshaun. Maybe. So he's 8-9. I'll go 8-9.
That's fair. If Deshaun Watson gets back to how Deshaun Watson was playing in Houston,
8-9.
He's, in my opinion, better than Jalen.
And we'll just say, if Jalen Hurts...
Oh, no, if Deshaun goes back, he's better than Lamar.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, he could be in the top 4 conversation.
No, if he's back to back, he's top 5.
Yeah, for sure. And Jalen Hurts, I don't want to sell him short. Like, he's super young. He could get better, right? Like, the fact that progression year to year, let's not act like this is the final version of Jalen Hurts. Maybe this is the best statistical season he puts up over the next couple of years, but progression as a passer, mentally especially too, he's only going to get better because you see how great he is, but you also see flaws, right? I definitely do see he leaves the pocket too early. I see his eyes drop a little bit early sometimes. I'm nitpicking here for sure, but this is the stuff he's going to go into this offseason saying, if I can refine this, especially in the pocket, staying confident in the pocket because he's going to have a great offensive line again next year, then we could see even further elevation in his game.
So you guys believe that the only quarterback here that deserves this money is Jalen Hurts, correct? Just making sure.
$40 million, yes, undoubtedly.
45, 50.
All right.
You give Jalen Hurts $45 million, you feel like it's a steal. You give Daniel Jones $45 million, it's we got.
I'd rather give Justin Fields $45 million than give Daniel Jones.
Okay, understandable.
He broke a record.
Okay, so before we go on to reading some tweets and some super chats, a quick word from our partner, Athletic Greens. Now, usually people read these ads and they're talking about their partner like they actually use it, right? But I actually do take AG1. I take it every single morning because I'm not a huge vitamins guy. I don't like to take pills really, but AG1 literally puts all your nutritional intake into one nutritional drink. And for me personally, I find it the most beneficial. I drink it with my protein shake every single morning. And it really just allows me to feel like I'm getting all the nutrients I need, truthfully. And why it's so great for me is because I also see other athletes take this supplement. And for me, that allows me to feel a little bit more confident in what I'm putting into my body. And it's really about how you start the day. And with AG1, it allows me to feel like I am putting the best quality ingredients into my body. A lot of these athletes take AG1 every single day. Again, like I mentioned, this is really my go-to drink. 75 high-quality ingredients that give me key daily nutrients and long-term gut health support. Joel is known for the longest. There is no person that has worse gut health than Andrew Velez. So that's a huge reason why I cut all dairy and decided to add a nice nutritional supplement into my everyday lifestyle. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/pickaside. That's athleticgreens.com/pickaside. Please check it out. Now we're going to go and we're going to read some super chats real quick before we read some of your tweets. Again, I put on my Twitter at Handrew5As. Send me a question that you guys have, and you might potentially be able to get on the show. We saw a couple of your questions. It's not too late to find that tweet and send me some love, see what you guys are thinking.
I actually have a few tweets that I would like us to answer.
Hot. Okay, I definitely
some random questions I've seen on Twitter I thought would be cool to talk about.
Cool. So first, quick shout out to you guys. No, absolutely. I could not have to go to the bathroom more, but I'm champing it.
Well, I'm not. So you guys have fun.
You're a bastard. So first, shout out to Gio Puncho, 99-cent donation. Appreciate it. Santos Lopez. I mean, surprise. Another $4 donation. You're the greatest person maybe ever. RJ the God, $4.99 donation. Which trio? What is this guy doing, bro?
Bro, you're a fucking mess.
RJ the God donated $4.99. Says, which trio would you rather have? Dak, CD, Micah, or Russ, PS2, and Judy? RJ the God, I appreciate the love for this. What you did was very kind.
Go to the bathroom.
But no way, no how do we not take Dak, CD, Micah.
That's a fact.
It's honestly, it's CD and Judy. That's really the strong difference.
And Dak and Russ, to be honest.
I keep it real.
We gonna see. Certified casual. Can you go to the bathroom already, bro? Jesus Christ. Shout out to Certified Casual, $4.99 donation. What do y'all think of the NBA dunk legends drafting pro dunkers so we can see some dunks that they would never try and bring some more excitement to All-Star Weekend? Not crazy.
Pro dunkers?
Pro dunkers, yeah.
Non-NBA players.
That's the issue. We want to see We want to see Zion, LeBron James. You want to see the best players.
You want to see the guys you have a connection with.
You want to see the guys that mark of the league.
One thing, right now, I don't like a lot of what Stephen A. says about LeBron James, but he said a couple days ago that he blames LeBron James for the fall of the slam dunk competition, and I hate more than anything. To blame LeBron for anything, but Lord knows Stephen A. is spitting.
Facts. Back down 2010.
It's just insane how LeBron obviously is one of the best in-game dunkers that we've ever seen. And the fact that he's never participated in really bro, your fly. Is that your fly? Oh no, you got a bun.
Bro stared right at it.
No, that was John's fault, bro. He pointed it out. That was John's fault.
No, I was saying to go behind the lights in front of the camera.
Oh, my fault, Dingy. I do this every day though.
But we've seen so many legends of the game perform in the dunk contest, and for LeBron to be one of the lone superstars.
Would you call the best, one of the best in-game dunkers in the game?
LeBron. That's wrong.
This guy.
I think it's a hot take.
No, this guy's he's a generational hater.
I mean, I'm tired of seeing a little time out there.
Or word when he's in transition.
Yeah, I know he's gonna do this. I know what he's gonna do. Yeah, I know what he's gonna do.
Shout out to Brandon Rube Chan, $4.99 donation. Another $4.99 donation from Brandon as well. Huge fan of the podcast. Drew, I appreciate you holding it down throughout the season for the Giants. Danny is good, but not worth $45 million, maybe 30. 100% agree with that. Sports SP donated $2 and said black coaches are treated differently. And John, you touched on this a little bit without really putting that extra stamp on it because you're 100% alluding to this. Could not agree more. When you're guys like Eric Bieniemy, D'Amico Ryans, even Mike Tomlin, there's just a harder path that you have to go through, unfortunately, as a Black African American in the National Football League. And that's 100% the reason why guys like Jonathan Gannon are getting head coaching jobs immediately after having a couple of seasons of success. And Eric Bieniemy has to go to a middle of the pack type team to prove himself as an offensive coordinator and potential head coach. So you're 100% right, both you, John, and Sports SPSP. Now, to get onto these tweets, because I read a couple of these and they definitely were intriguing.
Sure.
So the first
on
one,
your Twitter, right?
I did. The first one I'm going to read is from David A27. He says, when and if the Clippers lose again this year, should they consider retooling by trading PG, blow up the roster, or run it back one more year? Rev, this seems like a targeting.
Yeah.
Nah, if they lose this year, probably blow it up. I mean, PG and Kawhi are due for money next year. I think Kawhi will probably stay. You know,
okay.
I don't think he really cares anymore. But there's a lot of guys due for money on that team. You know, Marcus Morris, Norman Powell, they're on pretty calm contracts. I think 2 to 3 year deals. But I think if you lose this year, I think the championship aspiration should be gone. But you can always still be a competitive team if you want to.
I mean, we spoke about it last time we were all here together. The Clippers roster is deep. I think, yes, I do think they do need a point guard, and we're going to talk about Russell Westbrook being acquired by the Clippers. That is definitely a nice addition for them. But I feel like this roster is still deep. You need to trust PG and Kawhi because you understand the ceiling when they're healthy and together on the court. But it's solely on these two being healthy. And we won't go too much more in depth in this because, again, we're going to talk about Russell Westbrook a little bit later. James O'Kane Chester, he responds to this and says, who do you guys have as the most underrated NFL free agent?
Free agent? That's a good question.
My Steelers have Cam Sutton. I feel like he's one of the more, he's limited at 5'11", but he's a really smart, very versatile corner that has played huge minutes this year. He's only 27 years old. Okay, and he's probably one of the top 2 or 3 corners in the market.
Most underrated free agent, NFL.
For my team, I'll probably go Javon Hargrave. I think he's been a dog this year, especially with us on the defensive line. I think an overrated one could be Bradbury. You know,
overrated
a little bit. I mean, I think like our schedule and then him playing behind Slay, plus our secondary is really good. The defensive line creates so much pressure and cause havoc. You don't really have to. I'm not gonna say you don't have to do too much, but it allows for a bit of error in the backfield. So Bradbury could be a guy that was just great in our system, which is nothing wrong with that. You know, Josh Norman had that for a few years. You know, he was elite in certain systems, so there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I would say Javon Hargrave is underrated. He can definitely change the game, and then James Bradbury could be a little overrated.
I'm shocked to hear you say that James Bradbury is a little bit overrated.
I say could be.
Just for the fact that he was all pro this year, what more could you ask of him? But I feel like Jordan Poyer might be a little bit underrated for the fact that obviously we understand Jordan Poyer's talent. He is one of the better safeties in this league, but he was looking for a contract last season. He did not get it. And then, of course, he was great this year, did have some injuries. You do wonder if that's going to affect his value come this offseason. But Jordan Poyer is definitely going to be highly touted. I mean, Jordan Poyer is among one of the better safeties in the league, and there's a bunch of teams that could use some safety help. I look at him to be one of those names. All right, Joel, you don't have to give one.
I've got two. I was going to say Bryce Huff, New York Jets. Didn't get a ton of opportunity as a pass rusher, but when he did,
he fake was nice.
He definitely put on.
Caleb McGarry was huge for that Falcons running attack at tackle. I mean, that's a pretty underrated free agent for a lot of teams, and a little bit more on the outside.
All right, next question comes from Wayne Ams at Ams Wayne. Says, what would you guys do with the Detroit Lions first-round pick? If I'm the Lions, I'm hoping and praying CJ falls to us.
No, CJ, where they pick?
I believe they have the 7th.
They have the 6th pick from the Rams, and they also have their pick at 18.
Okay, 2 first-round picks. Quarterback is, I don't know, quarterback's hard because I feel like everything they've said from coach GM, they want to go with Jared Goff. But you also look at this team, and there's holes for sure. Don't get me wrong. But the fact that you could be a borderline playoff team, and you could also draft a quarterback at 6 and then just pretend that didn't exist, and now you still have your first-round pick at 18, because this Lions team, the way it's shaping up, barring injury, I don't think they're going to be top 6 again, right? We all like Dan Campbell, Jared Goff had a great year, Amon-Ra, some of the
They only have the 6 because of the Rams.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I
don't think we're going to see this Lions team as a top 6 selection in the next couple of seasons. So you do eventually want to move off Jared Goff. You want someone possibly who's younger, number 1 for sure, getting paid less. Rookie like CJ Stroud makes a ton of sense, who could win from the pocket. They have some other holes. Like I think they could definitely use another wide receiver. The defensive side of the ball needs some work too. The offensive line is pretty set in stone. Running back too. Trade Hawkinson, maybe look for tight end. But I think quarterback makes a ton of sense at 6. If possibly not receiver later at 18 or defense.
So at Troy, bunch of numbers. I'll read them because I'll show some respect. 6321010. He asked us a football question, which we spoke on already. If Derek Carr is a QB for the Jets, is he a floor raiser or a ceiling raiser? Do y'all make the playoffs and win more games or what? And then he asked a basketball question, playoff floor and ceiling for the Cavs. So we'll quickly talk about Derek Carr. I think, yes, he is a floor raiser because with a bunch of it was a quarterback carousel last season for the Jets. They were still able to win 7 games and almost make the playoffs. It was harder for them to miss the playoffs than it was to make it at one point, and then decided to go 0-5 to end the season.
0-6.
Excuse me, I apologize. The only thing I remember is 0-5 from the conversation that we had. So yes, I do think that he is a floor raiser. Is he a ceiling raiser?
No.
Hard to say.
No.
It depends on what your ceiling is. For the Jets with Derek Carr.
I think ceiling raiser is somebody who changes your ceiling. So their ceiling,
Nice.
their ceiling, no, like their ceiling, regardless
You
of
broke that down.
I'm sorry, man. Bro, you just gotta understand that.
Yeah, you
I
said
did.
the ceiling raiser changes the ceiling.
Yeah,
I was gonna go into it.
I'm sorry, bro. I didn't mean to make you feel bad. I didn't make you feel. I'm sorry, bro. I apologize. Go ahead. I'm sorry, bro.
Lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry, man. Bro, ceiling raisers. Someone who's a ceiling raiser.
Aaron Rodgers
Derek Carr.
raised the ceiling.
Aaron
Justin
Rodgers,
Fields
Lamar
raises-
Come on, bro. You're really upset like that.
No, I'm trying to think. I really lost my train of thought. Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, ceiling raisers. Derek Carr, floor raiser. Matthew Stafford, ceiling raiser. Jimmy G, floor raiser to a degree. Slight floor raiser.
Not crazy. That's a good
Carr
statement.
has the opportunity to raise your ceiling.
I think that's more the team.
I think that yes, you can call him a ceiling raiser if you're comparing it to Zach Wilson's going to be my quarterback next season, because your ceiling with that
Well, but
is
then you still got to compare him to the rest of the AFC guys.
not disagreeing, but at the same time, we do understand that with Zach Wilson,
He's
they
dog
almost made
shit.
the- they
I
almost made the
understand. No,
playoffs.
I am fully aware that he's dog shit. I'm fully aware that they had the worst quarterback by far in the NFL.
And also Breece Hall, excuse me, getting hurt was devastating.
Changed everything.
Understandable.
So yeah, you know what? I will say he is a bit of a ceiling raiser.
You
also.
could, like, I think if this Jets defense is the same it was last season, and you pray to God the offensive line stays healthy, I mean, it's one of the more complete rosters in the NFL. You
And
bring in
then-
Derek Carr.
And then in terms of basketball, he says playoff floor and ceiling for the Cavs. The floor is a first round exit. That's their floor.
Fuck no.
It'd be hard.
Before it's a second round exit.
Yeah, who they lose to the Knicks?
I'm just gonna be honest. I think
Miami.
that's what their floor is. Miami wouldn't be nuts to see them lose.
I'd be pretty surprised.
I mean, the worst
Kevin
case
Love moves you?
scenario against that Miami switching style of defense. I mean,
I agree with her. I feel like their floor and ceiling.
You're
is
saying
second
switching
round.
style like they don't let Tyler Hero switch on guys and die.
well, Tyler Hero's gotten better defense. I don't
Enough.
think he's a tire fire. He's just not a good defender.
Devin Duvernay now.
I'm keeping it.
Like, let's say the Cavs drop to 6 by probably a slim chance, right?
Yeah.
Then they face up with Philly.
I would take the Cavs. I think the Cavs are the third best team in the East.
Okay, that's fair.
I agree.
If
So
you feel
that's-
that way, then that's
why I
different.
think their
I
floor
agree.
is second round. Their ceiling is second round.
Are they
probably.
better? So you're saying the
They
Cavs? You feel more confident in the Cavs than Philly?
We also saw Jalen
just
Brunson
can't agree
last
with
year.
I think their floor and their ceiling is the same thing.
You're gonna talk about my Knicks?
We saw Brunson last year versus Donovan Mitchell in 3 games, beat him 2-1. So I mean,
Is this Cavs team better?
yeah, this Cavs team is much better. But
we also saw Donovan Mitchell, Dolo, with the worser team, beat Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony.
what have you done for me recently? I love Donovan. I just want to point that out.
Well, he does average 30. you know.
Respect Donovan in the
Yeah,
playoffs. I'm
ridiculous
sure you
play.
know. I don't
Oh,
have to tell you. It's just the injuries
I'm just making a point.
that he gets injured.
No,
what have
that
we done for
Jalen
you
Brunson's
lately?
really good, and that next series can be competitive. That's all.
He got
So
injured.
you think? Sorry, Drew,
No, bro,
this-
go
I
ahead.
feel like this is a me
yeah,
thing
this is
right
a
now.
do
you
it.
thing.
So you think, on a normal circumstance, Jalen Brunson can outplay Donovan Mitchell like he did last year?
I think
Be
they can
honest.
take him to 6 games with Brunson playing as well as he has this year, and how much he's improved from last year.
So you think because Donovan Mitchell, that was an anomaly performance realistically. He
For
played
Brunson,
no for Mitchell. Like, he didn't play that well. He usually plays great.
Yeah.
I think we all can agree when we come into playoffs, we expect Mitchell to play really well.
he's a superstar in the playoffs.
Yeah, so he that was an anomaly, and then you're telling me now that you think Brunson can take the Cavs, the number 1 defense in the league,
Yeah.
to 6 games.
I think Brunson has gotten so much better. Wouldn't it be crazy to say that?
Okay.
Now the Cavs have gotten a lot. Like you talk about Darius Garland, he's gotten better defensively.
No, I was just waiting for you to say that.
I mean, a lot of those Cavs guards had the reputations as crappy defenders, and they've all defended at a high level. And the credit goes
not to mention they have
staff.
the arguably best defender in the league. You know, Evan
Which
Mobley.
one? Yeah, Evan Mobley.
They have Jarrett Allen, arguably the best rim protector in the league. You know,
what about? Are we going to mention him?
He's
I thought that's
coming.
what you're talking about.
No, he's coming. He's coming. They're asleep.
We'll see what happens when playoff crucible goes 0-5 from 3. But Evan Mobley make a great point. I mean, he has been.
Then they have Darius Garland, which I don't need to speak on how great he is as a point guard. I mean, that's interesting. Like I said,
would you say he's inconsistent?
No, I just felt like he was injured at the beginning of the year.
Okay, but yeah, all that was to say that the Cavs can, they can lose in the first round.
I think
so.
their ceiling is the ECF.
They missed the playoffs.
I think their floor is a first round.
You
exit.
do remember Jarrett Allen got hurt.
Yeah, that's the exact
I
point.
think they could get past the Bucks or
Nah,
something.
No, but your point is injury.
Stop.
One guy gets injured.
Stop.
Then say injuries.
No team stays
they had 2
healthy.
chances to get into the playoffs.
No, I agree.
They lost to the Nets.
But
The Nets are a better team,
I
fair.
agree.
But Darius Garland put on show.
I agree.
And against Atlanta, they were winning.
They wouldn't have been in that
They were
position.
winning.
Lost Nate McMillan,
They wouldn't have.
And Trae Young had a virtuoso.
They wouldn't have been in
And
that
Garland
position.
was ass.
They wouldn't have been in that position
Nice.
if Jarrett Allen
He
didn't
was
get
not
hurt.
good.
They were a top 5 seed when Jarrett Allen was healthy.
I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah,
Jarrett Allen played against the Hawks.
I understand that, but he's just coming back. They wouldn't have been in that position if Jarrett Allen was playing. And now, year 2, Evan Mobley's better. Jarrett Allen's better.
Yeah, just talking about last year.
Yeah, and now
Garland.
I don't see a world where if they're the third best team in the East, to me,
yeah, facts.
Then if they lose in the first round, I would be extremely disappointed.
I agree.
Yeah,
Listen, even as me, who has their floor as a first round exit, I would even be disappointed if they lost in the first round.
You think they could get to the ECF though?
Yeah.
If certain matches,
if the Bucks
turn
and
their
the
way,
Celtics play each other in the second round, yeah.
I mean, they'd want to have to fall to 3.
Yeah, so they probably
Which is
won't.
possible. I mean, the Cavs are only 3 or 4 games out.
Yeah, but the way the Bucks are playing, 11-game win streak to close out.
Any balls going to fall off? I mean, we'll play you guys.
Talking about teams that potentially could fall off, the Brooklyn Nets. We have a question from Robert Maris. Shout out to him. He says, "Do you think Mikal Bridges can have a Lauri Markkanen type season next year and be an all-star?"
Dehls, remember, beat you guys twice.
I know.
Yeah. Remember those games?
I know. I'm worried about
down to the wire.
That's it.
All right, down to the wire. Yeah, you saw Donovan. All right. Who?
Can
Mikal Bridges have a Lauri Markkanen type leap next year?
All-star starter.
That was nuts. He got in as a sub.
I was so happy to see him start.
Yeah, Mikal Bridges. Me personally, I'm not too high on Mikal Bridges as a player. I think he'll always be a really good starter. A 3-and-D defender that can make plays for others at times, like
only finished the runner-up for defensive player of the year too.
Huh?
Only finished the runner-up for Depoy as well.
Does that make you a star?
Don't say Depoy, please.
He was the runner-up for Depoy.
So wait, Marcus Smart is a star.
Player of the year, DPOY.
Marcus Smart is a top 65, top 60, top 70 player.
No, don't troll here. Marcus Smart is a star. He won DPOI.
You said you're low on him. He's, what type of starter? You say he's a decent one?
I said he's a really good starter.
Really good starter?
Really good.
Yeah.
Smart's top 70, top 60, maybe top 50 in some
But
cases.
you was jumping back as if you were calling him a star. Are you calling Mikal Bridges a star? Because he was a runner-up? I'm asking you. Are you? If you are,
Mikal Bridges isn't a star.
He's the best 3-and-D win in the game.
That makes him a star?
No, but he's
better than Desmond
fantastic role player, not a good one.
I'm sorry. I didn't
better
say
than Desmond
fantastic.
Bain.
That's a great question, but
It's not a great
I
question.
would take
Bain's
Bain.
doing more offensively.
But Bain also has these injury issues. Mikal has never missed
That's
a game.
facts.
I just think, okay, all right.
Cop out.
Cop
Cop out.
out.
was a cop out.
Look, I don't care about the nonsense. I want to see who wins more games than me. That's all I care about. And Mikal will play more, will be on the floor more. Bain last year in playoffs had a back injury. This year missed time with the toe. I'd rather have Mikal.
You're lying.
No, I'm not.
If you
In
start
a
a team, you
fucking
wouldn't. In
vacuum.
a starting team, you wouldn't have Mikal over Desmond Bain.
I would.
Okay.
He's only 1 year older.
Okay.
Or 2 years older. 2
I think
years.
it's
26. Yep. 26.
Uh,
We had this discussion, Andrew. Well,
I don't think Lauri type leap is pretty
Lauri
nuts.
type
That's
league. You have
something
to
don't see
credit the
ever.
coach. You have to credit the system. He went to a new environment. I don't think Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn's a good environment for him, but I don't think and I know people were excited. He had the 40 ball the other day, but listen, man,
And he probably has the coolest celebration in the game.
Yeah, that shit is dope. But in my opinion, I feel like we just get too excited with role players going to a situation that allows them to be better than what they actually are. Like on a championship team, Mikal Bridges is a 3-and-D defender who can guard your best player and then hit threes and then in spurts create. Why do we have to like overrate him in a different role when like John just mentioned, he only cares about winning. So if you only care about winning, what's the ideal role for Mikal Bridges in a winning situation? I think he was just in that.
One thing I'll say is this, and the last thing we'll move on to the next question. I understand the comparison of Laurie, right? Because Laurie did not simply have the opportunity to show his talents.
Never.
Now he's in Utah. He's freaking out. He's an all-star, happened to be an all-star starter because people had injuries, but still credit to Laurie and what he's done. Now Mikal now has this luxury. He's the best player, the best offensive option on his team now. And now this is only going to be beneficial for his development. Now there's going to be guys that are going to come in and look at Mikal. And before this wasn't the thing that they're looking at the Suns and saying Mikal is one of the main reasons why I want to come play for this basketball team. Mikal continues to show out the way that he has in his short stint so far with the Brooklyn Nets, continues to progress offensively, which was a huge question with him in Phoenix. Then this starts to become appealing, and this is only beneficial for Mikal and his development. So I understand this question. It's definitely understandable to compare the two.
Joel V. Moran also is not going to appreciate that. I don't either. I think Mikal's only getting better and better.
He'll be 27.
I mean, Joel flipped on that. He was one of the hugest advocates of Mikal having already peaked offensively, and now suddenly he thinks that his offensive game is the sky's the limit.
This is okay. All right. This is
real quick, Riv, because we already are 3 hours. Go ahead.
Good gang. We're locked in. What do you think his offensive ceiling is? Because he had 45, and then before that, he had 7 points.
Yeah,
he's not consistent. He's not going to drop 45. It's not who he is.
No, but it's about developing.
I'm confused. Like, because what is his? What do you think is? Because he'll be 27 in the summer.
Yep.
What do you think will be his ultimate ceiling?
The third wheel on a championship team.
So what he was last year.
Yes, but except get better because he has more opportunity.
So I wasn't bugging.
No, that's valid. Third option on championship team is perfect. Okay, so you can average like
that's an all-star oftentimes.
Yes.
He was an all-star last year, though.
No, but often he's saying
he's getting more productive
in the new NBA.
So
he's not the third star. Like
Smart isn't a star.
You're right.
Smart.
You're right.
Robert Williams isn't a star.
You're right.
Whoever the hell the Clippers' third guy isn't a star.
Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, both all-stars.
Drew is a borderline
but
star.
I'm just saying 3.
Wiggins
by default.
There we go. That's a great
I wouldn't
answer.
call him a star, though, but by default.
Draymond Green has made all-star games.
Draymond Green, you can say a star.
But again, I didn't want to say Draymond because the Warriors are so specific.
I mean, like,
it happens.
You're overthinking this.
No, I think
you're
overrating Mikal Bridges.
Let's move on.
If he's the third player, then Brooklyn got some work to do.
You're right. Well, did you feel that way about the Suns?
Well, they already had a 1 and 2.
But then he was number 3.
Yeah, but Brooklyn doesn't have a 1 and 2.
Facts.
All right, fair enough. All right, next question, and we'll probably read like 1 or 2 more. At this point in the season, which team would you like to see draft Victor? And do you think he can make the All-Star game his rookie season?
Anybody but the Rockets, I hope, drafts Victor because they don't deserve him.
I think.
Why do you? Because of how shitty the organization is?
I mean, it's a joke. They don't. You need to actually have a foundation, and the Rockets ripped all of that apart just so they can get their pick that was owed to the Thunder because of the Russell Westbrook trade, and now they've basically sacrificed any semblance of culture. Don't send Victor to that place because they don't have a head coach and no one wants to play there. Send Victor to Oklahoma City. That's a team that actually has a coach, a consistent core, and let's just say a rising future.
Which picture the Thunder had that they would be drafting number 1.
It'd be theirs.
They can rise. I don't know if they're gonna make the playoffs this year, so I feel like they can rise.
All the picks are protected, so they'll get all those picks next year.
Yeah, I mean it's not.
I would say Charlotte. I would love to see.
I was going to say selfishly, I need to see LaMelo paired with another superstar.
And I don't think he can make.
You want to see him play with Keldon Johnson?
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that.
They're the worst one in the NBA.
I agree, which is why I feel
they do nothing. They do literally nothing.
I like the players. I like the personnel on the Rockets, even though they are not really performing because the team's a joke right now, no doubt. Yeah. But I do like the personnel. I would like Victor to go there because maybe they get a little bit more serious now that they have someone a foundation.
Actually beat Xavier.
Nice.
They were down 12.
Because now they have an actual foundational piece where the expectation would be Jalen Green, but of course Victor's generational,
and Victor and LaMelo would be the fits.
That's what I'm saying. That would be fucking nuts, and I need LaMelo selfishly to have a co-star like Victor.
I agree.
Last question we're gonna read is from @DishingTheRock. He says, "Is this Harden's best shot at a title this season with Embiid? And is Doc the reason why they fall short most of the time?"
Well, his best chance was when he got hurt.
Unfortunately, I feel like his best chance was in Houston, but sadly, they played
best chance was in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
He's spitting.
I think when they went to the WCF and they missed 27 straight threes.
And what was that 2 for 14?
Yeah, that was the because I think that team could have beat the Cleveland team. At least give them a fight. You know what I'm saying? That was a great team.
You don't know shit.
Oh God. Okay, well,
Well, it depends. If Trevor Ariza is going 0-12 from the three, they'd probably.
Well, I mean, he wouldn't have gone over 12. They would have won the fucking game, you know. So it's like
if you get 2 of those threes,
yeah, like, you feel me? So I feel like that was the team that's like, this is the one, you know. Even the Brooklyn team, yeah, but it was just so much shit going on. Yeah, it was all fuzzy. They would have smoked Atlanta, but it was all fuzzy, you know.
That's facts. They would have absolutely.
But I like that
blown
2017 team.
Blown their backs out.
So we're going to finish the show talking about All-Star Weekend, of course, some moves that happened while we were on All-Star break. So, Riv, you had a tweet talking about All-Star Weekend and how, to you, it sucks. So I'm genuinely curious to have your outlook and your opinion on this weekend.
The All-Star game is boring. I think, Drew, you are a optimistic human. And what I mean by that is you are very, you know what, I'm just going to look at the bright side in every situation, every bad situation. And I respect that as a man.
Fucking psychological.
I respect that as a man from you, but I need you to cut it out. That shit was dog shit. The fans know it. The players talked about it. Jalen Brown said this shit is not a real game. Mike Malone said this is the worst game ever. Like, this wasn't just the me thing. I understand LeBron's the captain. If Steph was the captain, I'd be in that shit like, this shit lit, shit fire, but All-Star game had that great. I'll be honest, the product that they put out there, and it's not our fault. It's the product that they put out there hasn't been good. Guys don't want to compete for the dunk contest. For the most part, the three-point contest is usually good because, we have shooters fucking everywhere. But that one year where Paul George made 8 was really nasty. Yeah, the skills challenge, they're not even putting skilled players in the skill. They're putting three dudes who I know for a fact have never learned how to dribble up until they were 17 years old. And that is the Antetokounmpo brothers. I know for a fact they didn't know how to dribble until 18. They're putting them in a skills challenge.
Yeah.
And it's just, they put big men in it a year or two ago. Nasty business. I just feel like they're becoming really stale with it. And they need the one-on-one challenge is cool. I just don't think all the players would be truly invested in that. They don't want to hurt themselves, I guess, for All-Star break. But bring it back to the days when All-Star games was competitive. I actually, last night, when I got home from work, I pulled up the old All-Star games where they was actually playing defense, playing mad hard. It was really funny in the All-Star game. And I feel like that competition could come back. You pretty much bringing the 24 best guys in the league at that point. You guys should want to outduke each other. You guys should want to play against each other and see who could rock out and be the best. You know what I'm saying? Especially put on the show for us. They look at the All-Star game as some type of prestigious honor, so treat it as such. Yeah, treat the shit like a pickup game at the park or shoot-arounds or AAU. If this is a prestigious award, treat it as such. You know what I'm saying? But,
you guys aren't as passionate about All-Star Weekend, so I'm just going to go. I hope you guys don't mind.
Very passionate.
I'm incredibly juiced up here.
I'm just saying as me because I'm very triggered by everything.
You're the All-Star Game's #1 fan.
Literally, you have a hat, you have a shirt, jersey.
I'll say this: I absolutely adore the All-Star Game, and it was really disheartening for me to watch this weekend. Absolutely, I'm with you, Riv. This game was not good, and it all started to fall apart when LeBron James decided that he was not going to play the second half because he injured his finger trying to block Shea Gilgeous for a layup. That was irresponsible on LeBron's part, no doubt about it. He was being a bully. And unfortunately, he got his due diligence and injured his finger, unfortunately. But that was really the beginning of the end because people weren't trying to get hurt.
Giannis played with broken wrist.
He played a second. Yep. He got the ball, yammed it, fouled, got taken out of the game, didn't play the rest of the game.
Stupid. Let somebody else.
So once LeBron got hurt, then people really were scared to really do any type of antics. The most exciting thing we saw was Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum going head-to-head, back and forth. That was unbelievable. I really enjoyed it. You're a casual. But why I disagree strongly, Riv, is for the fact that outside of this year, which I'm with you, horrible. This game was not good. Aside from this year, last year
wasn't that great. The year before, I give you.
I disagree.
The year before, I will give you.
I disagree because we saw Steph Curry go crazy for 16 threes. You're going to tell me they were wide open? Sure. But it was still a show to see Steph Curry go that insane. For him to have the points that he did at halftime, we were all anticipating him to have the all-time record for an All-Star game. Yep. That was very exciting for us. LeBron James also having the game-winning,
of course,
the game-winning shot was also very cool for me.
Yeah, I figured
that was awesome.
Ideal.
Of course, add that to the resume.
You know what was the last? You know what was the last great All-Star game, and I'm sure you can remember this.
Talk to me.
Remember the year Derrick Rose made the All-Star game? And D Wade was still at his prime,
of course.
And then LeBron was on the team.
And LeBron inbound the ball.
Yeah, and they were going dead ass serious. East versus West. That was probably.
They've been going serious.
No.
So last year, yes, it was a 3-point show.
It's only serious the last quarter.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Let me finish it. Because they're playing. Stop it. Wow, little whore. That's what you are.
Good God.
What's changed now is that it goes by quarters and they play for charity, which is very nice in their own right. Absolutely. But then, yes, it comes down to the fourth quarter, and that's usually when it's its most exciting, which was what we have seen in literally every single All-Star game. They chill, they get their little highlights, but then in the fourth quarter, they're trying to win a basketball game, which we saw last year where it was very competitive. You said it the year before where Kawhi was the MVP of the All-Star game, and they came back from almost 20 points down, and Team LeBron rallied to win the game when AD hit the game-winning free throws to reach the total margin. And then, excuse me, am I talking about that?
It was that was 2020.
Yes, I am. No, I am thinking of the right one. And then the year before that, Team LeBron absolutely wiped the floor with them. But again, it's good highlights, good basketball. Kevin Durant was the MVP. Year before that, LeBron James was the MVP of the All-Star game. But that was also a great moment for me because that was when Kevin Durant and LeBron James teamed up against Steph Curry on the final possession where Steph Curry had an opportunity to win the game at the end of the game, and they clamped your boy up.
Two losers.
It was an unbelievable moment. If you watch that shit back, that shit's basketball history. I'm not even exaggerating.
Oh my God,
everything is all LeBron.
I even mentioned Kevin Durant, who I could not have hated more at the time. Watching him and LeBron,
history.
It is basketball history. You want to know why it's basketball history? And I'll explain to you very quickly, and we can move on. Why it's basketball history? Because at the time, Steph was coming for the throne. And this is when Kevin Durant joined the Golden State Warriors, and there was allegations on his name, rightfully so. So what did LeBron and KD do together?
They teamed up.
They assured that we're not going to let this guy take our spot as the top two guys in the league, and we're going to absolutely clamp him.
The All-Star game seals that you're not the guy.
You want to know why? Because when LeBron was inbounding the ball,
like 2015 again.
When LeBron was inbounding the ball in this All-Star game that he's talking about, what was the issue? Why is LeBron James not taking the final shot? Why is he inbounding the basketball? Kobe Bryant would have not inbounded the basketball, would have taken the final shot.
I remember that.
There's narratives that go into the All-Star game. So why? I want to create my own narrative. And that's exactly what I saw. I saw two of the best players in the NBA, LeBron number 1, Kevin Durant number 2, trying to lock
Kevin
up
Durant number 2.
Steph Curry. He was.
Okay.
Steph Curry or Kevin Durant when he was on the Golden State Warriors.
Steph Curry.
You're biased. You're biased.
You're going to call me biased regardless. So I might as well just keep staying with my answer.
So it's very similar to me. Since they started to do the draft, I've been super entertained by the draft process itself. I could say that the draft was the most entertaining part
Even
of
though
this past
the draft
Sunday.
got soft. They talk about, we don't want to decide who picks last.
Right.
Or we're gonna what the fuck?
I'm not going to disagree.
He's a grown
that
man.
was very, very whack.
What are we doing?
But it was super entertaining for me regardless. I find it very exciting to watch them do the draft.
I just don't like. I want to see 4 quarters of great basketball. You know, even the Kawhi year, I only jumped into the game because they were like, people were tweeting like, yo, the game's getting good. So even then I had to wait until the game got good. So, you know, to each his own. You know, if you love the All-Star game, obviously LeBron's gone. You won't love the All-Star game anymore. I know that for a fact. It's okay because,
And really, we saw one of the great all-time win streaks in sports history end, and that really was more tragic than anything.
Sick.
And it's really unfortunate because he's hurt and he couldn't really impact the game like he wanted to. He was going on a tear.
That's it's going to impact his legacy.
Now, I'll be honest, it really
should
hurts.
make the playoffs now.
Don't worry about that. When we go on this crazy ass run,
we play you guys Thursday.
That's an L for you.
Oh, Steph's not playing. I don't care.
Yeah, L.
Yeah, probably.
The highlight of my weekend was watching Tatum and Jalen Brown go at it. I was sitting there with the biggest grin I've ever had in my face. It was phenomenal.
Jason Tatum,
Jason Tatum, All-Star MVP, most points in NBA history in an All-Star game. He was out there just going stupid. I can't believe Joe Mazzulla played in the entire second half, but that's what he does in real life. So I guess
he was on the opposite team. Huh? Joe Mazzulla was coaching the team LeBron.
Oh shit! I thought he was coaching Tatum's team.
Wait, you're 100% right, bro. I'm sorry.
I thought okay, yeah.
You know, there's only 3 people I think to win All-Star game MVP and Finals MVP.
The first 2 did it.
You can do it.
Jason Tatum might be third. The All-Star game, I think it'd be fun to be competitive, but I also don't see the need for it to be like everyone's saying. How do you fix the All-Star game? I don't know if it has to be fixed.
Well, I'm gonna be All-Star shit lit.
It's not as lit as you might think.
Low scoring.
I'm a casual. I'm talking about the games.
No, the All-Star, the home run derby is electric.
Yeah, that's just fire.
That's what the dunk contest should be because you have all the big guys do the home run contest.
Not ideal.
But the 3-point contest is awesome.
It is.
But it ain't the home run derby. Like the home run derby.
The home runs are so
the dunk contest is supposed to compare to the home run derby.
I don't think in today's NBA you're going to have guys going hard for 4 quarters in an exhibition game. Like we already see them sit out regular season games with really no injuries. And you want to call this generation soft or these era of basketball players the load management. I get that, but it's hard for me to believe that we have superstars in the NBA who are going to take nights off in the regular season, then go to the All-Star game in a game that absolutely does not matter one single fuck who wins or who loses. They're going to try their hardest. Like, I think it would be fun if it was competitive. Like, watching Brown and Tatum go at it was a blast. I'm a Celtics fan. That I feel like plays a large role into it, but I just don't expect that from the 24 All-Stars. Like, they're there to have fun. It's their one break in the entire long 82-game NBA season. I don't know if it's really fair to expect them to be going hard for 48 minutes. I think it'd be cool if the All-Star game be competitive, but I don't think there's a fix. Even if you want to give these guys bonuses, I mean, you're talking about All-Stars. These are the highest paid athletes in the NBA. Half of these guys are making $100 million. So giving them an extra $100K, I don't think that's really on their mind, especially a lot of these guys trying to compete for a championship. In the playoffs, there's only, 25 games left of the regular season. It's not even really like a halfway mark. It's like a 3/4 mark. So let me not get injured for this last month and a half of the season. Let me have fun with my friends, hit threes, hit crazy dunks. But I don't think there's really a fix to the All-Star game. I don't think there's a way you could pay guys or have these incentives or change the rules. I think the draft is more fun. I think it might take away a little bit of the competitiveness, East versus West. The East feels like they're the tougher conference. The West feels like they're the tougher. Now you kind of combine the two, even though it's more fun for fans. Maybe it takes away from the spirit of the game a little bit. Dunk contest was, I thought, fine, whatever way you want to put it. Fine kind of mixture of both. McClung was fun to watch and to miss any dunks. It would have been cool to have at least one superstar in it, but I think for the guys that were in it, it was, about as good as you could expect.
I float around the idea that kind of like the MLB, that maybe you give the winner of the All-Star game home court advantage.
It feels like too much.
And a lot of people are like,
they did it for MLB for years.
Yeah.
It was fucking awsome.
It feels like
a lot of people
much.
said there was a reason why the MLB stopped doing it. I'm like, I feel like it's a pretty interesting idea for those superstars to compete a little bit, some incentive. Why did they stop in baseball?
I'll be honest, some superstars still won't do it.
You think Lillard would care? Some of the Blazers.
Well, of course, he likes losing, but
I even think like LeBron, Steph, Kevin. I don't think they care what seed they get. I'll be honest. Like, I don't even think they're still
this
going.
is home court in the finals.
See, but it would also incentivize these players who, you know what, for All-Star weekend, you go balls to the wall. But again, you're saying these players don't care about seeding. Then if it doesn't matter to them, you make the finals, but you still win the All-Star game, and the seeding really doesn't matter, right? You know what I mean? So I feel like there is a little bit more incentive to go all out for this All-Star game, which is what we saw for the MLB for however many years. The reason why they stopped, there's a couple reasons. It was like 14 years in a row that the American League won. 14 years in a row, the National League did not win a single one. So every single year, the AL was getting home field advantage. That's not the only reason, not the main reason why they decided to change it. I think it's also for the fact that, again, similar to what Joel is saying, it's a 162-game season. This is more so dead middle in the year. They don't have many breaks. A lot of it's 3 games in a row. Sometimes you go 3 games, another 3 games, then you finally have your off day. It's very tough, very grueling baseball MLB season. So I think that's another reason why I decided to make it exhibition. But I was a huge advocate of having the All-Star game decide home field advantage for the World Series, because now you're watching it and there's a purpose. Because now there's a reason why these pitchers are throwing 100 miles an hour every single pitch, because every pitch means something. And when these guys are getting up to bat and they're hitting a home run in the 15th inning, JD Drew, I'll never forget it, the last All-Star game in Old Yankee Stadium, 15th inning, bro hits a home run.
Everything.
No, fucking crazy-ass game. The fact that happened was awesome. So, yeah, there's still moments that I remember from the All-Star game, and it weighs heavily on me, which is why it's unfortunate that this Sunday was so disappointing. So to move on, and the last topic on the show, we're going to talk about moves that occurred during the All-Star break.
Steph Curry has returned to non-contact work.
That is huge. That is absolutely huge.
You're right.
We're going to talk about not only just Russ joining the Clippers. We're going to talk about Pat Bev, of course, to Chicago. That's a huge move.
Why?
Kevin Love to Miami. And breaking news prior to the show, Nate McMillan was fired. So we are going to talk about Russell Westbrook first to the Clippers. Riv, I would love your thoughts, because I know you're a strong advocate of Russell Westbrook. Of course, you love him. He's one of your favorite players. I just pulled a Joel Moran and lied on your name, so I apologize.
Nobody would ever believe you.
No doubt.
Real fan.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I feel similarly when Joel says that. I don't like the fact that he lies. So I want to apologize to you for doing so.
I got you.
So what's your opinion, bro?
I tweeted this the other day. Hold on. I got to...
You're all sinusy?
No, I have to sneeze, and I know it's coming, but fuck it. We move. I tweeted this yesterday. Westbrook to the Clippers, interesting. And I use the word interesting because there's going to be a strong discord on the left side that says, oh, Westbrook was a disaster. Westbrook was trash. Westbrook was this, that, there. He was the reason for the Lakers. But he can go to the Clippers and change it, right? And then there's going to be on the right discourse where it's like, no, Westbrook's bad. He's done. Even if he goes to the Clippers, there's nothing he can do. Why is he getting minutes over Terrence Mann? There's no room. I'm more of in the middle. I would just love to see what Ty Lue is going to cook up. I think Westbrook brings some good things to the Clippers. I think Westbrook brings some bad things to the Clippers. I think Westbrook's going to bring the same thing he brings to every single team every year. He's going to bring bad decision-making. He's going to bring high energy. He's going to bring good rebounding. He's going to bring horrible off-ball defense. He's going to bring bad spacing. So
he's going to bring pace.
He is going to bring pace. At times, the pace becomes a little out of control. So he's very erratic. So it's like Westbrook's going to bring – he's been bringing the same thing to a team for the past 12 seasons. I don't know why anybody has seen to differentiate from it. I just think it's interesting because Terrence Mann has been so good in the lineup as a starter. The team has been so well oiled. I mean, so well run at the moment. They've been pretty good over the last month and some change. You watch this team. They just picked up Eric Gordon. They just picked up Mason Plumlee. They just picked up Bones. Now you bring in Westbrook. Where does Bones go? You know, what does he do? That's supposed to be the backup point guard. They're saying Westbrook a start, so where does T-Man go? So I use the word interesting because I am extremely interested at what Ballmer's cooking. He obviously doesn't care about money. He just wants to win. I respect that about Ballmer. Doesn't care how much money it costs. He wants to win at all costs. I get that. I respect that as a GM. You do what you need to do. He's also worth mad chicken, so, you know, have fun with that. Lawrence Frank, Ty Lue, I am extremely, extremely interested to see how they do it. I don't have an opinion on it because I don't know how the lineup's going to look. Westbrook does, like I said,
he's going to come off the bench.
No, they say he's going to start eventually.
Really?
Yes, they said he's going to start eventually. They've talked about his role. He's going to start eventually, but obviously he's going to come off the bench to get a feel, get the rust off. But I do find this interesting, and I'm just waiting to see how this is going to play out.
You know, Russell Westbrook signed for the league minimum, $700,000 rest of the season.
Why does Pat Bev get paid more than him?
And when he was on the floor this year, the Lakers were he was a positive for the team because of how badly they need that playmaking. They're a plus 4.8 per 100 offensively, but they're around, the same point differential because defensively, you said it before, he falls asleep. He was really good at switch on the bigger players. That's one thing I've noticed for the Clippers. They're a team that likes to go small. They can switch. He's a player that's a lot of pride in him. So while he may fall asleep off the ball in the corner, let someone get a wide open backdoor cut, he's really good switch on a bigger, tougher forward. It's like a Kawhi Leonard. He did it earlier in the season. I think what the Clippers have done, it's kind of funny. So you move Reggie Jackson, you get the same mold of a player in Bones Island. You move John Wall, and you get the same mold of a player in Russ. He can't close games for this team because they're not going to play with the pace that he likes to play with. For Russ in the stage of his career, it needs to be on a place like Washington, where they'll have the fastest pace in the NBA, and they'll be a fun playing team that will then be knocked down in the first round. But I do think for them, this is some extra body you can toss in there, and he brings some energy. And at the point guard position, I trust him more than Bones Island, just because Bones is a horrific defender. And, he's a young guard that doesn't really know how to facilitate yet. There's probably going to be a very real conversation for the Clippers. If Paul George gets banged up or whatnot, maybe Russ does close an occasional game for them. All in all, get this move, like a C, because he can't shoot, can't space the floor, and you're not going to have Kawhi playing off Russell Westbrook.
That's a fact.
So,
want to go, Joe?
Interesting signing. Sorry, caught me off guard there. I think Russell Westbrook can win you a game or two in the playoffs. He could also lose you a game or two in the playoffs. What it comes down to is he's just probably the most volatile player in the league. He could give you 28-7 one night, right? And you could win a playoff game with him. And then he could have moments like he did most recently in LeBron's record-breaking game where he's going up the court, throwing the ball fucking 40 feet down the court, and it goes out of bounds, and he's making these boneheaded decisions. The Clippers needed a playmaker. Obviously, Terrence Mann has been listed as their point guard. I know, Riv, as you mentioned, Paul George has been mostly playing that role. I just don't know if Russell Westbrook is the guy you want to be facilitating this team. It feels like what the Clippers needed is almost the opposite of Russell Westbrook. Exactly. It's someone who is not going to take dumb shots, especially in the fourth quarter and crunch time. He's going to be more than fine deferring to Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And it's not that Westbrook won't or doesn't, but he is always just going to be on attack mode, looking to push the ball when possibly it's not needed, or possibly taking the shot when he could just give it to Kawhi or Paul George. And that in an isolation setting is always going to be better than Russell Westbrook just isolating one-on-one with his defender when he inevitably just goes to the rim and either loses the ball or get fouled. So I think it's a bit of a volatile move because while you're going to have those moments of excellence from Westbrook where he can be efficient, he can push the ball well and make good decisions, for a team that wants to win the finals and be on a deep playoff run, I don't know how realistic it is to expect Russell Westbrook to be your starting point guard, let alone come off the bench. But if this report is true and they want him to eventually be the starter alongside Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, it's not the ideal fit. And it's a weird situation because now he's coming in at the end of February. All these guys have been playing together, new environment, obviously same city, but new team, new players, new coaching staff, new everything for him. So now he has to come in and kind of seamlessly fit. And obviously, like, he's played with Paul George before, so he has some continuity there. But you're expecting a lot. If this was someone like the Bulls, I think it makes more sense because not to pick on Riv, but it's a team that's like borderline playing, trying to get to that playoff spot, and Russell Westbrook could win you some of those games. Yeah. And if he loses them, he loses them. Who cares? The Bulls.
Oh,
but the Clippers, Bulls. On the other hand, it's much more important to win these games because you're going to be in the first round of the playoffs, second round of the playoffs. Maybe you can even get to the conference finals. Now these games become bigger and the spotlight is bigger on Westbrook. So when he make those mistakes, everyone's going to be talking about and saying, how can you go and make this signing? So I think the volatility is the most interesting thing where you needed the playmaking on this Clippers team. But when you get Westbrook, you get the playmaking, but all of the negative playmaking, I guess you could say, that comes
First
with
of all,
it.
Westbrook, DeMar lineup's lit. Very, very
Be fun.
Yo, and I also told you DeMar would play a lot more than you were giving credit for, and he did. You got buckets.
Don't care.
I'm just letting you know that's an L. So to talk about Russell Westbrook,
Lakers season is an L,
and we're going to see about that. Casual. So to talk about the Clippers, of course, and Russell Westbrook going to the Clippers now, I feel indifferent to this move. Of course, they did need a playmaker, and that was a huge knock on them at the trade deadline, them not acquiring a true point guard. I would have liked Mike Conley to be that addition. Unfortunately, he was not made available. He was traded to the Timberwolves. But why this move makes me indifferent is because, yes, you need the playmaking, but again, he's not going to help you space the floor. And as is, there's not that many great shooters on the Clippers as is, and you need spacing, especially if you want Russell Westbrook to be your starting point guard. So I need to see this for myself.
Some good shooters on the Clippers.
I'm not going to say you're wrong. Obviously, PG is a solid shot. Powell has been really solid off the bench recently with his 3-point.
Shoot,
but
his percentage isn't great.
But really, there's a limited amount of shooters per se, and there needs to be a specific lineup that you run Russell Westbrook on for him to be successful. Yes, the playmaking is exciting, but again, the turnovers are a strong issue. He is a turnover machine. He's been that basically his entire career, but I guess you take the good with the bad because of how solid his playmaking is when it's hitting. Yes, he brings you energy. He's a great locker room presence. Although with the Lakers, it seemed like he was made to be the bad guy at times because of the energy that he brought. I overlooked that because of how he's been known as such a great leader. Basically, the entirety of his career, there was just a huge price tag on Russell Westbrook's name while he was in LA. So a lot of blame was going towards him since he was not performing up to the level. And now he's with the Clippers. It's a completely different situation where they're not paying him top dollar. There's no true responsibility on Russell Westbrook to play well, where if he's unplayable at times, there is nothing really holding the Clippers back from saying, hey, hit the bench. You're not working for us right now. You're going to have to sit. Right now is getting to a point where you're unplayable. If that happens, the Clippers have that luxury where the Lakers kind of were handicapped where we're paying him $40 million. We have no luxury of having other players to play in front of Russell Westbrook. We need him to play. So that's where they kind of were at crossroads. So again, I'm indifferent. We'll see how it works out. So real quick to talk about, we're not going to talk about Kevin Love to Miami. I mean, that's at this point in his career, Kevin Love, cool move, we know who he is. Miami needed some players, and Kevin Love obviously just gives them some leadership in the locker room, some 3-point shooting. But
good backup center. He's better than Dwayne Dedmon.
Okay,
they need
a big presence.
Shooting.
And that's who they needed 3-point shooting.
28th in 3-point percentage after being.
I mean, wouldn't you go to Miami? Wouldn't you go to Miami
if you want to win a chip? No,
Miami's not horrible though.
They're not.
You know what they're going to do? They're going to give him a rotation spot that he lost in Cleveland.
It's because they're not fun.
Kevin Love. Oh, he lost his spot in the rotation. He wants to play. He's 34. He can contribute as a shooter. And you'd say with them being one of the 3 or 4 best defenses in the league, they can somewhat mask
I agree
his
with
lack of limitations on that side of the ball defensively.
So for the lulls, talk to me, Riv. Patrick Beverley to your Chicago Bulls.
We're really gonna
Would you
talk
have
about this
rathered?
shit?
Would you have rathered Russell Westbrook? Or are you happy with Pat Bev?
I'd
Talk to
rather
me.
fucking neither. I'll be honest with you.
Uh-huh.
We're going to the chip though. Listen, all trolling aside, this shit is awful. I'm actually in an insane amount of pain. Like what are we doing? Like why are we in the buyout market? And if anything, why are we getting another fucking guard? Like I don't understand. This is the problem with the Chicago Bulls. You have an incompetent front office. You have an incompetent coach. You have two stars that are literally not the star. You have role players that cannot stay healthy. And then you have a fan base that goes to every single fucking game for no reason. We have no future. We have no picks.
It's getting depressing quick.
The Blazers pick this year. There you go.
Oh, yeah, that'd be
Lottery
cool.
protected.
Oh, yeah, so we'll get it next year. That's dope. All right, so, we got that next year. DeMar DeRozan's old. Zach's knees are banged up. He's playing well. Lonzo can't walk.
He's out. He's ruled out for the season.
I knew that. Caruso probably he's old, but he'll probably go.
He's
He's not
best
old.
player.
He's
He's
like
not
28. Io's cool. I like Io. Kobe White's in-game eye test improvements have been good. I would say that. The numbers aren't there, but
Better defender.
he's trying more, so he's making better decisions. That's what you like to see. Drummond sucks. Vooch, they want to resign him, so I'm even in more pain.
He's played well this year.
Yeah.
Inconsistent, but played well for majority.
We're not in the play.
We're sorry. Do you have more stuff?
I don't.
Okay. If we're gonna skip over Kevin Love, we can skip over fucking Patrick.
I only
Beverley.
wanted to
Let's
hear
just-
Rip's thoughts
okay.
about Patrick Beverley.
Yeah,
nothing
this shit. This shit. I
I have nothing to say.
Real quick in the Bulls. What was the Bulls' biggest issue was? Taking Patrick Williams or Tyrese Halliburton. When you're in that situation, you need to go with the best player on the board. And Halliburton
Was that the same
the
draft?
best player on the board. Absolutely. Hallie should have been a top 5, top 6 pick. And for Chicago, they had two big needs. They needed a point guard because we kind of felt like Kobe was more of the 6th man, the spark
This guy
plug
loves
off the
hindsight.
bench. And
the
we have to
best.
be realistic here. I thought coming to the draft, Halliburton should have been the pick for the
didn't.
Bulls. Yes, I did.
You know how I know you didn't? John, you're a funny guy. You know how I know you didn't?
How?
Because no scout on the planet Earth had Halliburton going top 5.
I did. I'm not a scout.
Well, that's why I said
But
no scout.
Halliburton was the best player on the board. His shooting, he was.
Halliburton did have a lot of praise.
No,
under his name, though.
I thought he should have went to the Knicks.
That's the
honestly.
obvious thing.
Yeah.
But I thought in hindsight, obviously looks great. We should have picked Hallie, of fucking course. But I
It's
knew
fucking Pat Will's mid.
first of all, I didn't even see us picking Pat fucking Will.
And you took the wrong wing still. You
Yeah, I
should went down Vassell.
I didn't see that even happening. I walked out when we picked him. I was like, "What
I
the
remember
fuck?"
that's on camera.
Yeah, I said
Yes.
we never even win. They didn't speak about this young man. Who is he? So hindsight is cool.
And
We
I think
suck.
a lot of mock drafts had him in the top 6. It wasn't top 5.
Yeah, it was like it wasn't
because
5
that
though.
draft class was top heavy after the top 3.
That's what I'm saying. Hallie,
That second tier of prospects,
Yeah.
Tyrese at the top.
Hallie even being like that's what I'm saying. Hallie not being top 5 in a weak draft is
No,
saying
top
something.
3. Outside of that top 3, he was right next to Obi.
He
was right next to him.
he wasn't touted to go 5 or 4 though, bro.
For a team that needed a point guard, yeah, he could have easily.
No, for a
went to the
team that needed a
Bulls.
point guard, absolutely, it's a no-brainer that you should have taken Tyrese Halliburton.
I
The
agree.
Knicks are the Knicks.
All right, so this mock draft has him 6 overall to the Hawks. This is NBADraftRoom.com. I go to NBC Sports. They have Tyrese Halliburton listed right at 8 to the Knicks.
Yeah,
so
he
6
wasn't.
to 8.
He wasn't trying to go top 5 at all.
Pat was 4.
So you mentioned that
Pat
in
was
this mock draft
We're
that
fucked.
Okay.
he was
He plays well,
projected
though.
to go to the Atlanta Hawks. So let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks and the fact that Nate McMillan is no longer the head coach. Riv, you made a strong TikTok
Jesus Christ.
Just
featuring
all
John
three of these?
Tortorelli. Bro,
I mean,
you're a
hey,
basketball
you're
guy.
literally
This is
the
a me
I was
thing.
gonna say
This is
the
a me
last
thing,
when
yo.
Joel's here and Drew goes first, you're like, it's NBA.
He sucks. I mean, like, I don't know how many times the situation wasn't great. Atlanta was banged up a lot. Trae Young hasn't been playing well. He's been playing good as of
I
recently.
need the whole spiel that you gave John to be
Oh,
on
you-
this game.
okay,
Please,
well,
go.
it
sucks.
No, turn up.
Flat
Turn
out
up.
sucks.
the team sucks.
Yep.
DeJounte's been well.
Go ahead.
Gotta
Go
throw that
crazy.
out.
Go crazy.
But hating ass guy right here. But DeJounte has been well this year. Team sucks. The coach sucks. The scheme sucks. The offensive system sucks. The offensive playbook sucks. The defensive system sucks. The communication on defense in general sucks. Communication on offense sucks. That pick and roll offensive scheme sucks. The front office isn't good. Their team isn't good. Their fan base is very mid. They're not really, it's not an ideal place to play at. They don't have any good home court advantages. Trae Young is a mid shooter. I thought he came out the draft supposed to be this prolific shooter.
He's gotten better as the season's gone on, bro. He's like 36% recently.
That's 36 is average.
From 3, it's not bad though.
That's
For the
average.
volume.
That's his problem. Okay. He's not his shot diet sucks.
Okay.
He's a terrible shot. His shot diet is just awful. They have a lot of holes. They have a lot of guys that don't fit together. That John Collins, Clint Capella front court with DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter barely plays, so he can never fully progress into what he's going to be. AJ Griffin is cool. I mean, Trae Young, DeJounte haven't even played enough games to even fully decide what they're going to be. Clint Capella is also a guy that's in and out the lineup. John Collins, he's been on the market for so long. He doesn't even want to be there for real. Bogdanovich is all right. Their bench is whatever. Jalen Johnson hasn't lived up to whatever he was supposed to be. They're just not a good team. They're stuck in mediocrity. And as long as Trae Young is there, they'll be around. They'll hover around, play in, play off. Because he's that good. Nobody's disputing. He's a top 15 player to me. But firing Nate McMillan was just a Band-Aid because Trae Young and him didn't get along. They don't have a foundation. They don't have a culture. What is this, like coach number 3 Trae Young doesn't get along with? Like, this is you're like in year 5. What are we doing here?
And that's the big question.
You had a great tweet, man. That Trae Young's starting to become like Kyler Murray for you?
Yeah, well, high key, because two highly talented stars, right, coming in the draft, they perform at an elite level. Trae Young onto a second coach, he gets him fired, and the tension in Atlanta, it's so weird to me how they're always leaking reports about Trae not being a leader, not getting involved last year. He's not telling the team he's taking his own charter home. Trae Young has never been this leader, right? And he's also a player that has his limitations. So look at this Hawks team. For as prolific a player as he is, top 12, top 15, not top 12, he's top 15 player. The question becomes his intangible, his leadership, his ability to galvanize a group. Because last year, like Kyler Murray versus the Rams, he went out with his tail in between his legs versus the Heat. And I'm not putting all that blame on him. I look at the Hawks. You talk about Riv teams top to bottom that are poorly run. Ownership has done a horrible job. The DeJounte Murray trade was forced by ownership. Jared Schlenk didn't even want to make that move. The second issue is they didn't want to go into luxury tax. So you have the owner's son, who's in management, pushing their chips into a trade that didn't move the needle at all in DeJounte Murray. And that's kind of my issue with it. DeJounte in a conference that has KD, Giannis, and and Tatum does not move no needle. You're still
he's been good, though.
He's been solid. He's been good.
Yeah, respect.
Okay, KD anymore.
You call him ass, and he's been good this year.
It's hyperbole.
Yeah. He's better than Mikal Bridges.
A lot of hyperbole related to DeJounte Murray. And here's the other thing.
Good callback.
The Hawks have no depth because they weren't going to luxury tax, too. So that's the other issue of ownership. Altogether, this team is so poorly run. And I feel like the store that gets people into their seats, and Trae Young, there's going to come a point in time where maybe he wants out. In his 5th year, Atlanta has went to the conference finals, but the outlook of this team is they're not going to the conference finals ever again with Trae Young. In this Eastern Conference, that was their window. And Hawks fans knew that at the time, and they know it even clearer now. They may be lucky to win another playoff series. More.
And even that window doesn't even really feel like a window. It feels like, I don't want to quote Joel, but a bit of a fluke run where, you get to the ECF and maybe you're a playoff team where you can win playoff series year to year, but probably not a top 2 team in the East to get to the ECF. You could have seen this coming for months. I mean, the Nate McMillan and Trae Young drama has been going on. It seems like damn near all season. Like, this shit just never stopped. It seemed inevitable that McMillan would go. It's a lot easier to fire the coach than to trade Trae Young, who is your superstar. And like, at the end of the day, he's still, like Riv mentioned, a top 15 basketball player. So you don't move off him when Nate McMillan has all of his deficiencies, all of his issues he's got going on, especially when he can't work with your superstar, with your guy. The Hawks might have screwed themselves a bit with the DeJounte Murray trade. DeJounte's a great player. Maybe great's a little strong, but when you do trade those draft picks, it just limits your flexibility going forward, right? You trade the 3 first-round picks, three or four, one with the swap or whatever it was.
Yep.
You limit yourself because now this is the team, right? You could trade John Collins, Capella, maybe you get some picks, maybe some pieces back, but for the most part, it's Trae Young, DeJounte, and the rest is kind of going to sort itself out year to year. But this is what your duo is going to be for the most part, right? You got Trae Young. You traded. Trae Young got paid already, right? I'm assuming.
Yep.
He already got his bag, so he's staying. And then you also have DeJounte, who you trade the 3 first-round picks for. So barring the Hawks completely blowing it up in the offseason, which I think would be a mistake as is, you still don't really know what Trae and DeJounte can do together. It's going to be hard to really see what their ceiling is, right? Like, you don't put them in the same conversation as the Celtics or the Bucks or the Sixers or the Cavs. Can they be the next best team out of that next group with like the Knicks and the Nets, maybe if they could get things going, like maybe they could be the best out of that group. But even still, that feels like a group that's going to lose in 5 or 6 games at best to the groups above them. So it's not surprising McMillan go. It's probably for the best. I'm sure Trae Young will have a say in his next head coach. Hopefully it goes over better because we do see that he could be a special player when everything's working.
So talking about the Hawks, of course, recently we mentioned on our last episode that Mojo recently just introduced the NBA into their network, into their platform now. And real quick, I want to do a quick segment, whether you're going to go long or go short, Hawks edition.
Okay.
Now we're going to do the first player, of course, their franchise player, their star player, Trae Young, who right now costs $241. He's 9th among point guards. Are you going long? Or are you going short on Trae Young?
9th among point guards.
It's weird because on the app, it's listed at 9, but around like 7 to 9 with John Moran ahead of him. And I think he's right above Shea, if memory serves.
Oh, I mean, I would easily take Shea.
Above Shea. Shea's 234 and Trae is 241.
I'd probably go short.
Okay.
I'm shorting Trae Young personally.
Okay.
Yep.
I think this is probably the best.
It's a lack of playoff success. I don't think long term is going to get back to that level.
I don't even think like long term. How much can he really get better from this? He'll probably be more efficient.
If Trae Young becomes more efficient, and right now we spoke a little bit about their starting 5 and how good that lineup is defensively, even with Trae Young, who we understand is one of the worst defenders in the league, and they're able to mask that. If they continue to put the right personnel around Trae Young, we understand the type of playmaker and the type of player Trae Young is.
Like guys like SGA, bigger guard, 6'6", can do a little bit more.
Great defender also.
Yeah.
So it's like John Morant, his team is built perfectly around him to a degree. So, and he's just he just has that better mentality, So I'd probably short Trae Young, I'll be honest.
If Trae Young has the same career as Damian Lillard, you're happy.
Yes.
Right? So is it crazy to say that it's impossible that he could have a similar career path as Damian Lillard?
No.
Efficiency isn't.
I think Dame's highs,
and he's
too.
a better 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
Dame.
Dame's highs is stupid high.
And I also think Dame is always forgotten out the cream of the crop when you're talking about like Steph, Kyrie, West, because he doesn't have the MVP or the ring.
But Trae Young could be in the same position where he's just on a middling team most of his career.
But early in his career, Trae Young does have the signature moment of, first off, his first playoff performances in the Garden was miraculous. The comeback against Philadelphia was great. Every single game, essentially, Trae Young was all world. Of course, Milwaukee, that series didn't end up being what he would like to be. He did end up getting injured, but Trae Young, for the majority of that playoffs, was fantastic. And we can't forget last season where he single-handedly backpacked the Hawks against the Cavaliers. He was shitty against the Heat. I will give you that, no doubt. He was underwhelming. Did have a game winner, but for a majority, he was not that good. So I think I trust Trae Young. I understand his talent. So, yes, I will be going long on Trae Young, even though right now it's not looking the most positive for him. Number 2 is DeJounte Murray. Right now he costs $152, 26th among point guards.
Short.
Are you going long or are you going short?
I'll go short. I love DeJounte. Love him as a player. Love him as a person. I will always watch his games. I love his interview. But this is probably what he's going to be. Okay. Nothing wrong with it, but I'll short.
Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, it feels similar to Trae Young that they just feel kind of attached at the hip to a middling team with a franchise that has shown they are not willing to do everything it takes to put a championship contender. You trade Kevin Huerter to get out of the luxury tax. So I agree. I mean, DeJounte, all-star level type player year to year, right? But it doesn't feel like he has an extra,
gear to get to.
Exactly.
I'm going to go long on DeJounte because in his age 26 season, I feel like he's going to end up in one of these contending teams down the line where people know what DeJounte's real value is. And that's as kind of a high-level guard off the bench that can do a little bit of everything, but isn't a true starter on a championship-level team, at least as the go-to guard, maybe the second or third guard.
I know it's long or short, but this is just one of those players that I just don't feel comfortable investing in.
It's also an amazing player.
Honestly, it's just that.
I would do that before.
Not putting my money in the shot.
You didn't give us an offer. You didn't give us that offer.
You're right, and so I apologize for that, but at least we're all on the same page here where DeJounte Murray was an all-star last season. He was the best he's ever been up until that point. This year, yes, DeJounte Murray is still a very good player. If you wanted to call him great, he is an all-star. That is okay with me, but I feel like what DeJounte is right now, which is still a damn good basketball player, is just what he's going to be for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
Unless he decides to improve his three-point shot, which I don't know about you, Riv. I don't know if that's going to be in the cards for him. His midi is solid. Could be a little bit better, but his ability to fair enough. But his ability to drive to the basket is firm. And, of course, his playmaking has always been really good. But more importantly, the defending. He's one of the best defenders at his position in the league. But, again, I just don't feel where he is at this point in his career confident investing in him. Next name is going to be John Collins, $137, 27th ranked power forward. I feel like this is easy.
Nope.
Oh, really? I'm going to
We're
short
getting
John
offers.
Collins. I just don't know if he'll ever reach a high that he had in that playoff run, where I feel like Trae Young obviously is the star, is the potential superstar of these guys on the Atlanta Hawks, where John Collins did have a really good playoff run himself. I think that that's the highest he'll ever get into his career.
Really? I feel like John Collins has become one of the most underrated players in the NBA.
You're
Like,
making
his
a good
skill
point,
set is
John
so
Collins.
useful, and I don't want to oversell him here, but like
You are
the
gonna
Hawks
oversell him.
aren't utilizing him properly. He did have that finger injury last year, and since then the shot hasn't been there. It's been janky, but I mean, he
25%
is.
from three.
I know it's been real janky.
Prior, though, he
But
was
he
a
is-
solid
He
three-point
He is
shooter.
a high-level role man that they don't use at all. What if he goes to a place like Phoenix or Miami, or he's playing a championship-level team? I would go along on John Collins.
They use him pretty
Okay.
well in the
I
pick
respect
and roll,
that.
though. Just to roll and dunk.
And the last name I'm going to mention here is Sadiq Bey.
You not
recent-
mention Onyeka is disrespectful.
Oh, really?
Is he
So
on
you're
Mojo?
going long on Onyeka.
I
Is
would
he on Mojo?
And Yeka is not.
He's not.
He's not, but I would say this: when Onyeka does get on Mojo, I would long him because I would.
Go long.
I don't
Go
even
long.
go long
You
on
go
him.
long.
Yeah, I would go long on Onyeka because he has sneaky potential, and he's somebody that has been under the radar. But defensively, he's amazing as a rim protector. He's really good. He can move his feet well. He's got good size, good wingspan, and he's a guy that can definitely improve as soon as Capella gets gone. He's a guy that can make a move, get marginally better, and that's somebody who you'd be like, wow, I should have gambled on him, or he was like under the radar. So I would
Remember
take
when you
Onyeka.
made fun of me for pronouncing his name correctly?
I did?
Oh,
did.
God. That's rough.
You're lying.
Yeah, no,
No.
and you pronounce it correct. He pronounced it correct, and
Yeah.
you're mad at him.
Sure.
You gave- no, 100%. I was
billion
there.
percent positive.
I was sitting there, man.
What did I say?
I said Okongwu, and you said, who the fuck is that? I said, Okongwu on Hawks?"
Onyeka.
Yeah. And you didn't. You just knew him by his first name, I guess.
Yeah, I know my Onyeka.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck. Congo
No
is.
last name like Nene.
It's just Nene.
No, Nene's last name's Hilario.
I know.
So that's long or short NBA edition from Mojo.
We got Sadiq Bey. We're going.
We could talk about Mojo.
I
We could
won't
talk
touch
about
him.
but I'll tell you what. You gave me a
See,
nice
there's no way
soliloquy
Sadiq Bey's on Mojo.
on
Huh?
Onyeka.
There's
He
no way-
is.
He is.
He's
$91.
$91.
You know what's crazy? I was high on Sadiq Bey
You are.
until I watched his last year. This year,
He was
this
mid.
man sucks.
Yeah, not good. He's not
Don't you
good.
think
Is he one of the
maybe
worst
his-
defenders?
Yeah.
in the league,
I don't
right?
really know if that's true. It's the crappy
Statistically.
Pistons team.
You're a big statistic guy.
Yeah, not really. I mean, the eye test will tell defense. I think
He's
he'll be
okay.
fine.
He
All about effort in the NBA and
has-
defense.
No,
he has the tools to be a good defender, but his creation sucks.
It's just the variant 3-point shooting. Is he a starter on a playoff team, or is he,
No.
like?
Oh, like, he needs to solidify
Like
himself in
young.
the fucking league.
Yeah, he doesn't know what
Like-
he is. He
but
thinks
he
he's
was one of those guys that peaked really early in his rookie year, and I wonder if he
three-year
can get back to that level.
So
I
again,
guess we'll never know.
Mojo now has the NBA. It is now live. Use our code PICKASIDE100 for a $100 deposit bonus. That is going to be in the description below. And that's actually going to do it for this episode of the
That's
Pick a Side
it.
podcast.
So
3
we
hours
almost
and 50 minutes.
we almost
was
said,
a
why
long
do we
one.
have? a
I'll
long
be
one?
honest,
It was
I-
a lot to talk
I
about.
cannot believe we
Redraft.
did NBA once we hit the 3-hour mark in NFL. I was like, oh, this is it. We'll just call it here. We'll do NBA on Friday or whatever.
Just because Westbrook obviously was important news, and Nate McMillan getting fired, I felt like we had to do our due diligence. I wanted to joke around with Riv. This was a long show, no doubt about
Is this
it.
the longest
I'm-
show we've ever had?
No.
We did a
no.
4-hour before.
Yeah.
Like, it's
But
a
I just
change.
wanted to make sure we ended it before 4 hours. Again, we thank you guys for tuning in.
3 hours, 51
What the
minutes.
fuck were we talking about?
The
Redraft took like
no,
40 minutes.
and honestly, the coaches took a
That's a
longer
fact.
time than I was expecting. But either which
think
way,
so
that's going to
much
do it for
time.
this episode of the Pick a Side podcast. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we shall see you next time.
I need to take a brain